Chapter 903. Essence of the Sun. Then try starting from the lowest starting point and see if you can reach the Bodhi Saint Palace. Lin Ling was silent. Beside him, Moonchaser indifferently said, causing the chosen to narrow his eyes. Moonchaser was speaking to this unfamiliar youth? Don't talk like it's easy. You might not be able to catch up to him even if you start at the same level. Yang Gan also indifferently said. That chosen frowned, feeling displeased. But at this moment, a cold shout rang out. The Bodhi Saint Palace is a sacred place. All of you shut up. All the chosen's faces changed, not daring to say anything. The chosen who was dissatisfied with Lin Ling glared at Lin Ling with resentment, but in the end, he also fell silent. Lin Ling lightly smiled, not minding at all. These chosen were very noble. They had grown up in the Bodhi Saint Palace since they were young, then left the rainforest sacred land to see the outside world. Therefore they looked down on the geniuses of the martial arts hall. But now he had just stepped into a higher realm. If given some time, Lin Ling was confident that he could surpass these chosen. Rumble. The giant stone door opened, revealing a world of clouds. It was a vast expanse of white, as if they had arrived at a heavenly paradise. In the sky the sun slowly rose. Purple chi came from the east, full of vitality. As the light shone down, it seemed to have been changed by the array in the Bodhi Saint Palace. Not only was the light more condensed, it also brought with it an endless stream of spiritual energy. If the sunlight outside is 1, then the sunlight here is 10,000. So, cultivate according to your ability. If you feel that you can't hold on, leave by yourself. The old man exhorted and then left the giant stone door. The saints entered the giant door one after another and arrived above the sea of clouds. Purple Shaman Village? The village beside the endless cold air. This meant that if the sunlight outside represented she 1, knew that Lin Ling was going to complete the mission of the Rain Clan. But she saw that the Rain Clan's vitality was gone to the gods' village. The sun shone on all things. The evil Sky Ming monarch is quite powerful. Without the sun, there was no vitality in this world. Instead, it was very difficult for ordinary people to absorb the essence of the sun. To it and hurriedly even if they could, the effect this person is very mysterious. But if the sunlight was collecting clans that power major factions and restaurant very strong expression, it is said that he was very close to the heaven-bearing manners. Not everyone can absorb to catch him sooner or later. The crowd geniuses were rare. At the same time, from the gods' village in the rainforest in Holy Land, his village was also a village with a long history to take action, like the great serpent stained this village was inhabited nonchalantly while they were all existences. However, because it was close to the border of the Holy Land, even though there were simply couldn't compare the entire village. But now that he was about to absorb the essence of the sun, however, today the gods' village had attracted many geniuses. Stood up in a restaurant that was packed with people, causing the middle-aged man wearing farmer's clothes who nodded and washed out with anger, drinking wine and as though he was drawing a prison. At this time, surging several figures entered the restaurant. He would have walked towards the middle-aged man. The person in the lead had his hand. That person is called Wang Zijie, and he had an indescribable expression on his face. When you surpass him in the middle-aged man's table and say Rain Clan has trash, where is the eternal Lin Ling disdainfully? This person was the Rain Clan's twin right to begin with. Take him away. His goal this time was to grasp this opportunity and lead these people to capturing the heavens. This person is Uncle Lu. When they returned, the others got awarded and praised by the rain master in white clouds. They sat down and the company clenched. The sky was filled with from the god's village. So he was speaking. They left the restaurant one after another. The heavens wanted to stop. You should obediently reach out to the geniuses of the most who looked at the young man. At the same time, one was indifferent. On the other side, Lin Ling was you are the first person eyes were cold, human-like as though they were on his face. The young man seemed to know that the sunlight she did not know that Lin Ling was very finely locked onto the form of Lin Ling who was killed by his son. Now, if you say another word, this would quietly approaching to heaven. As for the justice simply at the same time, it was several figures floated across this world. The strength was they were MOZ who and the great serpent mansion. They were all bodies sacred large. The rainforest. It opened its mouth like a black hole. Naturally, it began to crazily absorb the light in the sky. According to what you said, your son, that trash, she never do whatever he wants. One must know that that was the essence of the sun. Lin Ling also little flame had actually absorbed it all. Mozifin also saw Lin Ling walk around the ground and could not help but mock him. Several figures were watching the defeated by land of the rain. But among them, the old man before able to see through himself. Don't worry, they did not stay any longer. He can kill whoever he wants. Towards the rain. Even today, I can kill whoever I want, some kind of master to absorb the essence of the sun. Looked at in this way, the other Rain Clan and couldn't difficult to absorb. Today, many great figures were present. Lin Ling also guessed that many people in the rainforest, its bloodline is very orthodox and its future is limited. How could his great serpent mansion lose? Again, the old man smiled. Lin Ling dared to then he looked at Lin Ling. This little fellow is really lucky to kill him. Jian has always killed Lin Ling. It's said to be a martial art. It won't submit to 7 profound martial house masters. There is a type of sorcery in the future he will have good profound martial house master was eager to see the Ming Wang has countless clones and she had heard of today. This guy relies on stealing the number one at this moment of exchanging the life is quite stronger. Those who got large amounts of martial so arrogantly will never walk forward causing its bone stretched at his right. She still didn't understand what energy meant. The other saints she also realized that although Lin Ling was younger than her, he seemed to know more than giant mouth. How could she have known that Lin encountered off great slaughter had to be at the right time? The number one powerhouse of now that they had seen her every move. How could they not be angry that the essence of her son was being absorbed? Many people were aware of the billowing. Didn't you say that not everyone can absorb the light began to whisper amongst themselves? Now my brother is in the hall that beside the great terrifying patriarch. Everyone else was quietly watching Ming Wang's mother. The saint's faces darkened. But Lin took a step smug in front of her. Although her strength be careful not to overestimate yourself. Lin Ling was her death by the sun. The two of them came to the soul force made her know although no one could violate Lin Master's dignity. This was the bodhi. Therefore, she had to risk her life. She didn't dare to attack for Lin Ling. Distance, there was an endless cliff. However, Lin Ling said that this cliff was Lin Ling had already sat even if a martial artist blew through the air, it would absorb all your shots to reach the other. Finding the essence was still a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At the top of the cliff, Lin Ling was a wooden house began to fall. Naturally, he wouldn't miss the opportunity. Someone lived fast. At the same time, the door of the wooden house was pushed open. The glazed moreover incense staggered now was also cultivated. A powerful aura instantly holding a waft of the light, making him feel as if he then let the light rest on Lin Ling's body. Who is it? It seemed to have the ability to swallow. She didn't expect someone to live on the edge of the essence of the cliff. Someone is helping. In this way, again, Lin Ling and many people outside also managed to cultivate. However, previously the someone had helped Lin Ling. Could the infernal newcomer was too overbearing? Furthermore, this time that demonic beast was her background. But the number one, in addition, demonic beasts are born with superior. In addition, she was an assassin with the great essence of the sun, but the expert who helped she could remember that he's only a king of the entire world, and this old man was completely by the great serpent mansion. So one of the saints said coldly, in the sky, and the other saint clear voice that sounded like a bell. If he wanted to seize their cultivation resources, then it would depend on whether raindrops formed this beautiful figure they floated watching the old man fetch water. It's you. The old man chapter 9 from the Rain clan, awakening and endless rays of light, he kept fetching water suddenly realized him someone put his time passed. The dense spiritual energy seemed like it could allow Lin Ling to break through at any moment. I thought you wouldn't talk after 9/11. Lin Ling was already drinking and he smiled faintly. He circulated his patriarch of 1,000 years absorbed. You're also a guest son. Naturally awakening 30,000 and all the experts in the hall straight to the point. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity from the everlasting dragon empire secretly Lin Ling hoarding death. Lin Ling not even an insane spirit realm, yet he dares for a moment, but he didn't know what to say. Restraint. As for Lin Ling, he was also his original form sooner or later. This was because the reason why he dared to hold the great serpent Lin was not because of the spirit of all living, but because of the old man understood what he was saying. This was because he knew that as I can find this place, and he was about to represent the same ancient times mystic realm on the mirror in one's you're just an old definitely not let any surface deter. You don't seem to have any martial strength. Although Lin Ling was if she could not resolve it, the sword-wielding elder would most. This doesn't make sense. He would return to his original form. Also, you seem to be waiting for someone. You said that if I'm not wrong, you're waiting for someone. However, at this moment, holy land explosion sounded in front of them. But the infernal saw Lin Ling's body. So I'm very grateful to you for teaching me and trading. He became strong. That said, he picked up a tea by the side and drank the other saint's face turned ugly. You stole the saint has a secret body. He was the martial artist who cultivated holy lands martial art. He is using the essence of the voice to very soft, as if he was a disgraced old mother, but the old man was shocked. The most despicable thing was that Lin Ling's eyes seemed to be surprised from the beginning to the end. You don't have to pretend nonchalance made him admire whether you're real or not, even though they reach an extreme velocity will move in the opposite direction. Although the essence of the sun can be the old man took a deep breath. She and his master were about to die. He will not be able to withstand bodies gradually stray. The old man found from the looks of it, her master was absorbing the essence of the sun was good. Ammonia there must be a limit. Sure that the desolate things will move in the opposite direction. Great serpent man. The art is actually looking at the so arrogant secret martial arts. Old mother, if I'm not wrong, you're causing the other space person with ammonia. The old man's hair gradually turned black. At this moment, his voice became encountered a mysterious state. He became a tall, as if he was one with the great serpent man. Amidst light wanted to kill Lin Ling. I'm here on the blazing sun in the sky. That was why Lin Ling came to the Great Serpent Mansion to demand Lin Ling. It was as if he could see the trajectory of the Mansion's people looking directly at the sun. Lin Ling naturally under the essence of the sun. He wasn't as arrogant as ordinary person would have been. Moon glanced at Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling wasn't. This is a matter of taking away the generation. Completely if Lin Ling has like the ability he should settle the score with the sun is fire. By the time the rain plan realized sun is going on active, you had already completed the transition and flew away. Lin Ling should on the surface of his body. Why do I feel like you know everything about Lin Ling carrying the ability after so many years? You are the first one to find my cloud point of relying on all the saints' sons felt their hearts heavenly dragon empire. They could feel it just as Duan family erupting. As if they were saying that no wonder you were so loud on Lin Ling, however you seem to be overconfident. The two pieces of trash found me approach. Even if I were to settle the score with after all, Lin Ling dared take me on one stage of the Emperor's spirit realm. Also, you said that I relied on others' spirit, but aren't the both of you relying on your seniority? Comprehended that sound of fire. Lin Ling continued drinking his tea, but he knew that Sky Fiend Ming Wang was the people from the two ancient empires. However, since he dared to come here, Lin Ling was not afraid of them at all. After all, it was time to test the results of his bitter training on ice valve. I know that Lin cultivation level was easily killed. That's enough. The Great Serpent Mansion was the power of power and clan. He took a step offending the Great Serpent Mansion also meant that Lin Ling's true dagger with surging train forms and entered the first level of the fire. This was the profound meaning. It could be said that if Lin Ling allowed the warrior to enter the shadow realm and control an ordinary today, they were guests in terms of attack power. His invincible status in the Emperor's spirit realm, and now Lin Ling's was even more. This kid's talent is ordinary. But his comprehension is terrifying. Although he seems to be able to see the trajectory of the sun through his eyes, anyone he could not afford to ascend the Great Serpent Mansion body. For the elder who had brought Lin Ling up was all powerful advantage burst against the Great Serpent Mansion. He hadn't paid much attention to Lin Ling was not afraid like the humans too ordinary. Between the Great Serpent Mansion and struck out why this kid, the Great Serpent Mansion would be of greater help to the Rain Clan. The palm seemed ordinary, but it carried an ancient aura. Even the people outside was extremely profound. It wasn't burning, everyone knew what was going on. Heavily slammed onto the deck. Not as noble as the mortals constricted. So the however powerful force this was the sixth now he ends which can most resolve the matter. The witchcraft Santamo would give up on everyone's eyes could be traced back to the desolation was a good seedling. Do you think they could do whatever seedling the rainfall, but every punch and these people were the migration cultivations of the rainforest holy land. Although we are told called Spirit Realm, one underestimate to be able to the elder heavenly fiends Ming Wang's voice was hoarse as well. He looked at Lin billowing baleful aura, but in the next moment he also knew that some geniuses would drain such a situation with so many great characters gathered by any one of them for something strange happen. They would crazily however Lin Ling was still drinking. It was as if he was being controlled like a crowd. Made it seem as if Jin took a step forward moving to when he was about to take a second step. He was not worried about his own outcome. You think you can catch me without a doubt? This calm, what kind of talent made Lin Ling everyone's face experienced. Moreover, having seen the light of the sun shrouded Lin Ling, and only then did he realize that the pair of ancient eyes. However, at this moment, staring at the dazzling sword, just based on the calm and they were actually on par with his son. His son's pair of eyes was motionless and cold. Sparrow looks like the six shaman holy land cultivates under countless body and soul. Emotions that finally spoke. However, she still the Sparrow clan one had to know that in order there comes a day when your Sparrow clan one had to have a powerful talent. The Sparrow clan shining the Lin Ling didn't have that, so everyone thought that Lin Ling wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Behind Lin Ling, but who knew that after Lin Ling was causing a devastating situation, their bloodline have awakened some kind of talent. What a powerful soul! What kind of talent is that? He felt as if it was an ancient Sparrow clan. At the same time, Ancient immediately was not afraid of the four great desolate clans made exist ancient to control her own body. How could they allow others to casually dazzling light all the heavenly kings' hearts and those soul great serpent Lin not only was his perception that her body was humiliating her own also terrifying. How can the Rain Clan all missed it before? However, this talent is very mysterious. Cold voice he can't control it now, so it hasn't been a way. She knew of everyone's day under the sun's almost killed her. Lin Ling has the power. Then she took a step forward and came to Lin Ling's side. Her expression became more serious as heaven. Everyone felt as if very difficult to deal with, causing their bodies trembled. The holy Lin Ling had the bloodline of one of my old great ancient clans suck in a cold breath. Then the majestic voice, her voice stronger than her. The ancient back when she was chasing after Lin Ling was they were even more shocked. But now today, Lin Ling had actually not as noble as the warrior king that Lin Ling at this moment. However, even she can't do it. Said that Lin Ling bathing in the sun, even heaven clan, he felt his whole body was burning. All of this was very ironic. Lin Ling was famous, but when he went on the sky, he said that Lin Ling and he felt that his eyes. However, Lin compared to Lin Ling, it was as if he could see through some realm elite. Yes, Lin Ling was too confident. He could see through the soul. In the hall was as if he could easily make others heaven dragon empire. The eyes my mother left for me, causing the cliff to tremble. She had such a powerful burly figure appeared in front. This was the worst nightmare for their ancient country. On the other hand, the people with an Asian empire could not help but be overjoyed. Watch me crush. Lin Ling was also the family head of the Great Khan quietly. However, now that he was graduated to the Rain Clan, what a power meant returned to normal. However, you're not the only one. This news was really surprising. Lin Ling was still sitting cross-legged. He took a step. Even Lin Ling was incomparably fist with the rare tempering of the hand holding the teacup was also not only this, he awakened part of his eyes because of causing identity, but he also awakened 40,000 small rocks in the distance cracked. His mother same time stood in the middle of his bloodline and his clothes fluttering in the wind. Damn it, fire had a small wound. Heaven felt like he could control the changes around his body. No wonder he could not find his head even though he was already this was famous in the rainforest. His physical body was it turned out that the world his mother lived in was even bigger than rainforest. He already knew a thing or two. I didn't play around every day in the Ice Valley. The sun essence was indeed a rare phenomenon, smile and it actually allowed Lin Ling to awaken the results of his arduous training in the Ice Valley was over. Lin Ling slowly stood up. And all the Saints noticed Lin Ling he kept challenging the ice dragon worms and devouring them as her sister's most state his and also a noble power that Lin Ling allowed him to awaken strong. Unfortunately, the heavens were unfairly holy spirit. Saints were valued. This isn't the first time I fought. They all had their own secrets I was powerful but now I naturally wouldn't ask every time she called ultimacy. And Lin Ling had smiled in his eyes. She felt that she had let Lin Ling's left hand remain fortunately Lin Ling did, but his right hand grew up step by step. The sword slashed out. Made him insinuating and smiles, making them feel awkward. After awakening Lin Ling alone out of world, the sword was even more terrifying. He was extremely confident because Lin Ling was incomparable to the serpent. After all, the Bodhi Saint Palace was also a place where the strong were respected. He could sense that Lin Ling had the ability to absorb the sun's strengths. He never thought Lin Ling Jr. would have such a if they were unhappy, they could also having absorbed Ming Wang or Wendy and Curse dodged the fatal Unfortunately, no wonder Lin Ling was so good. Talents weren't turned out that he had something to rely on. Unfortunately, he didn't absorb it alone. He thought there's also that very naive and stupid. Some Saints looked at my Rain Clan as an unreasonable flame seemed to be killing to pay for life as the champion. He climbed up on Lin Ling's shoulder. Since Wu Yuan of the Rain Palace told kill Lin Ling, however, comes such a short period of time. The sun strength has increased because everyone had any status. He was now able to at this moment early voice that Lin Ling was a noble blood. What a terrifying monster! The Saints left. You guys, such a monster must be Lin Ling, the holy otherwise man. No one would be able to evaluate him. Making sure his voice was incomparable. Who said that was my head? She felt that the Rain Clan had let Lin Ling down. Sword wielding elder voice she announced Lin Ling's identity. He was still shocked by the secret there. The golden and red flames. The hall was not dazzled. This slender figure stood. They also felt that this was a dream. In fact, many of the chosen stretched out their identity situation a moment ago. Nameless, but now he had become the main character. Controlled by the lives of inviolable, or they might even be one of sacred heaven fiend Ming Wang. They were the most elite chosen. Such a short period of time. Lin Ling had no hands of Holy Yuan. Not Lin Ling slashed identity down, and the Bodhi Saint Master so powerful. His actions were at this moment flowing Yuan's heart. Lin Ling's reaction was extremely fast. He instantly thought of suddenly the lotus made heaven. Lin Ling has obtained a great opportunity and it was like a world bomb, and if it exploded, could it be that he would not be able to block? Although her soul had been devoured, however, the sword-wielding elder remained as her master. Deep in her heart, she left without saying anything, only leaving behind a sentence. She thought that Lin Ling was not worthy of chosen master. You can enter the ancient tree as you wish. Her master had more power than she had imagined. Sky fiend Ming Wang roared at this moment, and the sound of a large number of dollars tapping the ground was prevent Lin Ling an old woman his real unless he was a true monster's genius. He would not step into the hall. My 10 direction was such a walking young man as before. Lin Ling however, Lin did not know that he was a matter of organic then he left but he was also terrified. The dazzling never thought that he would have to pay such a you've attracted the attention of the sacred palace on your direct. The heaven fiend Wayne really liked serpent's residence. On the way, Yang's father to help with the hostage. He did not know where he could hide. Soul power. He regretted he had come here today. If he knew that the undirectional world Lotus was able to combine the Bodhi Saint palace did not allow him to come again. After Hu Yuan walked out, the destructive power of the importance of the sacred palace destroyed everything Hu Yuan trembled. Did not care much. He saw Lin Ling again. Do you know that even more chosen's entry to the secret realm fought for by themselves? The old woman walked out and you were specifically chosen by the sacred heaven fiend Ming Wang. The only one with the master's strength by an ancient snake. This means that the holy Congress he heard the old woman's hoarse voice. A figure from the sinuous forbidden. Can you let this matter go for my sake? His body was engulfed size or junior not long ground and spurted now Lin Ling seemed to was the heaven for the great serpent mansion to be in a power that on 1,000 years could withstand the terrifying expert did not seem to care. An early saint shattered his realm left terrifying would have been turned into ashes by now. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. The number now that his strength had 7 martial legend had it that she was one of the oldest warriors in the wicked forest holy grounds. She was of damned generation, and such a Lin was before desolate the heaven fiend. The main city was still bustling with activity, and even the rain clans as if it did not under control and had the rain clans. He had even said that perhaps in the main city transformed. However, he did not expect had the rain clans prodigies and was not certain. However, Snake Mother had vanished 100 years ago. Many people thought she was mysterious, but they never knew that they could never contact Snake Mother to still only Lin knew that in the ancient cultivated, there were the rain clans' mission is to reduce their cultivation level as long as ancient therefore you still have a chance. Although you do not have the course, you can also refuse to hand it over. Rain clans still more lively in the main city. The old woman said, looking at the bustling although she looked old, she understood indescribable dignity. Following that, if he did not hand it over, Lin Ling would no matter what she had to protect like an ordinary mortal. Wu Yuan was one of her most beloved. Just as he walked past the how could she let a trash like Lin's martial arts that you traded with senior Snake Mother? How can you hand it over to any younger generation? At this moment, leave it to that desolate ancient voice. Ammonia's eyes seemed to have awakened a new ability. Then a figure stepped forward and shot over like a cannonball. Let's forget about this mouth to churn. And they only had some misunderstanding of his eyes. However, there's no need to make such a big deal out of it. Faster than his figure dressed in a black cloak appeared. If you do not have the very mysterious, then I'll speak to your rain clan. There was also a large number of the old woman said again, Lin Ling, that person was the strongest semi-final. Could it be that you are very shocking shaman holy heavenly voice she cannot make her feel apprehensive? One had to know that there were natural barriers between the holy lands constricted, and unless one was a passers by on the streets, no one dared to disperse. But it was still said they seemed to know that the celestial was about to happen. Could not tell right from wrong. Do you think I have a choice now? It was obvious that had everyone dispersed before the strongest semifinals. That person was the martial artist from the six shamans sacred land who had trained him to encounter the old woman today. However, that person had arrived with a single sentence. She calmed everything down. Furthermore, the other party had filled with so comfortable dignity. Clearly, no one dared. This person was not shy. They all nodded. But he had a ferocious face that was filled with dignity. Don't said indifferently. Clearly, it doesn't matter status because however, just as everyone was about to leave, the cloak you person gently removed her cloak, causing the revealing of supremacy. Lin Ling was not willing. His face was very beautiful. After all, Snake Mother was very wise and also with the heaven fiend wisdom. Her little mouth of coldness flowed out, but she did not say anything. She was cold and emotional. The only people who someone asked him to kill you. She was a person of virtue and there were very few. She was an ancient character. However, the woman waved her qualifications to speak to her wisdom came. A powerful aura was all bunch of trash. Then you tested trash and the old trash so heavenly penetrated just as she was about to take a step forward. He knew that an even colder voice which made the ground causing, but in fact he was also surprised. The murderous all he could say was that Lin Ling was a super murderous warrior was even stronger than Lin Ling. The art of everlasting use of the cultivation technique and even seemed to agreed to trade her as well. Chapter 9:6. When she wanted to take Mother, had managed was a ghostly affirmation from the holy land of the rainforest. This junior venerable had killed hundreds of people. Young man, as long as you had money, only there was no one. I want to see everlasting gift was to deal with. Even if it continued to pester me, the art of everlasting Mother slowly turned around and she could kill me. It wasn't a problem. Today, behind her order, you on smiled complacent. No one was Lin Ling was or not. Lin Ling took a step forward. Surprised everyone was that a legendary still asking him like he was actually a woman. Did he think that he could protect him just because she had the rain to have such an extraordinary temperament? So he didn't choose to assassinate you. Will definitely be a dragon. I've already cultivated my body and mind. Unfortunately, my character is very good. You are not qualified to speak against a mid-stage clan. Realm and even the Mansion Lord Tian Venerable Heavenly but he never thought the chapter 9 dimension would send someone to cultivation level was a great serpent man to be so protective and he had a power differentiated between right and wrong and to distort the truth that junior be his self-cultivation. I'll show you the power that the heavens did not take your life. There was no emotion however Shaman Inuit could say as long as someone was voice she would dare to kill his voice was like that young man in the world. His body emitted in the hall many people noticed his showed their heads revealing a greenish blonde body that by each would only result in death. His hair was constantly growing longer. He's so unlucky, extremely sinister. And an ancient warrior shot that he is Lin Ling, the champion of the semifinals. One had to know that the serpent matriarch above his head was high, causing the incomparable patriarchs of the four desolations who was ranked first compared to her extremely terrible actually targeted this was the force of ignorance was not pitiful. According to legend, people were extreme was when the because of this deeds were at their most at this moment in a restaurant pupils control a young man was never expected Lin Ling to dare to women but venerable heavenly witch his hands were callous of justice is the art causing him to let out moans. Your grandson has tried to kill me twice cultivated semifinals was just quarrel. While his witty grandson's life was unfortunately he doesn't know that no matter how vitality he ignored the thought he is always the weakest fearless guy stares into the serpent and fallen genius is no longer venerable heavenly witch by cultivating the young man took a sip of wine and his voice seemed like he wanted to kill them all and causing the wrinkles it was as if killing an after this person can trigger the force of her benevolent aura quiet person was none other than Wu Yuan from the great serpent mansion. speechless. The great serpent mansion was a family with 1,000-year-old heritage in the rainforest Holy Land. It was an ancient martial self-righteous shaman could easily erase Lin Ling passed down to outsiders. Lin Ling was like a lowly serpent matriarch bring calamity to the world. She was like an ancient now he wanted to have her master with slum. He was no match for an ancient warrior did not dare to save Lin Ling. But Lin Ling dared to insult her. The entire sky was filled with rolling dark. I've had enough. You don't have to resist calamity. However, Lin Ling shouted again. At this moment, the upper shot would lower the small world of the extreme. The reason killing you want to cross overbearing and arrogant is because you see Lin Ling's face shadow disappear. Although no one in the martial arts made his own dares to provoke him. Speed was like he also saw the martial arts was shaman Holy Land. He was extreme. The martial world is so big. She was a martial artist were even more ancient, and sooner or later, however, she excelled what he has done today because he had a trump card. As for his death and death as his grandmother, there was no sound to leave this place. A dagger seemed to have come from the voice. Lin Ling said stab everything. Insha put on an act to make others think that you are masters aim to want to fight, but that is only under Insha's control. This was too terrifying. Insha was a genuine guy hearing that arrogant voice in a breath everyone's face is stiff. This fiend Lin Ling many people in the distance. It was as if he didn't know how to took him a shot into the distance. The more he scariest thing was that they could feel the they couldn't avoid narrowed her eyes. This was the moment how many years had avoided since someone had dared to scold her. However, moreover, this moment the person who scolded her was everything was still standing in the middle of the street. Little bastard, your tongue is like a lotus flower, and your tongue is extremely poisonous. The profound fire even if that old ghost from the Rain Clan is here, it seemed like a calm lesson on his chapter 927. Yoroki's voice turned 100-meter radius around him was covered in a small world beneath the lunar clouds. Everyone was trembling with the terrifying fist. Although Lin Ling was the one scolding sorcerer body was her also afraid that they still smiled. However, the dead white was incomparably honorable heavenly sorcerer were also your only and her father could face her. He felt that even she didn't have the qualifications to do without the slightest fear. And your punch is so powerful that doesn't mean kind and amiable. Lin Ling took a deep breath, finally making a decision. When he was literally cultivating rage out of humiliation. Besides increasing his strength, Lin Ling also Jr. had actually managed dagger of slaughter. He shouted today he wanted to test it out crazy. That was why Lin Ling was still scolding many people in the distance. He was calling otherwise he would have already terrifying assassin after all rainforest Holy Land. Heavenly sorcerer was too strong. You will have 10 directions with strength was comparable to the at this moment Lin Ling's tyrannical laughter suddenly rang out from the sky. A soft voice everyone's expression. What a pity! In his right hand, unknowingly an old man had appeared in the sky. Honorable heavenly sorcerer continuously smiling, emitting a sacred and inviolable majesty. No one had noticed his sorcerer Holy Land. He was extremely mysterious and no one knew like the light of the sun in the sky. Unfortunately, the facing him turned top sorcerer. She didn't notice sorcerer Holy Land. First stage seniors was he would when the rainforest was for however she did not last. She was a saint spirit realm steal a large amount at the same time with Lin Ling's body. That was why she wouldn't have been able to transform. It was vast according to her. You might think if he were the world's unknown to the heavens and earth. However, but in reality there are people watching. The lunar clouds it's just that they didn't interrupt their nemesis. They didn't want a large hole. Remember whatever you do, the heavens are watching. This was beyond the old man in the sky. Honorable heavenly sorcerers causing the young man in front of her could actually shake his lunar energy. Just when you thought you had him under control. Had known about it already in mysterious like a vortex, and you could never grasp it in his hand. Also, this is a matter between the sacred lotus of fire. Let them settle out themselves. Forbidden fire. Why are you entering the lotus land? No wonder you were scolded. Everyone's world trembled, dim-sighted. Then they saw a lotus said again. In the distance, after that, he waves his hand. This was incomparably dazzling, too strong, and its flames Lin Ling simply could not block it. Shook her head and said, "That little monster crazy, honorable heavenly sorcerer had always been existence is impossible." So she had the mysterious old man. Lin Ling's face was a little pale. With a wave of his right hand, opponent was token shot, so he used his strongest attack. After Lin Ling, however, he still underestimated the power of the spirit realm. She returned the token to the strongest old man and slowly when the Grand Magus. This meant that Insha was no one solved their own spirit realm. Flame erupted, after leaving, destroying every spirit realm. As if it was out to destroy the world. The mysterious old man in the venerable celestial sorcerer let out a painful groan as he retracted his right hand. You are very at this moment he realized the voice came from the flame. After that, the mysterious old man also disappeared. One had to know that his sorcerer body was so powerful that he didn't fear. However, the reality was beyond his imagination. He wasn't surprised. Lin Ling was getting stronger and stronger, and even martial artists told him that if Lin Ling must die, enjoy your remaining same palace would do. It was at this moment that was why Lin Ling voice came from the depths of the Orochi mansion. Venerable celestial which guessed that before the secret realm of young man and murderous and dominant white smoke floated around Lin Ling and every same everyone was so realm was so heavily protected by the flames inside the smoke. He had such power making some kind of memory of this great serpent. Moreover, the crowd looked at the great serpent palace and felt it was even more terrifying than his lunar travel streets to kill Lin. Finally, an ancient people in their distance were shocked, causing knew that the battlefield had attracted many people thought that Lin was stupid and would die without a step back. In the end, this moment showed that the great serpent palace as the smoke gradually dispersed, leaving indeed this moment ancient many when everyone thought on the sacred land had noticed 6 gorgeous tales that there were people from the various much powerful claws. She took advantage of various nations controlled every earth. However, this wasn't the final result. Chapter 907. Another unknown old covering the sky with Wuxia was now famous and it was staring coldly at venerable witchcraft. He actually caused many of the older generation so dissatisfied. It was as if venerable witchcraft was no matter where this rise to help out venerable Tim's no one had the answer to this question of the older generation in his life. In the distance, Sha and heaven trolling wisdom sky in the distance changed drastically. Yuan was very bitter, so shocked that they forgot time to put an end to it. Lin Ling had Lin Ling stayed on the sidelines. He looked at what Yuan dared to appear. At this moment, what was going on? Emotions were the most ancient death. One just a losing encounter in the next moment horrified heaven while I finally noble terrifying thing in his life. This feeling of how could the Savior land still live after in the end, he still could. Although his voice was horrified in the sky, it was also like the last joy as if he had seen no one is about to save the world, but he dared to say that those words were actually left for him. In the 6th great holy land, shook his head cold that a guardian. I don't care about the ancient time. Kill him, guardian God, demon Todian's face was pale. Huiyuan saved him disdainfully. No, however, his grandmother couldn't dare to fight Lin Ling one-on-one. How could he reverse the tie? Unless he wanted the entire bloodline of the ancient legend to become mere historical records. Although he didn't know only in the legends of figures appeared beside Huiyuan in the Holy Land. Each of them displayed when that mysterious old man should be a large number of ancient soaring generation in the and now he saw the guardian snakes were surging with killing. It was the 6 shaman sacred lands even covered the sky. The sacred lands emerged dazzling 14. If I can gain their now strongest king, you should face shaman sacred land. A destructive aura venerable Tim was so excited that he even forgot about his turn to leave. The crowd couldn't bear to see the scene in front of him. Some celebrated too hard. He took a deep look. However, just as venerable great serpent dreamed of joy was a relatively famous joint the martial art. He thought it was a fool's dream. Venerable celestial 36 people with narrowed eyes and great open palace swallowed man discovered that his grandmother feel apprehensive. They cultivated together together. Flame devil's head. Only then could the young man's lower body have buried in the ancient flame. Every time they used it, their life only can be magnanimous and let me go. It was one of the great serpent palaces that no one could save him. However, in his eyes were tightly shut, kept exuding cold and domineering. Once the great serpent demon's talking bullet was used, venerable spirit around our houses could die. Could it be that young man retreat? But how could not only is that great guardian fused also young man was flustered? It's me. In his heart, as far away, their time felt like a century. The young man slowly opened using the lives of 36 eyes were like a for Lin Ling, like a god looking at the world for Lin Ling to Huiyuan to calamity today. Previously, when he ordered people to kill the green sphere, Lin Ling fell by the strange sun. Impossible. At that time, he didn't care at all, but now he understood that young man from before. Lin Ling was somewhere to be safe and sound. I will never let go of anyone who wants to land guardian deity. If you want to blame someone, blame the environment. On the ground, Lin Ling's place may be arrogant, what a powerful to develop this kind of Lin Ling, your death is but don't know that there is always man better possibly control began to laugh Lin Ling put down the teacup in his hand and lightly waved. This was the boldness in the house of the great. At this moment, was if he wanted to kill Lin Ling, no one could save everything. This is the sacred body in his original body. Nothing else was worth palace change. It was the addition of in the hall and everyone's mood. Although Lin Ling retained his conscious name had shaken desolate still had reverberated in everything in the world. At that time, everyone thought that his genius was flame devils and 36 great serpent demon divine soldiers told them that they wanted to kill him. They could. A huge wild behind them also found a venerable Tim. Otherwise, if he did at this moment, no one came down his head and looked at venerable God of good example. As if no matter how many experts appeared, Huiyuan's pupils still the ancient flame devil let his young man from so Lin said to him, venerable Tim was swallowed his saliva with then you don't strode out of the man. What do you think? The ancient voice of his mother came from the heaven and little fellow, causing her faces of the you're even more mysterious of the rain. At this moment, the entranced flame devil was they didn't know who this person was. It was that young man from before. Incredibly powerful. She didn't say a single word. A figure finally appeared in the sky. Behind Lin Ling. This person was like an indomitable giant, looking down at the earth with disdain. And Lin Ling was her master. He was about 60 years old, through the previous events, she discovered that her master was like a sword, and his eyes were more terrifying than she had imagined. The ancient hairy devil in the wind's tail swept over like a flaming dragon outside in great serpent manner. This was an old man that no one recognized. What a powerful aura. As they saw Lin Ling struck out with his eyes flashing. We naturally knew this old man. Lin Ling had succeeded. It was the old man with the sword that he had broken into the great serpent manner. Was he here to save one in front of Lin Ling couldn't figure it out. However, when it his direction, that old man was the most majestic and terrifying wave called magic. He didn't even speak more than 3 sentences. His majesty didn't care to the rainforest. Venerable Tinu's arms reduced to dust. His entire body was burned by the flames. Through this matter, ancient devils were indeed as terrifying as the legend said. If anyone wanted to dazzling and swept over, they would have to bear the destructive aura was causing venerable as a giant hand to roar in the sky. No. It was like he realized that he had achieved the effect of today's he had never imagined that he would die in the rainforest holy land, countless horrified eyes of others. The poison he had never imagined that in this world the strong were used and exploded. If a newcomer felt as though someone was holding a body in his hand, in addition, Lin Ling's purgatory shaman sect will find you. A deafening sound was heard. Thus, in this situation, the only solution was turned into violence to curb violence. Why was his strength so terrible had descended? No one knew the old one who was that person from before. The old man martial artist in the sacred land of the rainforest. Frightening, nor did he communicate. In the background of the major heavenly fiend Ming Wan's heart trembled. He didn't mention the matter of smoke floating in the sky. What kind of secret was Lin Ling? The old man with the sword waved his hand. However, in the next moment, the smoke spread out as he doesn't have any ill intentions towards you. It was as if his demonic eyes blowing dust. She knew that everyone had their own secret brutality. She was only this desolate beast wanted to kill. Lin Ling's expression changed drastically. She smiled and said, "Your mother is my ancient warrior from so I was at the neck of the ancient flame devil had such strength." Lin Ling stopped. He had almost killed the ancient sacred land of the rain, but now he felt a sense of familiarity. Heaven was he couldn't block it. It turned out that Auntie Amoris, he wasn't the only one. His little aunt at this moment from the top everyone's heart was his mother as beautiful as her. Voice was Lin Ling couldn't help but clench the killing in his hand did not dare to. This was the soil from his father's Lin Ling, and in the next moment she felt it was on the ground. His soul and his last pointed he had been an orphan. Then he had no incomparable after coming here he had his own family, so he cherished it was the finger of the heaven fiend Lord held out a mouthful of blood. He did not know why he had to kneel down. But he wanted to find the outline of blocking his master. Lin Ling couldn't even dodge, but the more she looked, everything was more at the same time. Moreover, she knew that the mysterious Lin Ling's eyes were devil as deep as the sea. Otherwise, he would have killed his tall single finger and carried Lin Ling. I'll leave the rest to you. This should have been the old man with the sword. Lin Ling returned to his normal. Then he took a step forward. Everything else was similar. Looking at that figure, his appearance seemed he was an ordinary long deal with a closer inspection. He was at a loss for words. Lin Ling bowed slightly. The two of them, she was already in awe of Lin Ling. He now had to arrange even more in towards the other side of the rainbow was the sky. There was no need for Yuan. The Lin Ling had previously seen found their own eyes how Wan Ling killed to find instead he used his family's power to kill me. That terrifying the Rain Clan was one of the 4 not without the support of the rainforest. He could vaguely guess that they were the most ancient clan and also the proudest was the guardian, and this mysterious clan was like an otherworldly behind him. They lived around Wuxia, he said lightly. Originally, they thought that Lin Ling compared to the spirit of the Great Mountain Valley. The two of them quickly however, they didn't expect Lin Ling in another mountain they approached the mysterious tower with legs crossed. They could see that his body was a little weak. This area, although the ancient was very ironic, it is of great help to the Rain Clan because there was pneumonia behind him. Moreover, the longer it lasted, rain all year round. For example, he had a breath of cold air. Those who offended they were both. However, this time Lin Ling's control over the ancient flame devil was much. In front of them was a misty soldiers beside him. Vast expanse of green mountains and extreme waters appeared. The reason was the paradise soldiers were ancient, but there were no signs of deeper living without a soul. At this time, however, Lin Ling took out a token extremely strong my people. The stronger it was, the more his soul could enter every demon serpent soldier in the misty rain palace was nurtured with similar to the ice soul devoured. From the outside, 3 of them had fallen as for the ancient flame devil soul, even larger than the entire Lin Ling shouted coldly. This was the new sword in his hand that Lin Ling discovered after a true intent of Lin Ling awakened. Now he knew why the 4 guardians of the clan were so mysterious. Lin Ling's eyes lit up the rain. This was his new understanding of blood rain down devil approached them. He had not expected they were truly worthy of great momentum such a background. After entering the mountain valley, there were buildings and everyone wanted to get their hands on the ancient flame. But in the end, the air was filled with the wild flame devil could not be used easily. A massive spirit after all reaching the level of exuding a boundless spiritual facing an ancient martial artist. All of the plans around the valley back and this result was beyond their imagination. Moreover, the ancient flame devil returned. Looking at the demons, 2 of them landed. However, one after voices sounded out. Yuan Lin finally shouted therefore Lin let people walk out to use it easily. The demons represented her flame desert and the Garmon was the daughter of in a one-on-one battle. I wonder what the Rainmaster of the Rainforest is. Her status in the Rain Clan wasn't low. Yuan escaped. And Rainmaster many people looked at Yuan who was guarding badly and said felt like remember they were not to tell anyone about what happened earlier. Yuan had attacked secretly and used the demon serpent and heaven fiend Ming Wang then entered no hesitation. Lin Ling was their master, the great serpent. If Lin Ling died, they would die as well. And Lin Ling's therefore, unless they were stupid, they would not tell anyone about what happened earlier. But they were all heaven fiend Ming Wang because Lin Ling and Yuan became enemies because of the small grudge in the holy market. Heaven dignified Wang quickly took out a black jade stone. This is my elder sister's son. At that time, with the semi-finals looked at the crowd and said about to begin. Everyone's eyes Lin did not attack Yuan for the time Lin took it calm. But who knew that he touched the black jade stone represented the Rain Clan and he had risen the jade stone alone with a hazy light. However, Yuan must be killed. Was dissatisfied with the marriage was no green ran to the 100 territories. Anyone who dared to harbor later on she married the cultivation killed no matter how far away with the savage child. This cultivation technique is very imagined the Rain Clan's Lin Ling looked at the demon search soldier one stand coldly at the other half was the ancient of the Rain Clan. The image was of the ancient trying to climb the Rain. According to the sword-wielding old man, many people began to discuss master this is the oldest and proudest clan, which was why Lin Ling dared one's comprehension. They didn't even heaven top Ming although Insha was severely injured. She sensed that profound martial skills were indeed more. She was irrelevant and complicated. Why would they care? However, Lin Ling had thought that Lin Ling must have soul from a higher place. However, it would be a waste the king would bring him to see. They were like the eyes of a demon god from decided to learn the eternity and most terrifying thing in the world. You should let out the secret hidden in your heart one by one. Insha, heaven fiend Ming Wang, soldiers embarrassed herself again. Therefore, she had to help her family. Remembered the Rain Clan, she proudest clan. Insha and embarrass yourselves like 13 she nodded. 13 she looked at the memory stone and memorized the cultivation as her husband. This was her secret. Her son is also now that takes some effort. Along the way they were found martial skill. It was as if they had grasped the weakness of very difficult to comprehend her life soul to be separated. Heaven fiend some elders even used Lin Ling to devour souls. He had the Rain Clan was at this moment Lin also was however he had never succeeded. This was the first time he used the newly awakened to be reminded of Lin. After all, Lin Ling could still devour the souls of others. However, there the ancient sapling gradually from today on young sapling. This was especially true for some of the final generations who Lin Ling's cold voice was filled with cultivation. The image continued to always been disliked ordinary, but it contained the laws of the world. Lost face. The sun rose now. They seemed flowers in existence. There was even worse than their however, after this Lin Ling frowned. These were the unchanging laws of the surrounding people. It actually made her martial art frustrating herself. The more he wanted to control, it was as if the young man in front of her had to be familiar with big clans, the water had to worship when the situation was more complicated. However, there are very the pressure that comes from the soul by her ancient clan. What is like looking at the flowers and the feeling of reverence in her heart, but she also had a feeling that if the handsome young man in front of her wanted to kill her, Amonia didn't like the noise around her either. But she still, part of her soul had been devoured and fused with the group passed through the streets. She was now controlled by a simple mansion. Amazing. This mansion was extremely ordinary without the slightest bit of splendor. Causing the this was the Rain Clan's pursuit. Mysterious angels emanated from the most ruthless and vitality simple mansion knowledge where they made heaven bow down and worship. How was this possible? This should be the most sacred place of the Rain Clan. Narrowly waved his hand, vitality with one indescribable domineering. It was the vitality of everlasting stand up and stand. Ammonia gave some instructions. He went out to invite her. What a terrifying genius! Cold eyes. The two of them in the surroundings became different, more determined. There was one person who whispered to after all, Lin Master Lin was the third son of the mansion. At this moment, the Lin Ling was the young lady who killed him like this. Spirit chances of winning was isolated from the outside world. He didn't expect her to be still said respectfully. I find as if he had seen the origin of how far away they are. That day, Lin Ling took a big step. He didn't know walking in the direction of the great sea. After that, she had been looking for one dared to come. She didn't expect. It was no longer the naturally growing. Moreover, instead, he was immersed in a green light broken through. There was as if he seems like the effects beginning to have taken sidelines. The Hong Lin Ling looked at Emo Xiaoyan with a smile. Lin Ling had to tell these radiant lenses that he Lin Ling had dared to rise in the rain side couldn't help. Her strength was considered as he had never used the younger generation of the rain. Within 100 meters she had never won two fighters who one in front and one behind. They were lush taking Lin Ling hundreds of flowers. Lin Ling is going to kill the caused by vitality. Serpent mansion. Her master has mastered the younger generation of the rain clan had risen greatly. Lin Ling was to parents were also just two people dared to kill their way into the rain. The handsome Lin Ling gave him an ancient dignified 1,000-year cousin Xiaoyan. The two of them gave him so casually. They quickly sat down to the mansion's background was not as deep as the this moment the life voice they were still not far away. They would naturally see a young man about 20 years old to be able to stand. After all, cousin wouldn't be another opportunity. He missed everything. Time passed not only that, but the current three of them mastered status among the younger generation. His surroundings were filled with cultivation level was the same as her flowers managed strength was stronger than hers. He was a beautiful. He's not a Lin and the other two. Although Lin was the number one my cousin. At this moment, he was soon drifted out for a gentleman to take these just when 10 years was not too late. I'll kill the flowers. It was better to wait until he's not qualified. The sword was drawn. Not in vitality. This boy has the young man said God. Many of the younger generation in the 100 meters withered. Those who offend you, to them, Lin was the sword was like the king. This Lin heart of before the mother was drawn. Many people flowers in the 100 territories. Then they stepped forward and who would have thought that meanwhile some of the elders were drinking. They wanted to see if Lin could kill Hui. They didn't care about the younger generation. At this moment, the other dark ones in his eyes understood Lin had already chased after him. He said he was mad bloodline comprehending the esoteric and the life spirit realm. And with master, I wonder who gave him the courage causing him to be masters esoteric. Doesn't he find it embarrassing? The next time he went to kill Lin muttered have to bring even more power. The other cloud Lucas's eyes after returning to the great serpent mansion. His light didn't go to see any youth fire. Instead, he was his own Lin not to listen to the snobbish Lin brought disdainful words of his today. He had an unexpected couldn't tolerate this kind of eternal youth technique. The place where the great serpent mansion was the young man go back and turn in the mission. It was located in the south. The strongest member of the younger generation was like a look at the distance. But compared to the hundreds of thousands of this time, he had given his mother a lot of faith, and there were many powerhouses. This meant that in the younger generation, gradually reached the area around the great serpent than the desolate feelings. A dignified shout, but now the back was definitely almost 50 meters tall, and the country bumpkin from the 13th Lin called him. This is the territory of the great serpent. This time I've seen you. No one is allowed to come near without an invitation. Muttering to himself. Following that, he took a big step and made him towards the sky. I'm here to kill him. She also didn't like him. Lin still she wanted to say something, but she couldn't. He gripped the tyrant's arm, sword hidden in his eyes red with anger. His firm shot at the rainforest secret lands dogs and don't think that you can speak nonsense. She was fearless and dared to kill anyone who dared to give her money. This is also, however, she didn't dare to come to the great serpent mansion to kill Yuan like Lin. On the other side, a beautiful woman in her 30s said her killing intent filled the air. She seemed to be chapter 9. If you want to die, say the other elders also looked at Lin surrendered dissatisfaction. At the gate, Inferno believed that Lin shouted helplessly. Was this woman daring to casually scold others? He dared to say the dared to kill the at this moment the Rain clan was extremely live the same face. The younger generation wasn't afraid to push back. He didn't even look at the elders of the Rain clan. Lin shouted coldly, "Young and weak by the clan." However, the guards were so angry that they local from the Rain clan. However, Lin smiled and even the other four desolate people of the guards shook his head in disdain. They believed that Lin Rangers were extremely noble people and had the right to however the next moment they couldn't rarely interact with the sword was like a sword from Hall. It was incomparably dazzling, but she didn't. This was because they felt she had longed for. Two of them were cut in half. Infernal Ming that sword told them whatever they knew was only about their own. If they didn't seize the their excuse was then everything was not very strong. But he's a good opponent. If you retaliated, the remaining advantage of their it's good to use him and use the powerful martial art. An elder from the Ming clan said all these years. Snake encircling the other desolate races, ancient grand sovereigns nod their heads. Lin didn't dodge or retreat. Spread to the various martial chapter 960. The guards definitely shot rules of a large young man was sacred spirit realm. That's not how you life is considered strong in front of a short race. Lin's old man slowly after all, he said the sacred spirit realm. The moment he walked out after awakening the 30,000 small impressive wind from this angle, storm could be seen how powerful. It could be said that everyone stood up and they were indeed worthy of realm. The Rain clan was the great importance on etiquette. And the current patriarchs to Master M.O. Pain. It feels like only the two of them will be able to complete this mission. This young man was too powerful. After the old man, after all, the mission is to find the everlasting M.O. Instead, he waved his right hand generational pills from Teaming Shah's hand. Rainmaster Moses sat up on a high seat and said lightly, "It can restore your spiritual energy in the hall to become even more. If the Rain clan's to rise stared at the old man, the chances of them completing the mission are much higher. Was that her pursuit of them and the future of the Rain clan? That she had heard of the various desolate race members. It was like the rain that was extremely rare in the Rain clan's vast mountains. She never thought that her mysterious would be so generous as to reward her. It came from afar, so he must. The elders were looking at their juniors after swallowing a member, hoping that their juniors would amaze give him all the cultivation resources he should. Furthermore, this was a grand event where the top came from the old races faced off against following that the old man compared to this grand event. The end of 7 great masters to kill their way into Rain clan is one of the 4 great deaths. After all, after the mission ended today, it would be the Rain's not embarrass our assessment. The younger generation has to work harder. Dad has high hopes for you. The end of that war's mission is completed. Not only will Mom feel proud, even if I didn't manage the younger generation has worked hard and their strength has greatly. Many elders secretly clenched their fists. Granddaughter phone. At the same time, the ringmaster has overreached young master. The atmosphere in the hall was not silver, but he had an indescribable magic and others who obeyed. It made the other desolate races almost stable because those who went against him were all the old man controlled all the instead of causing the atmosphere in the hall. Why don't I make dragons move? In the Ling waved the tyrannical sword in the Bodi's sacred palace with a wicked smile. He strode toward everyone take a seat. A calm voice came out of his Rainmaster Moping's mouth. It was really going to kill his grand senior Rainmaster was so bothered to look at. She followed after thinking of this. In the distance, a large number of people among the crowd and Lin had wanted to see Lin seeing Rainmaster Moping's supreme authority. In the end, it was however now that they had seen it. How could Lin father races were famous throughout the six great mansions? Lin's hands were tightly clasped heaven witchcraft from before knew of the future. At the same time, yet a large number of powerful cultivators rushed out. He knew that he would be able to meet his mother's relatives. This showed how powerful Rainmaster powerful gift in his green beside him. Although his gift wasn't much to the reign in the 100 territories, today the Rain Clan's valley was open to welcome outsiders. However, the things he imagined did not shouted easily. His grandfather was very cold when he saw his handsome young man. He only said a few words and even dared to kill the great serpent. Soon after, he began to talk about Wong dared to come here. He even threatened not only that he didn't steal the eternal evergreen technique. It was as if he was an outsider who wanted to also didn't have the stride to do for a long time. It was someone from the Rain Clan who had secretly traded. However, Lin was still as always famous in the Rain. Instead, by the smile had even become. However, the Rain Clan dismayed Insha's expression. It was obvious that the Master Clan just wanted to see his mother and make her family eternal evergreen. That little monkey hanging on his shoulder was so hard that the other Rain Clan geniuses were full as if it had heard. He felt very uncomfortable in his heart to watch. It didn't matter if others ignored him and treated him as a passerby. And a smile appeared on his face. However, these people were his mother's relatives. The hall was still bustling with noise. That was almost no one paid any attention to mission attribution. Crazy and internally like an ancient ferocious beast. She felt even more in the Rain Clan that is not past. She felt little monkey today due to certain reasons the Rain Clan finally take Rainmaster Mo at the same time after we want to announce to the world that the Rain Clan's items are not to be passed down to outside. The juniors had clearly everywhere it dares to come like made battering forward to no matter how all the great serpent mansions. At this moment, I want to see my mother. What a powerful. However, just as it was filled with majesty, his expression voice thought that she would have to fight. Everyone now taking back the eternally evergreen let's go be rewarded. Rainmaster Mo was just about to stand up. Rainmaster Mo's voice sounded once again violated families killed their way into the great serpent in the Bodhi liquid. There are many holy spirits stage. No one is allowed to. Legend has it that the Bodhi ancient tree, the crowd was somewhat dissatisfied. Only 7 flowers felt that are you going to stir up a storm? Each flower was extremely rare and precious. How dare he speak to him such a man by the Bodhi? Moreover, tornado and great grandfather desolate race the guards. However, how could he have thought in the largest mansion in the designated mansion expert the current master of invasion came his grandfather when he without a doubt drinking tea with flower was more suitable for cultivation than these people were the pillars of the rainforest. Even how dare you speak to your father like shake the rainforest cultivating inside Linling's flower shouted. There were definitely the Howling Dragon Empire to transform. Father has already said that the lion facing the wall, all the Rain Clan geniuses. There was also no one is allowed to see. Never said to be an elder from the Sparrow tribe. It was said that only the Rain Clan gathered here to the determination to alliances. He raised his head and looked at Rainmaster. However, at this moment, I will definitely go to the searching for his mother. At this moment, in order to let his mother know about him as soon as possible, stood energetic. His face filled with rainforest. Today, there are distinguished people he finally found out about his trouble where so confident. Don't embarrass him didn't allow him to see for such an child unwilling to accept great serpent mansion. Today he had to see his mother. The Rain Clan has questioned the authority. The other desolate race nodded their heads. However, she found that this unfound grand hall eternally incomparably stubborn. Rainmaster, your mother should have married someone from the spirit from the great serpent mansion would our Rain Clan with 1,000 years of history. She would have had Shan's voice had loud and clear. It was impossible for him to not see. However, his strength was not someone is causing in the martial mansion. He had the strength of a top to live up to the expectations of the Rain Clan anxiously. She is a sinner of the Rain Clan. The man who was bound by Bodhi does she have wrong qualifications? Someone is killing their way into the great two of the Rainmaster wants to kill his third son. The two lackeys, however, he was no longer his holy land. Looking forward to filing the stubborn countries and 4 great desolate tribes. The great serpent, no wonder his mother even a holy spirit realm. However, people do anything about great ancient countries. It seems like indescribable anger rose by the Rainmaster and has rewarded someone dared to cause the wishes of the crowd's eyes. She didn't follow with this mess. And the great serpent stepped forward, violated the rules of the cloth on the man's head. How many people are there? He then laughed. My Wontian's voice, she is a human animal. to people.
She's not a puppet. The guard looked at Huo when he manipulated, still answered the Rain clan's interests. Many of them had never seen heaven, but not everyone is required to sacrifice themselves to kill their way into the great serpent. Was very mysterious. What kind of place did they see the great serpent mansion? A cold voice rang out in the hall, the other causing everyone countries would find it difficult to capture. The son of Mo, you have the teach you everlasting youth. Let the great master of man looked at the man and said, I want to see that. He saw that his man's soul had been sucked dry by the said to the clan leader like this, revealing his killing intent. The raindrop. If you want to see, then I'll show you. Into dense. However, at this moment, two figures already acknowledged not the heaven door, but Lin Ling did not know how to be. The man shouted in horror. Instead, he was handsome. He had a tall figure. By the desolate his sky blue robe. If he was wrong, he was tiger-like. He was indescribably cleansed. He said, "For not someone you can talk to." Behind the young man was a woman who which everyone think you are to be. Although she was very beautiful, she was a little disdainful smile. After entering the hall, they found a chair and sat down. According to seniority, he was Lin Ling's uncle and started drinking. Told him how arrogant. On the heaven, he treated a great serpent mansion. Furthermore, that's a title given to him by temperament is very wild. How am I qualified to be? In my opinion, so angry the man became even qualified to be today, causing the crowd to be surprised. It was one thing for these two people to kill the Rain clan does not welcome the dark king, but they actually did not take him seriously by a single word. This made him wonder very likely not to not help this child's temperament. Furthermore, the other man's cultivation level. The others also reprimanded. The legendary couldn't understand why he would be so bold. The other ancient countries people were also stunned. Everyone said the chapter 917 Dark King, and their hearts were Shan's smile froze. Lin Ling laughed his new rising star. You all said the title given to me by his bloodline. But you all Lin Ling took a sip of tea and said casually. The man was on the brink of tears. Everyone's pain looked at the man in a daze and shook his head to be able to become the Rain Clan's cultivation level that was naturally major martial arts previous life. However, even though the number one prodigy take him away, shaken the entire race for his holy land. Also, wasn't it a little claim to related recklessly charged? I don't have such snobbish relatives. The reason I share his dreams with me. That person looks like the heaven's fiend after Lin Ling laughed as her emotion said, "Ko Yuan killed me." Today I remember that the heaven fiend Ming Wang has many transformations so he can change his appearance at any time. Allowing furthermore he is called the heaven mansion Ming Wang. Everyone grieved. Even Shan said, "If the patriarch wasn't here, take him away." They noticed Rain Master emoji face and shook his head. Rain Master because of a similar name, but he was still brought just came to the Rain Clan. This was too embarrassing for the Rain Clan. This time, Lin Ling many people began to know that strength has always remained in the Rain Clan, and the people strength becomes Dragon Empire. Previously, he wanted to amaze the world. If you want to see, they could also see that the young master was the one who not behaved atrociously here. But he seemed to have failed. Although he was angry because he was an elder, he didn't know real heaven. Today, he came to the great serpent mansion be willing, especially Mo Ziffin. Just because he was the strongest dared to reprimand his mother, another genius from the Rain Clan walked out with my son Ho Yuan with waving his hand to wanted me to hand him over. Grandfather, my men cousin removing the black cloth on their heads and killed you. He realized that all of them were grandfather said his cousin came to the Rain Clan for the first time. Obviously, they were all doesn't know the rules of the various countries in the hundred territories. As elders, we have to remind kill the wrong person. Many people walked out and they could Rain Master and Rain Master's bloodline of the great Rain Master who looked like the heaven of his grandson in hand and coming to the Rain Clan. He might even didn't know how powerful the Rain Clan. Furthermore, he didn't know that was why he ran him Ming Lord was when your son Ho Yuan cashes no one since his grandfather had killed the Rain Clan. He used this chance to discredit himself heaven and earth. Maybe was he also in the hall by the clan still drinking tea? He looked at explain it to you. Cousin, the Rain Clan Ming Wang is not only looking at his you can't do whatever you want. Could it be that great talent still can make the Rain? The most important thing is whether he has the eternal grandfather will give you a chance. At this moment, you seem to have forgotten your identity and grandfather will let the laws of the Rain silent. The person who spoke seemed to be very confident. Mo Ziffin was 20 years old this year. Many people realized that the person who spoke was the one who spoke. This cultivation the wrong person and not letting him go was actually very strong. The efficiency is too low because the Rain Clan's talent affects the reputation of the cultivation speed was much slower. Our Rain Clan wants to recover the eternal youth technique, so naturally we have to hit the nail on the geniuses of the various martial arts. We don't have to capture some useless people to make a fool of ourselves. You are at the peak of the Emperor Spirit realm, but Aunt Yun to go out and train yourself. At the late stage of the Emperor Spirit realm, Mo Xiaoyan felt with his hands behind his back. His aura was as steady as a mountain. Anger. Everyone was looking at Lin Ling. He is the material for great things. Only their daughter was speaking up the handsome MOZ fan. This would incur the wrath of the crowd. MOZ fan was obviously much better than the previous genius from the Rain Clan. He doesn't need to defeat the wrong person. As long as he can damage a single strand of my hair, he will win. After all, this MOZ fan scolded them in front of so many people. MOZ was very embarrassed. This was also a way to make his grandfather happy. How about it? MOZ looked at Lin Ling and said, "If you can't do it, then you have to follow the rules." Chapter 931. Grandfather must have his own reasons for his decision.
The two prides of the Rain clan. You should respect him and put the Rain clan's interests first. Sure enough, he seemed to think that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to Rain clan, so he used his status as a cousin to criticize Lin Ling. Then everyone looked at Ziffin. At this moment, Rainmaster was sitting at the edge of the square, calmly drinking tea. He was unspeakably calm. After everyone looked at him, was a little arrogant, slightly, but sometimes he was quite popular. And walked out in a manner that was neither arrogant nor shook his head again. His calm appearance made the crowd admire him. It was a pity that growing up outside, this young man was probably going to be the pillar of the Rain clan. The difference between the two was too great. See who you caught him? 10 moves. Rainmaster under everyone's gaze, Lin Ling said previously he had caused a bit of a 10 moves, which made him feel a bit embarrassed. If you don't have the confidence, 20 moves are fine too. After all, he was a serious person, and what he disliked the most was this type of reckless and careless person. Let's make it 3. But now, with the appearance of the Rain clan, twin prides, since he had the chance to see his mother, he definitely wouldn't miss it. Grandpa, I caught him. Ziffin's pupils constricted, did not say much, and the others also widened like a gem. Ziffin had the right to be arrogant, so he allowed 10 moves. Then he waved his right hand, and a figure was brought out from the crowd. He also allowed 3 moves. The rope that tied that person was untied. You have to know that I'm at the peak of the Emperor's spirit realm. The black cloth on his head was also untied. In addition to the talent of the Rain clan, to the center of the number one existence everyone's eyes were fixed on among the 7 major martial arts. He looks the same as the heaven fiend Ziffin shook his head and smiled. Moreover, he's in the early stage of the Holy Spirit realm. Lin Ling didn't say much and took a step forward. Looks like he's the real heaven fiend Ming Wang. Outsiders don't know the strength of the Rain clan. Rainmaster Ziffin shook his head helplessly and then he nodded in admiration. The two stood tens of meters apart. He naturally noticed that the person had the aura of the 6 shaman Holy Land. I'm ready. According to the legends, the heaven fiend Ming Wang saw make it 10 moves, which was unique in the Rainforest Holy Land. Looked at his grandfather. So he was sure that the person was decided that he would make Lin Ling hurt himself. Are you the heaven fiend Ming Wang? This was also considered as letting his grandfather see the results of his cultivation before the end of the year assessment. Calamity Ming Wang. The man shouted coldly, filled with the arrogance of an expert. Shot out like a leopard. Is the eternal youth technique with you? Punched out heavily. Rainmaster Mo Ping. He doesn't know martial arts. I'm convinced that many people shook their heads of the Rain clan. Nian Chen's son's martial arts foundation was so weak. Even though that male was arrogant, he was still willing to accept his loss. This made Rainmaster Mo Ping unfortunately, they didn't know that this person actually had some backbone. Contained 30 even though he obtained the eternal evergreen technique, the punch landed on him. It wasn't stolen from the Rain clan. Ziffin's that was why he took back the eternal evergreen technique. It looked hazy, but it was actually a powerful defensive martial arts. Zihu, well done. Time seemed to have stopped. Rainmaster Mo Ping smiled at one person punching out, and the other standing quietly. Well. You must do things in the next moment, decisively. Ziffin was blown away as if he was hit by a cannon from every angle and finally made everyone's eyes widen. Zihu's voice was sonorous and only defended and didn't attack. Might and he used the true meaning of causing Rainmaster Mo Ping to nod was extremely strong. Amazing. However, he was still the crowd murmured to themselves. This was too unbelievable. The geniuses of the Rain clan all came out to capture the heaven fiend Ming Wang alive. I even dare to fight with the early stage of the Rain clan succeeded. How can I be defeated? The Rain clan truly lived up to their reputation. One had to know that there were very few people in the Rainforest Holy Land he was who could capture a Holy Spirit because in just one move, not only did his hair get damaged, but he was also blown away. All right, that 10 moves was simply a joke. And the others can enter the Bodhi flower to cultivate. His figure moved through the rain and shot can as well, but don't get too close. Rainmaster Mo Ping finally said with certainty. The true meaning of Rain Mystic exploded and reached 100%. Today he had rendered a meritorious service to the Rain clan. Sharp. Furthermore, he had let the other desolate race know his name. The clan leader was looked at a corner of the square. After Ziffin there was a youth in a blue and white robe sitting there calmly drinking tea. This was something the clan leader didn't want to see. It was as if he was oblivious to the matters of the world. Refusing to admit defeat was a disgrace to the proud Rain clan. Was Lin shot a finger at Lin Ling. I thought you would succeed, at this moment, but in the end, I was one step ahead of you. Coldly. Do you still have the face to drink tea in front of me? He looked forward and looked at Lin Ling and said meaningfully. The fist and finger collided. He had been defeated by Lin Ling. In the next moment, the figure flew out again. Furthermore, this time he hit the ground and spat out blood. He naturally wanted to suppress Lin Ling. He wanted to make Lin Ling speechless in embarrassment. Who is that? The other desolate race members looked at Lin Ling curiously. The two prides of the Rain clan, there were two people whose beautiful eyes were twinkling. But I overestimated you. One of them was Yu from the Sparrow race, while the other was the second dream from the night race. A soft voice. The two of them had followed their seniors to observe the Rain clan's geniuses. Mo Ping's eyes narrowed. As for the Rain clan's seniors, they were also looking at Lin Ling. How was this possible? All of them gave a faint smile. Son didn't have any cultivation resources and was born in the 100 territories. He had defeated the Rain clan's geniuses. How could he defeat a genius of the Rain clan? Embarrassed. How dare you hurt my son? Lin Ling had helped them vent their anger. After a moment of silence, a sharp voice came out. Ping was somewhat surprised. It was Ziffin's mother. The mission he issued was for all the Rain clan's geniuses to move out. But your son seems to be a disgrace. Although he had informed Lin Ling, if you don't have the strength, don't let others attack you. And now Lin Ling looked at the beautiful woman, but it seemed to be fruitless. The beautiful woman, it was no wonder he was silently drinking tea in the distance. These elders had always compared their sons to others. For some unknown reason, even though Lin Ling also was the weakest among the Rain clan's bloodline, but now it seemed like they couldn't compare at all. Lin Ling being suppressed, just a spark. He also felt a hint of anticipation in his cousin. The reason for this was perhaps because the Rain clan had a large number of grandchildren and descendants, the result of overestimating myself. Lin Ling, this little grandson, looked at that person again. The person has been found. Me teaching you a lesson is also the result of overestimating yourself. His strength is exactly the same, a junior of the Rain clan, but there seems to be a crucial point that has not been confirmed. Many gazes looked at Lin Ling. All the juniors of the Emperor's spirit realm came together, said lightly, "You wouldn't be able to teach me a lesson." Ah. The juniors of the Rain clan narrowed their eyes. The son of Emon was so arrogant. They thought that the youth who was being suppressed would definitely remain silent. I'll defeat all of the humiliation. Lin Ling stepped forward. But who knew that the latter would say something so nonchalant that no one could understand? Not only would he be able to see his mother about, but he would also be able to win glory for her. Lin Ling did not complete the mission, yet he had the cheek to be so arrogant. Let me see if you are not qualified to speak to me. Rain Barrier, a genius of the Rain clan, stepped forward. His words made Lin Ling shake his head lightly. It was as if he actually separated Lin Ling's spiritual chi from the heaven and earth. The various desolate race members were alarmed. Clans, since the Rain clan's geniuses have such a figure that anyone else clan's defense and attack would be greatly weakened. Bastard, however, to be so arrogant without the innate technique, and his body was strong. Mo Ziffin's expression was as ugly as the bottom of a spiritual chi. Just as he was about to speak again, Mo Zihu, he took a step forward, said like a sword being unsheathed, then what do you want to say? He punched out. Did you not understand what I said previously? Geniuses were also displaying powerful true intent of martial arts with a teasing look. Boom. You are saying that the heaven fiend Ming Wang, the prodigy, was sent flying backwards. His name is correct. How could he have known that Lin Ling was invincible in the Emperor's spirit realm? However, there is a crucial point relying on his physical body. This means that he is very likely not the heaven fiend in the hall. Mo Zihu was still in doubt, Rain clan's but Rain Master Mo Ping was indeed according the desolate to seniority you belonged to my cousin. He immediately understood the meaning behind Lin Ling's words. Then I'll let you have it. Senior Lin Ling laughed lightly and stood at his original location without moving. Your insight is no trifling matter. His words caused the expression of the Rain clan's as he came to the middle of the square. Ugly. Rain Master, with a flicker of his body, he could clearly sense that Lin Ling's words were filled with sarcasm. Bang. What he meant was that the desolate race's patriarch position did not live up to his reputation even before confirming their legs to chop down Wang's identities. Then what is the last crucial point? But Lin Ling was unscathed. Rain Master Mo Ping said in a deep voice. His physical body had been tempered. Lin Ling had embarrassed him by saying that in front of so many people realm cultivators. In a large family clan, what was most important was face. Lin Ling's fist shot out like a meteor, his superior, and the 5 figures were all sent flying. He was Lin Ling's grandfather. Well, then you capture the heaven again, causing the hearts of many to eternal youth technique. In this way, what do you think is the most crucial point? 2 strongest prodigies of the Rain clan. No one in the younger generation could be his opponent. Confirmed. This son of Emon Yenshin, he shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. So powerful. Mo Xiaoyan covered her mouth with her small hand. Chapter 932. One had to know that her cousins in the 7 major martial arts this time was to retrieve the eternal youth prodigy ranking. If the eternal youth technique wasn't even confirmed, how could the final victory be determined? Could it be that he was the number 1 prodigy of the 7 major martial arts? He seemed to have made his decision. Can I see my mother now? Then he looked at the man and dared to step forward. Do you have the eternal youth technique? He turned around and looked at the Rain Master Mo Ping. Among the previously, the Rain Master Mo Ping had said that the Rain clan was a large clan that prioritized benefits above all else. Everything had already been set. Now that he had displayed his strength, after the Rain clan that his future potential would admit everything. Only when they took out the perspective of benefits would they see that it was should have some special privileges. And by the time they wanted to catch him again, already invincible in the Emperor's spirit realm. This plan was very thorough. Let me test your strength. Giving him enough time to escape from danger. At this moment, unfortunately, a young man in white robes walked into the hall, causing him to fall short of success. His hands were behind his back, handed over, and his steps seemed to carry the charm of nature. Waved his hand, his steps did not seem force gushed out, but in the blink of an eye, a large number of items from the man's body. A powerful aura quietly spread out. Finally, it was the strength of an early stage memory spirit realm expert. Then he looked at Lin Ling. He was about a year older than Lin Ling. What else do you have to say? But his strength was unparalleled. You're asking for humiliation. He was comparable to the saint of the Bodhi Sacred Palace. Even the memory stone had been found. Rain fell from the sky. Lin Ling still wanted to bewitch everyone. World of the profound meaning when of Rain Master Mo, the center of the hall, the memory stone, become an area of heavy rain. To violently change. In the rain, 2 figures stood facing each other. Before he one of them was the mysterious young man in white, and the other was Lin Ling. The eyes of the crowd flashed.
He is
Lin Ling was
definitely
so
not an
confident.
ordinary Saint Spirit
Realm
Master
expert.
Mo Ping didn't even say
Lin
anything,
Ling was shocked,
but it was as
he
if
realized
he was
that he
the
could
ruler
not
of
move his
everything.
body.
At this
It was
moment,
as if
everything
everything
was
was
controlled
controlled
by
by
the
the
body
rain.
trembled. However, he still
He
controlled
finally
himself.
raised his head and said
His
with
right
an
hand
unsightly
slowly
expression,
reached for the
"It is
tyrannical
indeed
song sword
fake."
behind him.
Is it real
This
or
was the
fake?
usual action
This
of
time,
drawing the sword.
everyone looked at
but it
Lin
was
Ling.
incomparably
Their
difficult
eyes were
today.
filled with shock.
Lin Ling really knew everything. Impossible, this is impossible.
Cousin Mo Zihu.
I found the heaven
Everyone
fiend
in the
Ming
hall
Wang
had
through
a
other
drastic
means.
change in
How
expression.
can this eternal youth
Some of the
technique be
younger
fake?
generation
No,
revealed
the heaven
Wuxia
fiend Ming
worship.
Wang is real.
Any one of the
He
Rain
must have
Clan's
brought out the
geniuses
real
was
art
a
of
top
everlasting
pride
youth.
of the 7
Mo
great
Zihu
martial
kept
arts
shaking
halls.
his head as if
The
he
most
couldn't
dazzling
believe what he was
geniuses
seeing.
of the Rain Clan
Previously,
were
he had
Mo Zihu
obtained
and Mo
endless
Zilong.
glory.
These
But
two
after
were
Lin
famous
Ling's
in
appearance,
great desolate
everything
races.
turned to ashes.
They had stepped into
Moreover,
the Saint
he
Spirit
believed
realm
that
at
the
such a
mantis
young
stalks
age,
the cicada,
and were known as the
unaware
Rain
of the
Clan's
Oriole
twin
behind.
prides.
He
Of
mocked
course,
those geniuses
that
of the
paid
Rain
attention
Clan
to
who
them were the
failed,
top
but in
factions.
reality he was
No one
also
in
a
the 7
mantis.
great martial arts
This was a
halls knew of
complete
them.
loss of faith.
This was because
Bringing
the heavens
endless
prides of the
humiliation
martial
to the
arts
Rain
halls
Clans
did
did
not
not
have
have
the qualifications
even the
to know
heavenly
of them.
fiend Ming Wang
And
is
today,
fake.
Lin Ling had
However,
swept away
after
all
he
the
spoke,
geniuses of the
Lin Ling
Rain
spoke
Clan.
again.
It was
This
impossible
time,
for
Rain
Master
Master
Mo
Zihu
to
did
not
not
come
come
out.
out.
The
He
heaven
represented
fiend
the
Ming Wang
orthodox
was also a
bloodline,
fake,
and
why
Lin
couldn't
Ling
he see
represented
through
the
it?
collateral
Could
bloodline.
it be that this Lin
How
Ling
could
was
he let
stronger
Lin
than
Ling be
him?
proud?
What proof
Must
do you
the
have?
Rain Clan's twin
Rain
prides
Master
be able
Mo
to
Ping
suppress
said with
him?
a frown.
Rain
With
Master
Lin Ling
Mo
saying
Ping
this,
he
deeply
felt
at
even
Lin Ling
more
previously,
humiliated. He could tell
because
that
the
Lin
real
Ling's body was
apocalyptic
very
deity
strong.
is with me.
But after
However,
the geniuses
before I
came
let
out
him
one
out,
by one,
you have to
he wanted to
promise
see
me that
Lin
you
Ling
won't
attack
attack
him.
But
But
who
who
knew
knew
that
that none of the
calmly?
Rain Clan's
Sure.
geniuses could
Rain
stop
Master
Lin Ling?
Mo Ping
They
said
had
in
to
a
send out their
dignified manner.
strongest elites
He
to
didn't
suppress
believe
him.
that Lin Ling had
Although
captured
Lin
the
Ling was
heaven
being
fiend Ming
suppressed,
Wang,
he did not
and
feel
Mo
good
Zihu
in his
didn't
heart.
believe it either.
After all, even though Lin Ling
everything
was
was too
defeated,
surreal.
it was still a glorious
out.
defeat.
Lin Ling
In the
waved his
entire
hand
Rain
gently,
Clan,
and
there
a
were
man
only
in a
two
cloak
geniuses
walked out
above
from the
Lin
crowd.
Ling.
Rumble.
He slowly
The
came
Rain
to Lin
profound
Ling's
world
side
was
and
still
bowed
as vast as
respectfully to
before,
Lin Ling,
constantly
then said,
suppressing
"My
Lin Ling and Mo
apologies, I am
Zihu
the
also
real
saw that
apocalyptic
Lin Ling was
deity."
about to draw his
The cloak
sword.
was slowly removed,
He gently
revealing
smiled.
a familiar face.
In front of me, what
It was
can you
exactly
do even
the
if you
same
draw
as the
your
man in
sword?
the square,
Lin Ling's
causing a
pupils
commotion
were
in the
cold.
square. His
It was
opponent
another
was the strongest
apocalyptic
opponent
deity.
he had ever met,
Who was the real
yet he
one
could
and
not
who was
draw
the
his
fake
sword.
one?
But if he could not
Apocalyptic
even draw
deity?
his sword,
Rain
that
Master
would be a
Mo
great
Ping sucked in a
humiliation.
breath of cold
Rumble.
air.
The small world within Lin Ling's body crazily surged. Waves of
The situation
energy and
had
flames
changed
erupted,
beyond his
allowing
imagination.
Lin Ling to finally
It was as if
grasp
there was
the
a
sword
glimmer
hilt.
of light at the
And
end
Mo
of the
Zihu
tunnel.
did not care at all.
One by one,
Under
the
his Rain
apocalyptic
profound
deity
world,
appeared,
what
and no
could
one
Lin
knew
Ling
which
do
one
even
was
if he
real
drew
and
which
which
one
sword.
was fake?
After all,
As for
once
Mo
the profound
Zihu,
world
his
was
face
used,
turned ugly.
it could suppress all
He
true
stared at
martial
the man and
intent.
suddenly said,
All right.
"How can you be sure
this
that he
moment,
is the real
Rain
one?"
Master Mo
From
Ping
the looks of
indifferently
it,
said,
everyone is more or
"However,
less
just
the
as he
same.
finished speaking,
Maybe yours is
a
the
sword
fake
light
one."
slashed out.
With that said,
Fire
he looked at the
profound world.
apocalyptic deity he had brought back and coldly said, "Are you the real apocalyptic deity?" Nonsense,
Chapter
if I'm not the
919.
apocalyptic
Breakthrough
deity, who
show.
is? A shallow
him?
sword wound
I never
appeared on Mo
expected that
Zihu's
in this
cheek
world,
as blood
there are
flowed
so
out.
many people who
His
want to
eyes
use my
narrowed.
name to commit
This
such
son of Mo
atrocities.
Yenchen had
The
actually
man
injured
laughed
him,
arrogantly,
and he had
making
even
the crowd
comprehended
believe
that he was the
profound.
real one.
Profound.
After all, the man
Rain
was
Master
still so
Mo
confident
Ping's
at
eyes
this
widened.
moment.
He
If he
didn't
wasn't the
expect
real
Mo
one, then
Yenchen
what was
son
he?
to not only have a
Instantly,
strong
the
physical
crowd was at a
body,
loss.
but he had also
Who was
touched
the real
threshold of
apocalyptic
profound.
deity who had brought back?
One had to know that among
You
the
see
Rain
that?
Clan's
Lin Ling,
20-year-old
you are the
geniuses,
fake one.
only
I don't
Mo
understand
Zilong
why
and
you
Mo
are causing
Zihu had
trouble in front
comprehended
of so many
profound.
people.
Now
Is
there
it
was one
because the
more
Rain
person.
Clan has
This
mistreated
son of
you,
Mo
so you want to
Yenchen had
embarrass
given
him
him
a
a
huge
huge
shock in front of the
today.
desolate race?
You injured me.
You have such evil
At this
intentions.
moment, Mo Zihu
stared
stared
coldly
coldly
at Lin Ling
shouted.
previously.
He insisted
because
that he
he
had
had underestimated
underestimated
he would
Lin
lose
Ling.
all his
Lin
face
Ling
today.
had scratched his cheek.
I don't think as much
I
as
know.
you. At least
Lin
I
Ling
have
replied
completed my
softly.
mission, and
He
I
also
won't
knew
mock
how
others
powerful
like a
Mo
clown.
Zihu was. palace. Lin Ling
If they were
chuckled.
to fight, he wouldn't
At the
be
same
his
time,
opponent.
he pouted at
This was
Mo
because
Ziffin.
Mo Zihu
This
had
made Mo
profound and his
Ziffin's
talent was
expression turn
terrifying.
ugly.
If
Previously,
Mo
he
Zihu
was
had
the one who underestimated
Lin
Ling,
he
resulting
wouldn't
in
have
the
been able
courage
to take
situation.
advantage of him.
As for the
You are very
patriarch's
powerful.
embarrassment,
That's
Mo
because he
Zihu
looked
looked
deeply
deeply
at
at Lin Ling, but in the
As
end,
the
he looked
patriarch
at
of a
Rainmaster
clan,
Mo
how
Ping
can he
and
be
could
so
only
sure of
retreat.
something that has
Previously,
not been
he
verified?
wanted to represent
Is it
the
because the
Rain
Rain
clan
clan's
to teach Lin Ling a
prides took
lesson.
action that he is
Although
so
he
sure?
had suppressed Lin
Lin Ling
Ling's
said
aura,
again.
he didn't gain
His
any
voice
advantage.
was calm, but it
Now,
stirred the
it wasn't
hearts of
suitable
everyone.
for him to make a move.
Lin Ling, are you crazy?
His spar with Lin Ling was actually a draw. However, Lin Ling believed that Mo Zihu had won.
How dare you talk
Then
about the
he looked at
patriarch like
Rainmaster
that?
Mo Ping
The
and
Rain
said,
clan
"Can I
people's
see my
hearts
mother
trembled
now?"
violently.
Yes.
They looked at Lin Ling
Rainmaster
again.
Mo Ping
At
finally
this
nodded,
moment, Lin
but
Ling
he still
chuckled.
asked,
Mo
"What is
Zihu,
your name?"
why are you so nervous?
It was ironic.
The real one
Lin
can't
Ling
be
had
fake
been with
and
him
the
for
fake
so
one
long,
can't be real.
but he only
To be
remembered
so
to ask for
frivolous,
Lin
are you
Ling's
really
name
the
now.
Rain clan's two
Singer.
prides?
Lin Ling smiled and
Mo
slowly
Zihu
walked out of
gritted
the
his
hall.
teeth.
He
Before
didn't
he
call
was as calm as
Rainmaster
a
Mo
general
Ping
grandfather,
grandfather, he was
but
just
just
said
said
by Lin
Lin
Ling.
Ling. The most hateful thing was that when he saw
Rainmaster
Lin
Mo
Ling's
Ping's
carefree
heart
aura,
stirred.
he had the
This
urge
name
to
was
beat
like the
Lin
sun
Ling
at
up.
noon in the rainforest
Rainmaster
Holy
Mo
Land.
Ping's face
He was
turned
the
ashen.
#1 genius
He
of the
coldly
7th
stared
grade
at
martial
Lin Ling
arts
and said,
halls. Then why
It was
are you
no
so
wonder
sure?
that none of the Rain
You should know
Clan's
that in the
geniuses
Rain
were his
Clan,
opponents.
slandering is a
The
big
number
crime.
one Heaven's Pride disciple
I know, but I am
represented the
confident.
total number one
Lin
Heaven's
Ling
Pride
chuckled and
disciple
nodded
of the
at
7
Heaven
major
Ming
martial
Wang.
arts palaces.
The latter smiled
The
and
Rain
stretched
Clan's
out his
geniuses
hands,
could become the
drawing
number
a
one Heaven's
mysterious
Pride
pattern.
disciple of the
At the
Heaven's
same
Pride
time,
list.
the man
But they
in the
couldn't
middle of
become
the
the number
square
one
trembled
Heaven's Pride
violently,
disciple of
as
the
if his
7
soul
major
was taken
martial
away.
arts palaces.
His body kept
This meant that
changing,
other
and the
than the two
witchcraft
prides
aura
of the Rain
disappeared.
Clan,
In
all
the
the
end,
other
he
geniuses
spat out
were
a
not a
bug and
match
turned
for Lin
into a
Ling.
short and fat
The
man.
most ironic thing
It's
was
just
that this
witchcraft.
Lin Ling was not
After
nurtured by the
finishing,
Rain
Heaven
Clan,
Fiend Ming
but
Wang
rather grew
smiled
up on his
faintly.
own.
Silence. Disperse.
The crowd
Rain
fell
Master
into a dead
Mo Ping
silence.
stood up and left
What
with a solemn
Mo who brought
expression.
back was indeed
The
a
hall
fake.
was still silent.
However, everyone
was so
felt
real.
uncomfortable
Putting
in their
aside
hearts.
the appearance and
They could sense
cultivation,
that
the
the most
patriarch's
important thing
mood
had
had
become
become
bad.
bad.
It had the
Little
aura of
bastard,
witchcraft,
you have
and
no
used it
respect
to
for
deceive
your
everyone.
elders.
Even
One
the
of the
top
men
experts
angrily
could not
shouted.
see through it.
All of this was because
witchcraft
of
was
Lin
so
Ling.
powerful. They didn't resent Lin Ling, but they had been sitting in high positions for many years. In addition, they were members of the Rain Clan, an exalted desolate race. Therefore they were proud and arrogant. Chapter 933. But now Lin Ling had made them
One
lose
sword to
face.
kill 100 flowers.
They couldn't let it go.
Lin Ling, well
Done.
done.
Following
Amidst
that,
the shocked
elders
crowd,
began
Yu
to curse
waved
their
her
own
fist.
juniors. She already
Zihu,
knew
how
that
was his
Lin Ling
strength?
was of the Rain
A woman
Clan's
with a high
bloodline.
status looked
Hence,
at Mo
she was the
Zihu
one
and
who
asked.
suggested coming to
Among
the Rain
Clan.
Clan's juniors.
Previously,
Only
when
the
she
two
saw the
prides
Rain
of the Rain
Clan
Clan
bullying
could
Lin
suppress
Ling,
Lin Ling.
she was infuriated.
This would make the patriarch
But
value
thankfully,
Lin Ling
so
managed
she
to
felt
turn
that
the
Lin
tide
Ling
and
was
attain
attaining
the ultimate
danger.
glory.
This was the Lin Ling she knew.
His martial arts
Be it a
background
young
is
man
deep,
or a young
his
man, he was
foundation
always
is solid,
behind the scenes,
and he has
controlling
profound
everything.
meaning.
The
He could
witchcraft
suppress all
puppet
true
he
martial
actually deceived
intents.
me.
Even
Rain
geniuses
Master
with
Mo
emperor
Ping
physiques
stared
are not
blankly
his
at the
match.
short and fat man in
Weak
the square.
points.
His
Previously,
talent is too
he had
weak.
sensed the aura
His
of witchcraft,
cultivation is
so he
only
was
at
certain
the
of
late
everything.
stage of the Emperor's
However,
spirit
it was
realm.
just a smokescreen.
Mo Zihu
You should have
indifferently
thought of it.
said.
Witchcraft was mysterious and ever-changing. Many people's
Unless he
eyes
could
flickered.
confirm it with his
This
own
was
eyes,
very appropriate.
anything could happen.
Lin Ling did not
He had
have
been
the
too
talent of the
careless,
Rain Clan
and
had
had
to
to
rely
rely
on his
strength,
own hard
he would have
work to
discovered
build a solid
everything if he had
foundation.
paid more attention.
However, to be able to
Unfortunately,
comprehend a
he
small
thought highly
world
of
of
Mo
profound
Zihu,
at such a young
believing
age
that
was
Mo
indeed
Zihu would be
terrifying.
the one to complete
If
the
Lin
mission.
Ling reached the peak
And
of
when
the
he saw
Emperor's
Mo
spirit realm,
Zihu
he
suppressing
would
Lin
definitely
Ling,
be the
he
third
silently
genius of the
agreed.
Rain Clan. This was because
you
although
defeat
Lin
him?
Ling was his
Someone
grandson,
asked.
he was too
If I
unruly.
face him head-on,
Hence,
he is
he
not
wanted
my
Mo
match.
Zihu to suppress
Mo
his
Zihu
momentum.
smiled faintly.
But in the end, he
Then
had
he slowly
embarrassed
left.
himself. He thought to
Sigh.
himself, Rain
No
Master
wonder he
Mo
is so
Ping sighed.
powerful.
Today,
It is said
Lin
that
Ling
even
was
the
in
Night
control
Clan's
of
the
everything.
second dream was
Heaven
defeated by
Fiend
him.
Ming Wang,
The
hand
next
over
time
the
I meet
eternal
this
youth
Lin Ling,
technique, I must
lest
defeat
others
him
say
with all
that
my
it's fake.
strength.
At this moment,
Fortunately,
Lin Ling
the two
smiled.
prides of the Rain
He was
Clan are
indeed in
above that
control
little
of everything.
bastard.
Everyone
Everyone
thought
thought that
little
Emon
bastard
Yinshin
would
really
really
was
rebel
not
on
important.
top of
But
our
today,
heads.
he would once again
Many
tell the
people
Rain
relaxed.
Clan that Emon
In the
Yinshin's
Rain
son
Clan,
would not embarrass his
outstanding
mother.
talents were valued
When it
by
came to
Rain
his
Master
mother, he would not
Ping.
tolerate it.
If Lin Ling was just a little bit stronger, then his status would be above them. stone at
Although
Rain
many of
Master
them could
Mo
easily
Ping.
defeat Lin
After
Ling,
Rain
they
Master
were old
Mo
and
Ping
had cultivated
received it,
for a long
he
time.
finally said with a
The Rain
solemn
Clan did
expression,
not care about
"This
these
mission
things.
has been
What
completed
they
by
cared
Lin
about
Ling.
was the potential of
Lin
the
Ling
younger
has
generation.
completed it.
In an
The
ancient
final
clan, if
confirmation
the younger
stirred the hearts
generation
of the
was not
crowd
strong,
once again.
then the clan
This was
would
the first
eventually
time the
decline.
desolate race members
He is
were
only a
carefully
year
looking
older
at
than
Lin
me,
Ling.
but he has
His
already
surname was Lin,
comprehended
not
a
Mo.
profound meaning.
Clearly, he did
This
not
is
have
simply
the pure
unheard of
bloodline
in the
of the
seven
Rain Clan.
profound martial house.
He had an ordinary bloodline,
After leaving
but
the
he
hall,
was very
Lin Ling
powerful.
was shocked.
Lin
Ever
Ling
since
is
he
truly
started
a dragon
cultivating,
among men.
as long as he was a
He rose
genius
up in
of
the
his
martial
age,
arts hall,
he would
and
be
now
able to
he has
surpass
come to
them
the
one
four
by
desolate
one.
races.
But today was
However,
the first
the
time that
desolate
he had
races
encountered a
geniuses
genius
are
of his
still
age that
unable
was
to
stronger
stop
than
him.
him. It's
He
no
had
wonder
finally
I
lost
lost
his
to him.
battle.
The
Not
second
only
dream's
that,
eyes
but
flickered
besides
as she
Mo
watched
Zihu,
from the
the
Night
other
Clan.
geniuses were
In
also
truth,
very fierce.
she knew that Lin
For
Ling would
instance,
win the
there was
moment
a
he stepped
genius
out
with
of
a
the
gifted
arena.
emperor body.
Because Lin Ling was the only person in her life that she couldn't see
His
through.
talent was able to
Lin
seal steal away the spiritual energy of the semifinals? It was an extremely heaven-defying ability. Lin Ling's name had shaken the sacred rainforest, so he did not fear him. Even the desolate race had long heard of him. They would have already been defeated. However, they never expected after interacting with them, just entered a stronger world. The reason the Rain Clan was able to stand tall was because they had the clan's twin prides compared to the ancient desolate clan. And at this moment, his strength was still much weaker. Standing in his original spot. Come with me. Everyone thought that he would an old man complete his mission and take first place. And respectfully said to Lin Ling. He had indeed been the center of attention previously. Through their conversation, at the most dazzling moment that this was his mother's former house down from the highest stage. He was loyal and devoted, and his name was Nushu. Moz, who looked he was not of the Rain Clan's bloodline. When you were standing high up and criticizing others, Lin Ling quickly you should have realized that you would also be criticized by others. Polite. The Rain Clan's twin prides do not mean that they will never be defeated when he was outside. Lin Ling's eyes were also looking at Moz as his indifferent voice floated out at all. Moz was the genius that had defeated Lin Ling for the first time in his life. This made him feel flattered. But now Lin Ling was no longer afraid of him. I've troubled you to take care of my mother all these years, Lin Ling said with a smile. He had a good impression of Nushu. Furthermore, he could sense that Nushu was stronger the opponent, the more Lin Ling wanted to surpass him. This made him sigh.
You said that I lost, was indeed but you don't know who the loser is. Following that, Wuxia led Lin Ling to where it was undeniable that Lin Ling had won previously. However, after taking a few steps, that he had Lin Ling's expression changed. In terms of strength, Lin Ling was like an ant, sat down, but Lin Ling had actually said that flames began to emanate from his body. He was overestimating himself. It was extremely hot. Lin Ling, if you are so strong, why did you lose to Brother Zihu last time? Following that, he smiled happily and coldly snorted. Following that, he circled Lin Ling. I was only proud today, but I forgot about the shameful battle from last time. At the same time, the seniors and relatives in the grand hall walked out one after another. Today, Lin Ling had not only ridden on their heads, he had also trampled on the Rain Clan's who was cultivating in the distance. They could not swallow their expressions instantly turned ugly. Did I lose? He actually Lin Ling looked at Mo Ziffin, one of them causing Mo Ziffin to be startled and speechless. Mo Zihu had just said that Lin Ling's weakness was his low cultivation level. In reality, however, the result of the last battle Lin Ling had not been determined. Was he mocking them? Therefore, when Mo Ziffin said that Lin Ling had lost, it was a little arbitrary. Mo Ziffin, other than climbing up the coattails of others, 920. What else can you do? Mother. Loser. The stronger a martial artist was, the more difficult it was to break through. This caused Mo Ziffin to tremble with anger, the royal but he could not say anything. Cultivation although he was proud, measured he was indeed not unless one used pills to forcefully increase their strength. And you guys, you have the proud bloodline of the Rain Clan, but you lost to me, a half-blooded outsider, making it even more difficult to advance in cultivation. I don't know where you guys got the face to talk. As for Lin Ling, did the Rain Clan not teach you that losers have no right to speak? The advantage was that he could easily jump realms to fight, but the downside was that breaking through was to grit their teeth. But now they were so angry that they could not say anything. He was getting closer and closer. Losers had no right to speak. Let's go. Today, no one could bear to watch him longer. Completed his mission, so he wanted to suppress this humiliation was not something they could bear. However, the moment Lin Ling walked out, Lin Ling didn't know what was happening outside. Were bullied to the point of speechlessness. Within his Dantian, the Vermilion Bird Dao platform was growing larger and larger. Heaven and Earth looks like we underestimated Lin Ling. Sucked in by a vortex. The other desolate race members pouring into his Dantian. Lin Ling seemed to have defeated all the Rain Clan geniuses not long ago. Currently, Lin Ling's innate king body was no longer an advantage because the genius he faced had an innate king body. But the combination of his mortal body and fire had become an advantage. Maybe if Lin Ling was not only that, she would feel a profound meaning to Lin Ling, and the true meaning of sword were also still dazzling in the desolate race. So losing to Lin Ling made her even more convinced. After a long time, Lin Ling opened his eyes. The man she had lost to was no ordinary person, and a powerful strength has given you powerful bloodlines and endless glory. Peak of the royal but it is not for you to flaunt your congratulations, young master. If geniuses are not convinced of being geniuses, slave uncle excitedly said from the side, and not with your mouths. Lin Ling faintly smiled, that is a method in his heart. He thought of Mo Zihu. In the entire square, he had lost not too long ago, but he was confident that even Rain Master and Mo Ping had a rare moment of silence. Losing wasn't scary. Maybe he also felt that scary was losing and not daring to fight again. Courting death. The two of them, one in front and one behind, for you to talk deeper into the mountain valley. After being ridiculed in public, energy in the valley was rich, geniuses as if it were the most ancient and wild world. Their powerful king physiques were displayed as they surged towards Lin Ling like waves. This mountain valley was so mysterious, all the heroes had naturally infuriated After a moment, they wanted to see if Lin Ling had the right to be arrogant. At this time, they were standing atop a cliff. All the geniuses have made their moves. At the edge of the cliff, although they do not dare to attack and suppress Lin Ling, beneath their feet, they are using their 10,000-year-old profound ice that was harder than steel. Are those the Rain Clan's king physique? It's so cold. The eyes of the various desolate race members focused. Even though he was a fire attribute, this was a battlefield for the youths. He could still feel the cold. Youths were hot-blooded, so how could they be easily to reflect on her mistakes? Large amounts of auras exploded, which made Lin Ling They were all from the Rain Clan's Then the two of them jumped off the cliff. They were colorful. The cliff was very body, the nine-colored rain body, and the cold wind silkworm golden rain's heart. When they joined forces, the aura was extremely there was an ice valley in front of 100 flowers. There were mirror-like profound ice all around, to suppress all the heroes. This was a corner that had been abandoned by the world. Lin Ling had angered the elites. No matter how strong and invincible Emperor Spirit Realm was even more excited than Lin Ling, so much so that his body was trembling. Countless auras nodded heavily and walked causing Lin Ling's body to tremble. He was also very never expected that these fellows would join forces to suppress him. Along the way, Lin Ling saw a large number of lifelike ice sculptures. Lin Ling's eyes turned cold some were looking at the sky and some were smiling. An ancient aura These ice sculptures gave Lin Ling a very familiar feeling. Vitality was his father. Like the most beautiful flower, sunlight shone into the ice valley. When the flowers bloom, a woman in a blue dress flowers after they bloom. At this time, she was constantly exploded with Lin Ling at the sculpture quietly taking shape made in her taking race's ancient experts pupils constrict. The woman smiled as she looked at the ice sculpture, as if she were in a very good mood. Rumble. Perhaps in these past years, she could only rely on ice sculptures to make up for her nostalgia. King. Lin Ling excitedly looked at the blue dress. They all fell to the ground. In his eyes, she was extremely beautiful. 100 flowers. Every movement she made was natural, as if she were the most beautiful woman in the world. He walked forward step by step.
After the woman, she seemed to sense that clash had arrived in the ice genius's Pudong. She slowly turned around, but when she saw Lin Ling, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning, as if they were being affected. Although this was the first time she had seen this youth, they fell to the ground as their eyes stared into his delicate features. Lin Ling's sword was like Lin Chen, too similar, bullying me with numbers. The two people stared at each other. A cold voice floated out from the square, the endless causing the square to fall into a dead silence. Finally, Lin Ling softly called out. The Rain Clan geniuses were unhappy with Lin Ling's rise. Mother, so this was a very long time ago. Lin Ling's momentum. Could it be that he had come? However, they were eventually took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of Lin Ling. His sword had even caused a hundred out and fall to the ground from shock. All of this was very familiar. Although she had only seen him nothing more than that, she was finally sure that when 100 flowers bloom, I do not bloom. Ling, after I bloom, a clear and kind voice floated out from the woman's mouth. The pupils of the desolate race experts congealed, tears flowing from her clear eyes. Mother. Previously, the Rain Clan was also very emotional. Had wanted to take back their glory, seen his mother, but when their 100 in the distance bloomed, tears also flowed from the corners of New Shoe's eyes. With the Flower King appearing, after so many years, he knew that the young mistress had missed him. When a genius met a monster, how could a genius have the young master had finally returned? Is that the profoundness of seemed to freeze in the valley? Rain Master, although this was also the first time Lin Ling had seen his mother, but he was not very sure. The kinship that blood was because the profoundness of life in his impression. Therefore, he did not feel any sense of unfamiliarity, only a deep sense of joy. Don't be too arrogant, Mother. This is whose pupils congealed. Lin Ling took out the soil that he had kept in his father's grave and finally gave it to his feet. This time he was even crazier, holding the soil in her hands. 100 alone. At the corner of her eyes, he could not throw his face away. Although she already knew everything, she could not help but miss it. Did I lose to you in one move or 3 moves? The past, the little bits of beauty slowly showed in her heart. Previously you were not my match, so you were a loser. She did not try to show eternity, she only wanted to have it said in a deep voice. Although they were separated by life and death, it was enough that they had very strong, each other, have never defeated me, so how can you win? In the following days, Lin Ling took a step forward and said without any enjoying the hard-won peace. You will know. Emozihu's also tiger-colored hair fluttered and also enjoyed the time with her son. He waved his right hand and an azure halberd appeared in his hand. Moreover, it was true that he didn't defeat Lin Ling last time. He should not have let it was because of the timing. Like all mothers, when she saw her son again, she was very concerned about everything about him. Then he would make Lin Ling lose in front of everyone. She was also very happy to be able to cook for her son. Emperor body of the ocean. Mother, what do you think? Is this Emozihu said with a smile? The crowd's like a child, constricted not as they looked at the insufferably arrogant Emperor's sacred land. The two prides of the Rain Clan indeed had the qualifications to be arrogant. From your mother. Great waves washing away the sand. Although she seemed to be reprimanding him, her eyes were full of kindness in the air as if the god of the sea scratched the back of his head and said proudly, I defeated all the geniuses of the Rain Clan who were sitting on the ground all cheered. Then the patriarch allowed me to see Mother. Of the Rain Clan could help them regain their faith. Was cooking. With regards to the strength of the Rain Clan's face froze as she looked at her son in disbelief. She naturally knew not the only one. The Rain Clan's the others were the same as well. It could be said that in the Rainforest sacred land, so what? Other than the 4 great desolate clans, was calm. No one in the younger generation was qualified to compete was unavoidable. Even the geniuses of the 7 great martial arts halls were not qualified. Soon after, however, his right hand also pulled out the tyrannical song sword. The spoon in her hand stream of life profound rippled out as the Saint Spirit swept out. No one in the Rain Clan's younger generation is my match. The green sword light was ancient and divine. He liked the look of surprise on his mother's face and rushed towards Emozihu's because he felt a sense of accomplishment when talking about these profound energy of his mother. The Neptune's halberd was blasted apart by the impact of the 7 great causing rain to scatter in all directions. Back in the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, seeing I even made many people were shocked. Clan the #1 kingdom. I became the #1 king of the Cloud region. One had to know that under the Emperor physique, everything was just an ant. Lin Ling's innate talent couldn't compare to Emozihu's cultivation. Emozihu's body trembled when she heard her son's word. Had a second-grade overjoyed physique. Every parent hoped that their son had expected that Lin Ling would be able to block Emozihu's she was afraid that Lin Ling would feel inferior. Looks like this kid has comprehended the profound meaning of life Lin Ling's strength or his past. What a genius. However, she had never expected that her son would exceed her expectations, and this time such impressive results. That Lin Ling had comprehended her son and finally revealed a smile. However, he was even more shocked. Her son's achievements were dazzling, the profound meaning of life of put in 10 times more effort was very difficult to comprehend. After all, it wasn't something that just anyone could achieve. It was an extremely powerful in the 100 realms to where he was today. It wasn't strange that it could block Emozihu's innate emperor excitedly. Moreover, Lin's smile became even brighter. Strong. He didn't care how much his peers respected and admired above his level. However, he valued his mother's praise doubled after rising from the late stage of the Emperor's spirit realm to the peak of the Emperor's spirit realm. This was the thing he was most curious about. You should be proud that you were able to block my attack. His eyes had helped him grow to where he was today. Unfortunately, you're still going to lose. Mo expression turned serious. I'll use my true strength. She looked into the distance and said, remember not to tell anyone about the eyes. The halberd in his hand emitted the sound of crashing waves. Mother can only say that the pair of eyes also started from the rainforest, making him look even more hazy. It came from the ancient times. Previously, he had wanted to use his many experts wanted to find this pair of eyes. But caused a great war outside the domain. However, this time he wouldn't hold back. This is your secret. The halberd twisted and tore apart the void. The eyes came from outside the domain. Lost their light. Lin Ling's expression turned serious. Rain bloomed. The two prides of the rain clan will never be something that you can understand. She seemed to think that the less Lin Ling knew, the better. He swept out with his halberd. This was to protect Lin Ling. Waves surged and countless sea demons appeared. The rainforest sacred land is just a corner of the world. This wasn't an illusion, but a world of profound meaning. I left the rainforest sacred land. This also meant that he controlled this world like a god by chance in an ancient secret realm. The entire world disappeared. That time, I left the rainforest sacred land and was heavily injured. In the end, I hid in the cloud domain to cultivate and met your father. Are you the only one who hasn't used your full strength? She returned from the outer realms and hid in stone Saint Nation's extreme ice palace, trembled, hiding her golden and red flames. At the same time, she began to take in disciples. The entire sword became dazzling, hiding like the sun on the horizon. The eye. At the tip of the sword, to the outer realms, lotus just a small petals appeared. Those ancient gods and devils didn't know at all that the important treasure had been slashed out. After that, she met Lin Ling's father, Lin Ling, and the two fell in lotus of 10 directions. After they separated, at present, she gave the pair of eyes to Hua Leiting and told him to wait for Lin Ling to grow up before giving them to him. Although his innate king physique was ordinary, his innate physique allowed him to have the power of an innate emperor physique. This pair of eyes can look down on the profound meaning of fire. In reality, it is also a type of innate genius. However, it is an existence that surpasses the innate gift of an emperor. The power was vast and the flames were tyrannical. Slowly towards Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes, and some experts' eyes narrowed. I already knew that the eyes can see through the river of time. However, that is only the most basic meanings of martial arts. Now, I will awaken it for you. The profound meaning of fire stretched out more tyrannical. In his hand, water droplets and flames merged together. The ocean and the lotus profound meaning was displayed and then enveloped Lin Ling's eyes. And the frenzied power continued to mix and the area around his eyes was very warm. The raging ocean rushed towards Lin Ling. At the same time, his soul power was increasing crazily. The profound meaning of fire when Lin Ling opened his eyes, the world became clearer. It was as if he could see through everything. Changed greatly. Lin Ling's aura also changed quietly. It was already too late. It became more profound. The lotus that seemed capable of dominating aura of the past was also restrained. He spat out a mouthful of blood. My soul power has increased tremendously. Mozi, who was injured, Lin Ling was shocked. Bang! She looked at her mother and noticed that Mo Yenshin in front of them and were all shocked. They looked at Lin Ling again. At this moment, she smiled and said, "There is a condition for the eyes to be awakened." This collision seemed like it would end in a draw. The master's strength must increase. One sword to kill 100 flowers. You are not strong enough to control the eyes yet, so I used my strength to awaken them. Sword turned into a beautiful trajectory and fiercely you will have to figure out the secrets of the eyes yourself. It was like another flower blooming, firmly blocking the sea god's halberd. The eyes were a type of innate gift. The profound meaning of life was full of vitality and had the strongest defense. Currently, he could see through the river of time. After the power of the sea god's demon eye to intimidate the soul power of his enemies, appeared once again from the emerald green sword of others. He stood three types of abilities. He hadn't lost. In the future, if there were any other abilities, he would have to slowly what they were seeing. Moreover, before that, he could not tell anyone about the eyes. Chapter 935. Bodhi Flower. No one doubted Mozi, whose strength. Mission of the Rain was Clan. A true reclusive what a terrifying ice fog compared ability. To the elites of the 7 major martial halls, cold he far exceeded his them. Fire could burn only all the top elites of the various but it was helpless races had the ice dragon worms to fight mist. However, today one of the Rain Clan's negative 500 degrees by a youth who was even the ice dragon worm's ice would be negative 1,000 he did not have a powerful king body, although it was the same type of ice there were strong and weak ones. His perception was although monstrous. It was the same type of fire, it had to be said that he had exceeded everyone's expectations. Lin Ling had a king body, so he was unable to resist the ice of the ice dragon insect. It was just that you were so arrogant, now Lin Ling's greatest flaw. Every time you opened your mouth, the desolate race disciples all had until this battle, I thought you were amazing, but your Clan had the fiery rain body, rain demon body, etc. Gazes around 10 directions. Lin Ling slowly sheathed his sword and stood unleashed the fire. In the past, he was inferior to Mo, but today melting large amounts of ice in the ice valley. There is always someone better. Soon after, in the world of martial arts, incinerated. No one has ever dared to call themselves invincible. Profound meaning. If you remain stagnant, you will be surpassed by others. Fused into a slash. At the same time, Lin Ling's strength sounded slowly increasing. And
but
far away,
too many ice-dragon
whose
insects.
expression was
Therefore,
extremely
if
ugly.
he couldn't win,
He
would
had
run
lost
and rest before
he had
fighting
lost
again.
in disgrace.
Furthermore,
He had
by
lost
using
in
the
shame.
tyrannical song
He had
sword to
lost
kill
in
the
shame.
ice-dragon insects.
He was one of the rain
sword would
clan's
absorb
two
the
prides,
ice-dragon
so he was
insect's
confident that
essence,
Lin Ling was not
causing
his
Lin
match.
Ling's small world
Hence,
to
he had always
continuously
treated Lin Ling as a loser.
stronger and stronger.
Even if Lin Ling did not
This
lose,
son of
he
mine,
still
his
believed
talent
so.
cannot compare
However,
to the rain
today,
clans,
his so-called
but his
loser had
diligence
defeated him and
theirs.
surpassed him.
Moreover,
The words
the technique
defeated
he cultivates
opponent
is a bit
had
strange.
inexplicably become incomparably
Lin Ling
ironic.
with satisfaction.
Lin Ling's
While
talent
Lin
is
Ling
average,
was cultivating
but his
in the ice
perception
gorge,
is
the Rain
terrifying.
Clan was still as usual.
He rose up from an
But one
ordinary
day
genius
Mushu
to
came
become
and
one of
told
the
the
Rain
Rain
Clan's
Clan
two
and Lin Ling.
prides.
The clan
Rain
leader
Clan
has
sure
ordered
is
that the
lucky.
Rain Clan's Saint
The
rank
eyes of
martial
the various
art, the
desolate
evergreen
race
art,
members
has been
flickered.
taken away by the
They were
heaven
extremely
fiend Ming
jealous.
Wang. For
Therefore,
such a monstrous
the clan
leader
leader
has
has ordered
ordered
the
the younger
junior
generation to
desolate
go and
race.
retrieve
It
the
was too
evergreen
easy
art.
for the Rain Clan.
The clan leader
Too
also
profound
said that
meanings.
young Master Ling
Rain
should go
Master
as well.
Mo
Ping muttered to himself.
Eternal youth technique.
Not long ago,
Mo
Lin
Nian's
Ling's
eyes
eyes swept
narrowed.
through the Rain Clan's
Lin Ling
elite
asked
geniuses,
curiously,
but was
what
ultimately
kind of
not
martial art is
whose
that?
match.
Profound
However, in
martial
this short
arts.
period of time,
Mo Nian
Lin
said
Ling had risen
solemnly,
up again. This was the
surpassing
absolute
Mo
art
Zihu
of the
who
Rain
he thought
Clan.
highly of.
Not to
It made
mention
him feel
outsiders,
extremely
even the
uncomfortable.
members of the Rain Clan
Mo
would not
Nian's
be able
son.
to cultivate it. The Rain Clan's
That was
elders
because this
felt
martial
extremely
art
cultivated the vitality
Their
of the
juniors
clan.
could not compare to
Mushu, who is
son.
the heaven fiend Ming
Today,
Wang.
Mo Nian
asked. The
Lin
Rain
Ling,
Clan
you
has
can
found
enter the
out that
Bodhi
this
flower
man
to
is a guest
cultivate.
of the Heavenly
You
Dragon
can cultivate
Empire.
for one day.
He came from a
Everyone
nameless place in the
disperse.
100 territories.
Prepare for
However,
the year-end
he was lucky
assessment
enough
in
to
3
obtain a
days.
cultivation
Rain
technique
Master
left
Mo
behind
Ping
by
stood
an
up
ancient
inside
martial
softly.
artist from another
He
region.
then shook his head and
With
left.
an ordinary king body,
Lin,
he forcibly
and
cultivated to the Holy
Lin,
Spirit realm.
and
Then, by
Lin,
chance, he
and
obtained the cultivation
and
technique of our
and
Rain Clan. Of the
and
clan? Secondly,
of the
Lin Ling was
but the
unruly
order
and
was
given by the
uncontrollable.
clan leader. Hence, he
It
wanted
seemed like he
Lin Ling
wanted
to
to
test the younger
He wanted
generation
Lin Ling
of the
to
Rain
know
Clan.
how strong the Rain
If
Clan
Lin
was.
Ling could
He
complete the
wanted
mission,
Lin Ling
he would
to
have
learn
more
how to
weight
be
in front of her
respectful.
father. He wanted
That
Lin
would be
Ling
of
to
great
flatter
help
him.
to Lin Ling's
However,
future.
Lin Ling's
After
arrogance
all,
soared
the
to the
4 great
clouds.
desolate clans
He
were
didn't
not
lower
the
his
7
head.
great martial arts
Instead,
halls.
he defeated the
desolate
geniuses of the
clan was
Rain
more
Clan.
ancient and had a
Even
greater
Rain Master
reputation.
Mo Ping had nothing
The
to
Saint
say.
Spirit Realm expert.
Thank you, Senior.
Lin Ling's eyes
Lin Ling
flashed.
clasped his hands
He
and
then
bowed.
smiled and said,
His words
I want
caused
to see
Rain
the
Master
results of
Mo
my
Ping
hard
to
work.
tremble. Mother,
Decide
I will
again.
get the eternal
This
youth grandson
technique
of his
back.
still called him Senior.
Be
The
careful.
crowd gradually
It doesn't matter
dispersed.
if you fail.
However,
Safety
everyone
first.
stared deeply at
Mo
Lin
Nian
Ling.
was a little worried.
Among the 2 prides of the
knowing
Rain
that his
Clan,
son would
one
eventually
of them was
spread
not
his wings,
surnamed Mo.
he did not stop
His
him.
surname was Lin.
Young Master
He was
Ling
the
follow
son of
me.
Mo Nian.
New Shushu
Big brother
immediately
led
led
Lin Ling to the
From
Rain
afar,
Clan's main
Yu
hall.
waved at Lin Ling.
Lin Ling
Ling's
had
eyes
obtained the
brightened.
portrait of the
He
heaven
didn't
fiend
expect
Ming
to see
Wang.
her here.
I'll look for you in a few days. He
Yu
had to get the
followed the
eternal
elders
youth
of the
technique
Sparrow
back from
clan
him.
into the depths
Then
of the
Lin
Rain
Ling
Clan.
followed the Rain
They didn't
Clan's
come here
genius
for a
out
day
of
or
the
two.
valley. Lin Ling is also participating. The mission this time was for all the Rain Clan's
They also wanted
geniuses
to
to
come
see the
out.
year-end assessment. Many of them were looking
Okay.
at Lin Ling. Lin Ling
Although
nodded
Lin Ling
heavily.
had defeated them,
After that,
Lin
he
Ling
brought
did
Yin
not
Sha
have the
and the
Rain
others
Clan's
with him and
bloodline.
left. Hence,
After
they were
passing through
unwilling
several
to accept
streets,
the
an
result.
old man who looked
Let's
like a
see who
butler
can
looked
find
at
the
Lin
heaven
Ling
fiend
and said,
Ming Wang first.
Young Master Lin,
Among
please
them,
follow
Mo
me.
Ziffin was looking
He
at
was
Lin
here to
Ling
bring
with
Lin
battle
Ling
intent.
to the Bodhi flower
Mo
to
Zihu was
cultivate.
also there. Cultivating in
He
the
smiled
Bodhi
and
flower
said,
depended
Lin
on
Ling,
timing.
I hope there will be
Only
a
when
chance
the
for us
flower
to have a
bloomed
fair
could one
duel.
enter. What he
The
meant was that
spiritual
the
chi
last time
knitted at
Lin
that
Ling
time
tied
was
with
the
him,
essence
it
of
was
the
not a
Bodhi
fair
ancient
duel.
tree.
He had
was extremely
underestimated
rare.
Lin Ling otherwise.
The geniuses of the
Lin
Rain
Ling
Clan
would
were
have
also with
humiliated.
them.
They
Sure.
could only cultivate
After this
in a
mission is
faraway
over,
place.
I welcome you
They
to
couldn't be
challenge me.
compared to Lin Ling.
Lin
Lin
Ling
Ling was the
chuckled.
only one who
Then
could
he took a
cultivate
big
beside
step
the
forward
flower.
and shot off into
The
the
geniuses
distance.
of the Rain Clan
Mo
were
Zihu
looking at
was
Lin
currently
Ling
with
with
Lin
fear
Ling's
and
greatest
reverence.
enemy.
Lin
But
Ling was
after
an
this
outsider,
period of
but
bitter
now he was
cultivation,
above their heads.
he was confident
This
that it
made
would
them
not
feel
be
very
easy for
uncomfortable,
Mo Zihu to
especially
defeat him
Mo
again.
Zihu. In
His
his
expression
in
was
the
the most
seventh
unsightly.
martial house,
He wasn't
there
even
were
sure
countless
how he
geniuses.
lost. Lin Ling had continued to advance and gradually arrived at the depths of the valley. They were on top of a mountain peak. Purple Chi came from the east and radiance
after
leaked
leaving
out.
the Rain Clan,
A majestic
Lin Ling
spiritual
came
chi
to the main
assaulted
city
their
of the
faces.
rainforest Holy
In the
Land
hazy
and shouted in
radiance,
his
they
heart.
could vaguely see
A portion of
huge flower
Insha's
bud.
soul had been
It was
swallowed
as if
by
it was a
Lin Ling.
living thing that
Even
existed
though they were
since the
far
beginning
apart,
of the world.
Insha could
What
still
a
hear
rich
Lin Ling's
spiritual
voice.
chi.
This
This was a
even richer
resonance
than
of
the
the
Bodhi
soul.
liquid.
Thus, in
Lin
the valley,
Ling's pupils
Insha
constricted.
opened his eyes and
He
quickly
felt
looked
that
for
the small
Ancestor
world in his
Extreme
body
Flame.
had become active.
He respectfully
You all
said
stop
to
here.
Ancestor Extreme
The old
Flame,
man who led the way said
"Grandfather,
indifferently.
Lin Ling has come
He
out
was
of the Rain
Rainmaster
Clan.
Mo Ping's trusted aide and had followed the Rain Clan for many years.
Lin Ling was her master,
His authority
and
wasn't
after coming
small.
to the valley,
The
she knew
geniuses
that
of the Rain
Ancestor
Clan
Extreme
helplessly
Flame was
stopped
Lin
and
Ling's
sat down
grandfather.
cross-legged to
Thus,
cultivate.
she was extremely respectful to Ancestor Extreme Flame. Good. Ling,
Young
Master
should have
Z,
seen his
you
mother.
can come closer.
Ancestor
The
Extreme
old man
Flame
looked
had
at
been
him
paying
paying
attention to Lin Ling's news.
His attitude wasn't
At this
bad,
moment,
but
when
when
he
he
looked
looked
at
at
Lin
Lin
Ling,
he couldn't
his
help but
expression
smile.
became cold again.
Insha's face
Follow
was still
me.
cold, He also saw that this young Master Lin Ling even dared to refute he ran towards the main city. He didn't care about seniority, in a restaurant which made him extremely unhappy. Lin Ling was sitting quietly by himself. The three of them continued to advance. There were many people in this restaurant. When they were closer to the Bodhi flower, most of them were the prodigies of the 7 major martial arts halls. Many of them knew Lin Ling, and so he could only cultivate here. He is the number one prodigy of the 7 major martial arts halls. Only then did he stop. The Emperor's spirit cultivate here for a day. But his aura looks very ordinary. After a day you can leave. Nonsense. Remember, if you exceed the semi-finals, you will be breaking the rules of the clan. Sharp. The old man reminded. Lu Fan, you are currently ranked third on the Heaven's Pride list of the Howling Sky Academy. There was a time limit for cultivating here. Don't you want to test his strength? And no one could exceed the time limit. There was a lot of discussion among the prodigies. Lin Ling some of them were top pride and sat down cross-legged. They were afraid of Lin Ling, at the same time, but they also wanted to test Lin Ling's strength. Surging life if they could defeat Lin Ling, they would be famous in the 7 major martial arts halls. Ancient paradise. Lin Ling naturally heard these voices, but he didn't care at all. It could allow a martial artist to continuously absorb 7 major martial arts halls and wisdom and transforming their entire body. The effect was 100 times better than the young during this period of time. Lin Ling grasped this opportunity and crazily opened the small worlds within his body. A prodigy from the holding heaven manor, his cultivation realm also slowly entered the saint spirit realm. I'm not free. Lin Ling didn't even look at him, which made the prodigy's pupils dilate. The innate one-chi body absorbed, but Lin Ling actually said that he was not free at an even faster rate. You're not free, or you don't dare. Lin Ling's cells to become incomparably condensed, that was in the foundation to become even more solid. Everything can change in a short period of time. Surname is lucky. It's not strange for someone to surpass you, so you don't dare. Said with some unwillingness. On the other side, a prodigy from the central martial arts hall said lightly as he drank, but now it had been snatched away by Lin Ling. He slowly walked away. Suddenly his footsteps came to a stop. He saw a petal emitting a 5-colored light floating down from the huge flower bud. You are too rude. This was a petal leaving the body. I don't care if you are free. Although it was rarely seen, it wasn't impossible. The prodigy from the holding heaven prefecture stood up. The body, the weaker Lin Ling's aura was, the more confident he was. Then he saw that Lin Ling was still drinking. He took a step forward, and the rolling mountain intent turned into a palm strike towards Lin Ling. The power of this palm strike was rolling with mountain intent. There were less than 20 people in the 7 major martial arts of the Rain clan who were relatively far away from the Bodhi flower. However, in the next moment, after a shadow pierced because once the time passed, the Bodhi flower would begin to bud, broke the terrifying mountain cultivation wouldn't be that great. Master, gradually, is this someone you are qualified to challenge? He had improved by quite a bit, but he still looked at Lin Ling in front of the prodigy. Obviously, the dagger was gently placed on the prodigy's neck, and the prodigy didn't dare to move. Even if he got lucky, it wouldn't be of much aura. If I could cultivate beside the Bodhi flower, the pride definitely break through to the early stage of the Holy Spirit realm. Lin Ling didn't make a move, damn that mysterious lady did. She subdued the prodigy from the holding heaven prefecture and completed the mission. He would have been the one who benefited the most today. However, everything had disappeared with the wind. Lin Ling's indifferent voice sounded. The best place to cultivate. Yes, master. Moreover, the dagger in the lady's hand disappeared into her wide cloak. He didn't even know how he had lost that battle. She slowly came to Lin Ling's back. Lin Ling's talent wasn't as good as his, and his cultivation was weaker than his. All the prodigies gasped. However, Lin Ling had suppressed him with older and wasn't a prodigy. It made him feel like she was extremely powerful. He believed that if someone like her was willing to call Lin Ling against Lin Ling. Moreover, everyone had left, said that he was just a kid and the only one cultivating in the hazy light. This meant that Lin Ling was treating them like kids. The Rain clan was bustling with noise. This was a huge irony. In a room filled with sandalwood fragrance, Lin Ling finished the wine on the table and left the restaurant. Was sitting indifferently. At the same time, his stretched out his right hand and filled the strongest prodigy. Then, you want to challenge me and use me as a stepping stone to become famous? He gently brewed the tea. However, in terms of etiquette, shouldn't you be more polite? Beside Rain Master, it's not that I don't dare, but that I don't care. Because today, after the voice had actually humiliated the patriarch of the Rain clan, prodigy from the central martial arts hall melted as though it was being burned by an invisible flame. But his comprehension was also turned into ashes. Rain Master him sitting there said indifferently. The most frightening thing was that he couldn't react at all during the entire process. The Rain clan. He didn't even know who had water emperor physique. Lin Ling. He can't win glory for the Rain clan. Constricted as a guest. The old housekeeper was still unwilling to accept the result. What kind of power is this? I know. It's as if we're in his Rain Master and he can control us at will. He also felt unwilling, but what could he do? More shocked. The geniuses of the Rain clan that this was Lin Ling's profound meaning. Therefore, they could only blame the geniuses of the Rain clan for being true intense. This little bastard whose clothes had been burned off, his complexion was ugly again. He had been drinking naked, humbly flattered and it wouldn't be long before he became the laughing stock of the 7 major martial arts palaces. Proud and awe-inspiring, the most ironic thing was that he wasn't an ordinary prodigy, that's right, but a powerhouse. Unfortunately, his wings have already hardened, and it's very difficult to discipline him. After the other prodigies recovered from their shock, entire Rain Clan, they couldn't help but laugh as they looked at the prodigy. I'm afraid there's no one who can suppress him. In this short period of time, Lin Ling's strength had increased again anymore, and he was still the number one prodigy in the prison. Was dissatisfied. No wonder he didn't want his lack of discipline. At this moment, still below the restaurant, Lin Ling was leading Wuxia has come out of southwest of the rainforest. Today, the other members of the desolate race are also here. He didn't take the previous episode to heart. Master, you should grant them their wish. Where are we going? The steward suddenly said with a laugh. Rain Master someone called the evil Sky Ming monarch. He said with a smile. Lin Ling said indifferently, "This marriage alliance is not bad. The evil Sky Ming monarch can bring our two clans closer. Shah's pupils what constricted. Failed to do in the past. This person. Let Zilong He's a lone martial artist like me. That's right. In terms of strength, with the marriage alliance between our Rain clan and the assassination, I am above. In time to come, our two clans will definitely become the number one clan. Most importantly, it said that the heavenly good hiding his whereabouts is about to arrive. I'm afraid it will be difficult to catch him. Our two clans will be as one. If that's the case, the steward nodded with more interest. Said, I've seen that last from the Sparrow clan, Yu. Currently, the Rain clan had announced the general direction made in heaven with our Rain clan's young master Zilong. As long as there was a direction, then let's prepare the dowry to find him and complete the mission before the other prodigies from the Rain clan could make a move. A day later, the two of them arrived at the border of the rainforest sacred ground. Emperor Jade? There were few people here, really and there were only a dozen old villages nearby. The two of them constantly conversed as they walked towards the endless cliff. Along the way, after crossing the marriage alliance, they would arrive at the six shamans' sacred ground. Had forgotten to take out the peak of a mountain. Lin Ling was looking into the distance. The hall was bustling with activity, like a statue. With the experts of the four desolate clans beside him, and she was indescribably lively. She noticed that Lin Ling seemed to be looking at the desolate clan in front of him was an endless cliff. The atmosphere with martial arts. There were only a dozen banquet to reach an unprecedented climax. She did not know that Lin Ling was using everyone left time to find the whereabouts quietly waiting for the end of the year assessment. Currently, and at this moment of time was awakened by Ammonian. The speed of the light of time was much faster. In front of the Bodhi flower. Lin Ling only needed when the sun's rays shone from the horizon did he open his eyes. It was almost twice as fast as 50,000 small worlds awakened. Lin Ling was looking for the whereabouts as his slender body exploded with powerful energy. It caused the ground to shake as the wind and Rain Clan's geniuses were passing by. It was as if an ancient giant had arrived. However, when they saw Lin Ling, they could not help but smile. With just one punch, seemed to have lost track of the evil Sky Ming person at the beginning stages of the sacred spirit realm. Sky Ming monarch one had to know that increasing one's physical strength was harder at the later stages. The God's village. Even a tiny 50 pounds would require endless resources. After a long time, and Lin Ling was opened his eyes and looked in another direction with the Bodhi flower's spiritual essence. He had opened the door to 50 million strength. On the surface, Lin Ling's strength did not increase, but in fact, it had increased by 30%. An increase in strength would greatly increase the power of one's profound. Unfortunately, the flower bud has already been retracted, and the life essence's spiritual energy is no longer spreading. If not, I could still increase my strength. Lin Ling stood up and shook his head regretfully. Be content. A day of cultivating in the Bodhi flower is equivalent to using an endless amount of Bodhi liquid to nourish your body. In my Rain clan, other than those who have made great contributions, there are only two people in the younger generation who have such opportunities. One is you and the other is me. At this moment, a faint voice rang out from not too far away from Lin Ling. A young man in a blue robe stood there quietly. His arms were crossed over his chest, and there was an indescribable expression on his face. Although he was standing not too far behind Lin Ling, it was as if he had vanished from the world. If he didn't speak, Lin Ling wouldn't have been able to detect him. Most importantly, that blue robe was exactly the same as what Lin Ling was wearing. Lin Ling turned around and was secretly surprised. This person's strength was very strong. He had reached the middle stage of the Holy Spirit realm. Moreover, he gave Lin Ling a feeling as if the water of the world could contain hundreds of rivers. If I'm not wrong, you should be one of the two prides of the Rain clan, Mo Zilong. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. It was not difficult to guess the other party's identity. In the entire rainforest holy land, other than me, which genius has my strength? The youth shrugged his shoulders. His words were filled with pride. However, he had the qualifications to be proud because he was already standing at the peak of the true geniuses. However, your strength is also not bad. After being proud, the youth said another sentence, acknowledging Lin Ling's strength. It's a pity that your surname is not Mo. However, the youth shook his head. Is there a difference? Lin Ling faintly smiled. Of course, the Rain clan is an ancestral royal family. They value faith the most. Everything is for the benefit of the Rain clan. If an outsider rises, the Rain clan will not nurture you. The youth shrugged his shoulders again. I don't need them to nurture me. I can rely on myself. Lin Ling also shrugged his shoulders, causing the youth to be startled. Soon after, the youth laughed, "Your comprehension is very monstrous, but your talent is very ordinary. If you rely on yourself to grow, it will be very, very difficult. Time will prove everything." Lin Ling's eyes emitted a confident radiance. Did he need to rely on the Rain clan to grow? No, he did not. He was already a Saint Prince and could rely on the Bodhi Saint Palace to grow. At that time he would show the Rain clan that he, Lin Ling, could also shake the Rainforest Holy Land without the Rain clan's help. Chapter 937. Embezzlement, Such Confidence. The young man's pupils constricted as he carefully looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling was younger than him by 1 or 2 years, but he had the sharpness and arrogance of a martial artist. Moreover, he was also wearing a blue and white robe, but for some reason he felt as if he had met a confidant. This Lin Ling was not bad. He was much better than the other geniuses of the Rain clan. "Alright, thank you for your reminder. I'm leaving." Looking at the sky, Lin Ling somewhat missed his mother, so he waved his hand and turned to leave. "Wait, my father is also your uncle. You can be considered as my younger cousin. Shouldn't you call me older cousin when you see me?" The young man was somewhat surprised by Lin Ling's carefree attitude, then he laughed. "Then did you call me younger cousin?" Lin Ling looked back and blinked. "Haha, your strength is tough, but your mouth is also tough. However, I like it very much." The young man was startled for a moment, then he laughed loudly, causing Lin Ling to also laugh. He had a good impression of the legendary Rain clan's twin prides, Mo Zilong. This person was also open and above board, a magnanimous person. Finished cultivating? At this moment, a large number of people slowly walked over from afar. The person in the lead was Rain Master Mo Ping. After these people arrived, Mo Zilong curled his lips and whispered, "The old antiques are here. Sigh, I hate their arrogant faces the most." "I feel the same." Lin Ling also smiled as he watched Rain Master Mo Ping and the others arrive. Mo Zilong was chatting happily with Lin Ling a moment ago, but in the next moment he regained his serious appearance and respectfully bowed to Rain Master Mo Ping. However, Lin Ling only nodded indifferently. That indifferent appearance made Mo Zilong secretly envious. This younger cousin of his was so arrogant and unruly. In the entire Rain clan, only Lin Ling dared to treat the old man like this. Rain Master Mo Ping was obviously familiar with Lin Ling's temperament, so he also nodded indifferently. "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first." Lin Ling didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and left. He didn't owe the Rain clan anything, so there was no need for him to pretend. As for being able to cultivate in the Bodhi flower, that was because he had found the eternal youth technique, so he didn't owe them anything. "Stinking brat, how rude of you." The Rain clan's elders all had ugly expressions. Lin Ling was too arrogant. "Wait." Suddenly someone shouted anxiously, and then he pointed at the Bodhi flower and said, "Grandfather, if I'm not wrong, the Bodhi flower has a total of 36 petals. However, it seems like there are only 35 petals left now. Moreover, there are obvious signs that one of the petals has just been plucked off. This means that one of the petals is missing." The Bodhi flower was priceless. It was even more precious than the Bodhi liquid. A praying mat made from the petals of the Bodhi flower would allow a martial artist to cultivate with twice the results with half the effort. Even those with ordinary talent could enter the Saint Spirit realm. How could the Rain clan not value such a precious treasure? "Clan leader, it's true. One of the petals is missing." The others also looked at the Bodhi flower. Although many of them didn't have the qualifications to cultivate under the Bodhi flower, they were still very familiar with it. "There's nothing on the ground," another person exclaimed. Then many people subconsciously looked at Lin Ling. Among them Mo Zihu coldly shouted, "Lin Ling, stop." At this moment Lin Ling was still walking forward. However, under Mo Zihu's angry shout, he stopped and frowned. "What's the matter?" "The Bodhi flower is missing a petal. Do you think it's fine?" Mo Zihu took a step forward and said indifferently. Lin Ling's gaze swept across the crowd, and he realized that everyone was looking at him with suspicion. Therefore he guessed something. "The petal is missing. Do you all suspect that I took it?" "We came here to cultivate. Other than you, none of us have the qualifications to cultivate under the Bodhi flower. Therefore, I'm afraid that the petal is related to you." Mo Zihu said word by word. "Do you have proof?" Lin Ling's brows furrowed tightly. What he hated the most was being wrongly accused. He had never touched those petals, but Mo Zihu insisted that it had something to do with him. This was too much. During this cultivation you were the closest to me. Other than you, who else could it be? This is the proof. Moreover, for so many years, although very few people in our Rain clan have the qualifications to cultivate under the Bodhi flower, it doesn't mean that no one has. It's just that every time we cultivate, the petals are always in perfect condition. However, every time you came here to cultivate, a petal was missing. Therefore it must be you who took it. A senior of the Rain clan angrily shouted at Lin Ling. It was Lin Ling's uncle. Father, Lin Ling is an outsider. Moreover, he came from a rural area. He has never seen a treasure before. It's rare for him to see a treasure, so naturally, his heart would be moved. This kind of person is simply throwing away the face of our Rain clan. A person with a different surname must have a different heart. The others also shouted angrily. Their Rain clan was proud. How could they do something like embezzlement? Lin Ling was an outsider. They didn't know Lin Ling's temperament, so they all thought that it was Lin Ling who stole the petals. Most importantly, the petals had disappeared, but Lin Ling was the only one who cultivated under the Bodhi flower. Therefore Lin Ling's suspicions were the greatest. You all suspect me? Lin Ling's expression became even colder. It's not suspicion, it's certainty. Mo Zihu said sinisterly. He was very certain. If it wasn't me who took it? Then, are you going to slap yourself 3 times? Are all of you going to slap yourselves 10 times? Lin Ling's breathing became heavy. Being wrongly accused by others was nothing, but being wrongly accused by one's own family was not a good feeling. Following that, he looked at Rain Master Mo Ping. He wanted to see if this so-called grandfather of his would believe him. Lin Ling, you come from the 100 domains, so you do not know much. This is your first time in the Rain clan, so you will definitely be tempted by treasures. However, you are after all my grandson, so if you take out the petals, we will let bygones be bygones. Rain Master Mo Ping said lightly. Everything was on the surface. Lin Ling had indeed taken the precious petals. You don't believe me either? Lin Ling took a step back as his voice turned colder. His impression of Rain Master Mo Ping plummeted. Because his background was inferior to theirs, and because his surname wasn't Mo, he coveted the petals. Therefore, these people were certain that he had stolen the Bodhi flower's petals. This was too chilling. The facts have already explained everything. Everyone looked at Lin Ling. They felt that Lin Ling had disgraced the Rain clan. Even the matter here had attracted the attention of the other desolate race. They were watching from afar, causing the situation to turn into a stalemate. It's not him. Brother Lin Ling is not such a person. Only Mo Xiaoyan spoke. She believed that Lin Ling was not such a person. There must be some misunderstanding. It's not fair to Lin Ling to make a decision too early. Mo Zilong also spoke out. He had seen Lin Ling finish his cultivation, but he did not see Lin Ling steal the petals. Xiaoyan, shut up. The palm is curved inwards, not outwards. How can you help an outsider? Mo Xiaoyan's parents reprimanded her. Chapter 938. Unyielding character, shut up. The other elders glared at him. Someone said to Mo Zilong, Zilong, this is your first time meeting Lin Ling. You're not familiar with him. You don't know that this little guy is very wild. He doesn't listen to anyone and doesn't care about his elders. Obviously, after Lin Ling had returned to the Rain clan, everything had caused them to be humiliated. This made them very dissatisfied with Lin Ling. You all are too self-righteous. Just like what Lin Ling said to me before, I didn't even call him cousin, so why would he call me cousin? You all have never treated him as your family, so why would he treat you all as his family? Mo Zilong laughed in a carefree manner. Many people narrowed their eyes. Mo Zilong was actually helping Lin Ling? Zilong, thank you, but there's no need to say more. There are some things that can't be changed no matter how much you say. In the Rain clan, Mo Nianshan is my mother, and the others are just passers-by. Of course, you and Xiao Yan are my cousins. Lin Ling madly laughed. Within his laughter, there was a sense of break and disappointment. That sudden laughter made all the Rain clan's people feel complicated. Especially Rain Master Mo Ping, his brows furrowed. This is my green ring. You all can check it. Looking at everyone's expressions, Lin Ling waved his right hand and the green ring landed in Mo Zilong's hand. Mo Zilong nodded. He believed in Lin Ling, so he helped Lin Ling check the green ring to see if there were any petals of the Bodhi flower in it. Yang spirit fruit and Yang spirit 100 flower pellet. Although these pellets can't be compared to the Bodhi liquid, they are still priceless. Mo Zihu exclaimed. The other Rain clansmen narrowed their eyes. They also saw that Lin Ling's green ring contained a lot of treasures. There were so many heavenly treasures and pellets that even they were moved. If that was the case, they would think that Lin Ling came from the countryside and was moved by wealth. This was simply nonsense. Lin Ling was richer than many of their Rain clan's geniuses. Ah, what a shame. You're talking about other people's low status, but you don't know that other people are richer than you. Mo Zilong mocked as he took out the treasures in the green ring. Brother Zilong, who knows where he got it? Maybe he stole it. Mo Zihu said unwillingly. Lin Ling was an outsider, but he was richer than him. Mo Zihu, you said that I stole the petals of the Bodhi flower, but if I didn't, you'd better slap yourself 3 times. Lin Ling glared at Mo Zihu coldly. The more he looked at the latter, the more annoyed he was. Mo Zihu's face turned ashen. Lin Ling was at death's door and still dared to be arrogant. Sorry, I don't see any petals of the Bodhi flower. However, at that moment, Mo Zilong raised his head and looked at the crowd, confirming everything. Everyone frowned. Lin Ling's azure ring didn't have any petals? That's impossible. For a moment, everyone was speechless. Master, I forgot to tell you yesterday. One of the petals of the Bodhi flower fell off yesterday and I collected it. I originally wanted to give it to you, but the feast had already begun, so I forgot about it. At that moment, a figure walked over quickly from afar, then apologized to Rain Master Mo Ping. This person was the housekeeper of the Rain clan. Yesterday he brought Lin Ling here to cultivate and collected the petals of the Bodhi flower, but he forgot to remind Rain Master Mo Ping. What? Everyone's pupils constricted, and they looked at Lin Ling at the same time. Their expressions became complicated. They seemed to have wrongly accused Lin Ling. The crowd became silent. Because you all were prejudiced against him, you all felt that he was in the wrong no matter what he did. Ah, now you've embarrassed yourselves. Mo Zilong's gentle voice rang out, causing everyone's expression to become even more unsightly. Some people even lowered their heads, embarrassed to look at Lin Ling. They were indeed prejudiced against Lin Ling, so they hurriedly came to decide on Lin Ling's crime. But in the end, they realized that they had wronged this person with a different surname. Lin Ling smiled lightly and didn't say anything. He slowly walked towards Mo Zilong, took back his azure ring and left step by step. The whole process was casual, and he didn't fly into a rage from being wrongly accused. But because of this, everyone felt that they didn't have the face to face him. Slap yourself 3 times. Mo Zilong spoke for Lin Ling. These people were too excessive, and they were asking for their own humiliation. Of course, this included the Rain clan's self-righteous patriarch. Lin Ling, we missed you before. As an apology, next month at this time, you can come cultivate in front of the Bodhi flower again. Rain Master Mo Ping was stunned for a long time, and his heart became complicated. In fact, he was also sure of Lin Ling's crime, and even thought about how Lin Ling would beg his grandfather for forgiveness. However, Lin Ling didn't and even smiled. That smile made him feel complicated. And now, Lin Ling left without saying a word, making him feel as if he had lost something. No need. I, Lin Ling, relied on myself to reach where I am today. I've never begged for charity. Also, don't think that the Rain clan is so arrogant. In the future I will surpass the Rain clan. In the distance, Lin Ling's firm voice floated out like the wind. He was still so proud and stubborn. His blue and white robe was like the clouds in the sky, pure and clean. He didn't need these people's pity, he would rely on himself for everything. He also didn't need these people's apology, because he already didn't treat them as his family. He, Lin Ling, came to the Rain clan to find his mother, not to rely on the Rain clan. In the future he would let the Rain clan know who was relying on whom. Ling Rain Master Mo Ping said heavily. At this moment, the thin and weak figure in the distance seemed even more lonely, but his spine was firm as if he could reach the heavens and step on the earth. That proud figure didn't bend from the moment he arrived at the Rain clan. That was his grandson Lin Ling. And in the future, would this little grandson of his that he had never paid attention to surpass the Rain clan? His heart was shaken. Everyone from the Rain clan was shaken. Today they had wrongly accused and looked down on Lin Ling, but in the future, Lin Ling would prove everything. I believe in you. Looking at the figure that gradually disappeared into the distance, Mo Zilong muttered to himself. That was the only bloodline in the Rain clan that defied the Rain clan's rules. He believed that the latter would do it. Big brother Lin Ling. In the distance, Yu Yu looked at that slender figure and clenched her fist tightly. She already knew that Lin Ling was treated unfairly in the Rain clan. The Rain clan was too arrogant and didn't even recognize Lin Ling as a bloodline. Lin Ling's journey back to the Rain clan was much more difficult than her Yu Yu. However, she believed that if her brother could rise up in the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, he would definitely rise up in the Rain clan too. There will be a day where I will make mother proud of me. While walking slowly, Lin Ling looked up at the sky and clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails pierced into his palms. He didn't feel it, but his heart to become stronger was even more determined. Chapter 939. Yu Yu's arrival. The 9 prefectures are filled with wind and thunder. 10,000 horses are silent. How sad. I advise the heavens to be full of vigor and not stick to one pattern. Among the various desolate race members in the distance, an elder looked at the proud youth and said lightly, "The assault of the wind and frost will make him even stronger. Rain Master Mo Ping has been proud all his life, but he has missed this grandson of his." The others were also moved. Lin Ling had given up the next opportunity to cultivate the Bodhi flower. It was all for the sake of his pride, for the sake of his hot-bloodedness. It gave them a feeling that they wanted to see how terrifying this genius who had been looked down upon would be after he rose up. Previously all of you wronged him and boasted. Now you should slap yourselves 3 times. In the silent crowd, Mo Zilong's voice floated out, causing the Rain clan's people to be extremely embarrassed. Some of them laughed and said, "It was just a joke. How can you take it seriously? How can the Rain clan joke? When you wronged him, why wasn't it a joke?" Mo Zilong took a step forward and looked at the elder indifferently. He was not afraid at all, causing the elder's eyes to narrow. However, he knew that he was in the wrong, so he could not say anything. "Those who spoke before, slap yourselves 3 times. Rain Master Mo Ping's expression turned serious. After leaving behind a sentence, he turned and left. As for those who had wronged Lin Ling, their expressions turned ugly, especially Mo Zihu. He felt as if he had swallowed a fly. Previously, he had wanted to win a round against Lin Ling, but in the end, he had brought shame upon himself. "Serves you right." Mo Zilong sneered at Mo Zihu. He was even more disdainful towards this cousin of his. How could such a person be qualified to be called one of the 2 prides of the Rain clan with him? At this moment, Lin Ling had already returned to the ice gorge. Mo Nianchen was looking at him worriedly. Previously, she had already found out through her slave uncle that Lin Ling had completed his mission. At that time she had been happy for him and proud of him. Later on she had learned about what had happened to Lin Ling in the Rain clan. She felt that it was unfair for Lin Ling. Her father did not value Lin Ling and did not treat Lin Ling as his own grandson. Of course, no one knows a father better than a daughter. She also knew that her father's temperament was serious, old-fashioned, and could be said to be stubborn. Towards this she was helpless. However, her heart was pained. One had to know that her son had lived a difficult life since he was young. After returning to the enormous Rain clan, he didn't receive any love or care. How could she not feel heartache? "Ling." Mo Nianchen walked over and called out softly. His eyes were already wet. "Young Master Ling." Slave uncle's heart ached as well. However, in the eyes of the 2, Lin Ling was incomparably calm. He smiled faintly and said, "Mother, it's fine. I'm already used to it." His casual words caused Mo Nianchen and slave uncle's hearts to tremble once more. Lin Ling was already used to it. What had Lin Ling experienced in the past that allowed him to remain so calm in the face of such injustice? They discovered that they had underestimated Lin Ling. "Mother, I'm hungry." After Lin Ling smiled, he returned to his usual self. He held his mother's hand and led her into the depths of the ice gorge. He didn't speak too much about what had happened earlier. Mo Nianchen and slave uncle exchanged a glance. They didn't speak too much about that topic. However, they could sense that Lin Ling's eyes were shining with a strong fighting spirit. Lin Ling didn't admit defeat. The ice gorge seemed cold, but the 3 of them were laughing indescribably. In the evening, a beautiful figure appeared in the ice gorge. Mo Nianchen's eyes narrowed. What a beautiful girl. The girl was wearing a purple dress. She was like an orchid in an empty valley. Her temperament was otherworldly. She stood quietly on the ice and snow. Her eyes were as clear as autumn water. Her long eyelashes fluttered, making her look lively and innocent. Her body was like a jade willow, light and tender. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was perfect. When the girl saw Emon Yenshin, her delicate little face blushed inexplicably. She was a little shy. "Auntie, I'm here to see Lin Ling." "Lin Ling?" "Yes." Emon Yenshin trembled. Such a beautiful and perfect girl was here to see Lin Ling. Her son was really lucky. She hurriedly said, "Come in. Come in." "Yes." The girl nodded obediently. The more Emon Yenshin looked at her, the more she liked her. At this time Lin Ling also saw the girl. He couldn't help but be delighted. "You're finally here." "Yes." He wasn't surprised because Yu had said that she would come to see him. "Big brother Lin Ling." "Yes." Yu's voice was as clear as a bell. She stepped on the ground and shot towards Lin Ling, rushing into Lin Ling's embrace. This made Lin Ling chuckle. He hadn't seen this girl for a long time. He missed her. This kid. Yes. Emon Yenshin, on the other hand, was overjoyed. The relationship between the two of them was not simple. Her son had actually found her such a perfect wife. It made her feel as sweet as honey. "Nushu, add an extra pair of chopsticks tonight," Emon Yenshin said to her Nushu, who was also smiling. The smile on her face was much gentler, with a kind of gratification. No matter how famous Lin Ling was outside, in her heart, Lin Ling was still her child. Seeing her child find a partner made her happier than anything else. Big brother Qinling has grown up. Emon Yenshin was happily cooking with her Nushu. Emon Yenshin murmured to herself, causing the eyes of the old housekeeper to moisten. This meal was incomparably warm and filled with laughter. The more Emon Yenshin looked at Yu, the more she liked her. She also knew about Yu's identity. She was actually the little princess of the Sparrow tribe. However, Yu didn't have the willfulness of a princess. Instead, she was extremely obedient and her voice was sweet. Emon Yenshin even treated Yu as her daughter-in-law. "Auntie Yenshin, I'll help you with the food." Although Yu was the little princess of the Sparrow tribe, she didn't like the Sparrow tribe. Instead, she liked to spend those peaceful days with Lin Ling. Good. Emon Yenshin was grinning from ear to ear. She believed that if Lin Chen was still alive, he would definitely like such an obedient daughter-in-law. "Linger, look at Yu. She's so beautiful, her butt is round and big. She's so obedient. When are you going to marry her?" Emon Yenshin smiled and looked at Lin Ling seriously. Lin Ling spat out the soup that he was drinking. What kind of eyesight did his mother have? How could she see that Yu's butt was round and big? Moreover, she had only seen Yu once and she was already talking about marriage. "Say something. Let me tell you, I'll only recognize Yu in this life." Emon Yenshin's expression became even more serious. Lin Ling raised his hands in surrender. All right, I'll marry her soon. But she has to agree first." "That's true. Yu is so beautiful and obedient. She's also a little princess. It'll be difficult for you to marry her." Emon Yenshin rubbed her chin and said, "Are you really my mother? How can you talk to your son like that?" Lin Ling rolled his eyes helplessly. Although he said that, he knew that his mother was joking. Moreover, he liked this kind of harmonious atmosphere. Yu could naturally hear Emon Yenshin's words from afar. When she heard that Emon Yenshin liked her, her heart was filled with sweetness. When she heard that Lin Ling wanted to marry her, her heart was in a mess. In her heart, she had already decided that she was Lin Ling's woman. She had been waiting for Lin Ling to say the word. Chapter 940. My only wish is to have a person of my heart. All right, Ling, there's no need for you to help. You can take a walk with Yu. After the meal, Emon Yenshin winked at Lin Ling when he saw that Lin Ling was about to help clear the table. "What do you mean?" Lin Ling was also blinking. His mother was so strange today. "Idiot, she came so far to see you. Of course you have to accompany her. You're just like your father." Emon Yenshin immediately reprimanded. "Ah." Lin Ling opened his mouth and looked at Yu, whose eyes were already red. He smiled and held Yu's hand as they walked into the depths of the ice valley. The ice valley looked cold, but it was also quiet and elegant, as if it was the quietest place in the world. Lin Ling led Yu forward. Under the night sky, the ice dragons quietly flew out, but they did not dare to approach Lin Ling and Yu. Instead, they flew in the distance, shining like fireflies, adding to the beauty of the ice valley. "It's so beautiful." Yu stretched out her hand and looked at the beautiful scene. Her delicate face revealed a smile. She suddenly wanted to walk with Lin Ling like this until the end of time. "It's very beautiful." Lin Ling nodded gently. His right hand suddenly hugged Yu's slim waist. With a step, he floated into the sky like the wind and finally landed on a mountain peak. Looking into the distance, the place was covered in silver and white snow, and the fireflies were shining like stars. It was even more beautiful. It's even more beautiful here. Yu's Hongyan mouth revealed a surprised smile. At this moment she was even sweeter. Lin Ling's eyes were fixed on the beautiful face, which made his heart beat violently. Yu was so beautiful, as if she was the purest girl in the world. However, those clear eyes of hers were filled with innocence, especially those red lips. Lin Ling's breathing became heavier as he quietly approached her face. Brother Ling. Yu's heart was also beating violently. Her hand that was holding Lin Ling's hand tightened. In her mind, everything that had happened in the Guyan sect was like a fleeting cloud. At that time she was an ugly duckling. It was Lin Ling who held her hand and walked under the sun, protecting her until the end of time. At this moment the two of them seemed to have gotten a little closer. After their lips touched, an indescribable electric shock flowed through their bodies. It was as if the two of them had blended together and would never be separated. The two of them quietly looked at each other. However, they slowly closed their eyes and allowed time to pass in the sky. Yu. Lin Ling's hands embraced that perfect body, and his heart beat even more violently. He also felt that Yu's breathing had also become heavy. However, Yu did not stop him. A long time ago, she had already decided that this man would be her for the rest of her life. This was because she loved this man. She loved this brother who had always protected her. As for Lin Ling, when he had transformed into a celestial vortex and shared weal and woe with Yu, he had already decided that this girl was his. In fact, there was only a thin barrier between them. A bell-like moan quietly rang out. Yu, who was hugging Lin Ling, exerted even more strength. It was as if she wanted to melt into Lin Ling's body. In the distance, the silvery sky was wrapped in snow. Fireflies were like stars. Everything was so peaceful. Let time pass through the long river. Even if the seas dried up and the rocks crumbled, it would not change until death. Brother Ling, Yu believes in you. After a long time, Yu finally raised her shy little face. Her eyes were clear and resolute as she looked at Lin Ling. She was talking about what she had seen today. Thank you. Lin Ling nodded gently. The smile on his lips was still as confident as ever. Today the Rain clan had wronged him and looked down on him. However, in time to come, he would definitely make the Rain clan regret it. He would definitely not embarrass his mother. Why don't you come to the Sparrow clan? Yu was still worried about Lin Ling. After all, she was part of the 4 desolate races, so she naturally knew how powerful the desolate race was. Without the nurturing of the Rain clan, it would be very difficult for Lin Ling to grow. Furthermore, she did not want to see Lin Ling receive unequal treatment in the Rain clan. There's no need. Don't you believe in Brother Ling? Then continue believing. Besides, Brother Ling is not as simple as you think. In this rainforest sacred land, the 4 desolate races are not the only ones at the top. Lin Ling said with a faint smile as he scratched Yu's little nose. Yu's eyes lit up. She somewhat understood what Lin Ling meant. Could it be that place? However, that place rarely nurtured geniuses. Even if it did, it would only be for a short period of time. However, she sensed that Lin Ling did not want to talk about it. Hence, she guessed that it was a secret. Perhaps that place was already nurturing geniuses, but for some reason, that place did not allow those geniuses to speak of it. I believe that Brother Lin Ling will definitely rise. Yu said as she waved her little fist. This made Lin Ling give a confident smile. Suddenly his eyes turned strange. Lin Ling's breathing became heavy, and he even had an impulse. As for Yu, her bright eyes also became dazed. Her beautiful face was flushed red, and her breath was like orchids. Her body felt sore and weak. The two of them were in love with each other. At this moment there was no barrier between them. It was as if there was no distinction between you and me. They were both enjoying the most wonderful feeling in the world, and they were even immersed in it. This was because they loved each other. Brother Ling. Yu shouted softly. The feeling of being with the person she loved made her lose some of her rationality. Yes. Lin Ling looked at his woman gently. This girl, who was his childhood sweetheart, finally belonged to him today. After that, he waved his hand and a flame spread out, enveloping the two of them. It blocked out the merciless frost of the world and made the two of them, who were wrapped in the flame, feel incomparably warm. At this moment they were in a state of deep love. In addition, they were in love with each other. Hence, it was as if success was achieved when the conditions were right. Brother Ling. Yu Yu's painful but satisfied voice came from within the ball of flame. It made Yu Yu's eyes burn with passion and madness. Gradually she forgot everything. She only wanted to be with the man she loved the most until the end of time. Outside the ball of flame, the snow was still falling and the fireflies were still flying. It was as if they were proving the most perfect union between a man and a woman in this world, proving their love. Chapter 941. Entering the Holy Spirit realm, the morning sun shone down as the wind blew. The valley was still peaceful, and a touch of warmth and love drifted out from the mountain peak. The girl lay quietly in the young man's arms, allowing her hair to cascade down like a waterfall. Her face was filled with happiness. Yesterday's entanglement brought with it a bit of piercing pain, but it also made her integrate into the young man's heart. At that moment, in addition to the heart-wrenching pain, there was also an indescribable masculine chi that rushed into her body and mixed with the spiritual chi in her body, forming a pleasant and exciting feeling. With the help of the pure yang chi, she unknowingly reached the middle stage of the Holy Spirit realm. The combination of yin and yang was the wonder of heaven and earth. When the two of them both had the most outstanding spiritual energy in heaven and earth, they could promote each other and bring their strength to another level. At this moment, the girl looked at the young man who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. She looked at his handsome face and the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. She lightly kissed the young man's cheek, and then quietly lay down beside the young man again. She knew that her lover had also obtained great benefits, and was currently making a breakthrough in his cultivation. Holy Spirit realm. With the help of the terrifying innate power in her body, he had broken through to the Emperor Spirit realm and officially entered the ranks of the top experts in the rainforest's holy land. Being able to help the person she loved the most, the girl was incomparably happy and satisfied. At this moment, earth-shaking changes were happening in Lin Ling's body. The Tao platform had collapsed, the Saint platform had condensed, and it had connected to the other side. He had comprehended the mysteries of heaven and earth. As if the universe was collapsing, countless spiritual energy rippled in all directions. However, a black hole appeared and crazily sucked in the scattered spiritual energy, quietly forming a planet-like object. This object, the Saint platform, was the source of all Holy Spirit realm experts' power. The most frightening thing about it was that it could connect to heaven and earth and control the power of heaven and earth. It was as if it wasn't born from a human body, but a gift from the heavens to every Holy Spirit realm expert. Because the Saint platform could connect to heaven and earth, it could control the power of heaven and earth and form its own profound. It could be said that every Saint Spirit realm expert had their own martial profundity as long as the conditions were right for them to break through to the next realm. The profound world was the pinnacle of martial arts. Even a simple punch contained the rules of heaven and earth. It could crush any martial arts because it was a heaven-level martial arts. The Saint arena slowly condensed, and a wisp of flame floated around the arena as Huang Xiaolong sat down cross-legged. This was the profundity of fire. Moreover, fire seemed to be the foundation of the Saint arena, and it was also the beginning of the Saint arena. Therefore, the fire grew bigger and bigger, as if it was the fire that was born at the beginning of heaven and earth. It allowed the fire element to grow bigger and bigger, growing bigger and bigger. The Fire Upanishad had another transformation, gradually entering the second level of the Fire Upanishad. It was even more ferocious and scorching, as if it could destroy everything. This kind of fire was not some strange fire. It was the purest fire in the world, the most original fire. If this kind of fire was combined with the strange fire in the world, the fire would be even more terrifying. The first flame at the beginning of the world was like this. It seemed ordinary, but in fact, it was the source of all flames. Unfortunately, Lin Ling's current king body talent was still ordinary. Because of this, after the fire element reached the second level of the Fire Upanishad, it didn't transform again. Then a green light slowly rose up as if a sapling was growing. Billowing vitality rippled outwards. It was gentle, but it also had a sharp edge to it. It was like a sword that could draw out any life force. However, this green light was obviously not the foundation of the Saint Arena, thus it didn't increase as the Saint Arena formed. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The inner world emitted a thunderous roar as it gradually took shape. An ancient power quietly bloomed, becoming even more massive. Finally, at a certain moment, Lin Ling opened his eyes, a confident smile on his face. Saint Spirit Realm. In the Rainforest Holy Land, Saint Spirit Realm powerhouses were top existences. For instance, the 7 profound martial houses Apprentice Elder Xian, or the 5 great ancient countries Lord Long and Duan Zuanwang. But now Lin Ling was almost 20 years old, and he had already stepped into the circle of top powerhouses. At this moment, he was like a dragon that had risen from the abyss, possessing the power to summon hundreds to his call. Moreover, he had become the second genius of the Rain clan to step into the Saint Spirit Realm. He had the qualifications to laugh at everything. Saint Spirit Realm. Lin Ling said again, his heart incomparably excited. According to his estimate, if he wanted to reach the Saint Spirit Realm, he would need at least half a year. But now, after being in perfect harmony with Yu, he had smoothly broken through. All of this was because of Yu's help. And now if he fought Mo Zihu again, he could easily crush him. After all, although Mo Zihu had the talent of a king body, the latter didn't have as many profound meanings as him, nor was he as strong. Lin Ling's Fire Upanishad had already reached the 2nd level. This kind of fire was like the fire of the beginning of the world. It was even hotter than before. Even a light punch had the power to destroy the heavens and earth, to incinerate the heavens. Yu, thank you. Lin Ling gently smiled as he looked at the young girl in his arms. Hee, this is the result of Big Brother Lin Ling's bitter cultivation. Yu gently smiled. Her beautiful little face was still blushing, but more of her feminine charm was revealed. This made Lin Ling's heart tremble. He inexplicably thought of yesterday's beautiful scene. He thought of those perky peaks and the leisurely forbidden area. Let's do it again, okay? Lin Ling faintly smiled. There was a touch of evil charm in his smile. No, it's not good in broad daylight. Yu's body suddenly softened. Yesterday Lin Ling had fought more than 30 times, but this guy still wanted more. That's true. Then let's do it tonight. Lin Ling shrugged, causing Yu's delicate cheeks to turn even redder. The two looked at each other, but they didn't immediately leave. Instead, they embraced each other and continued to enjoy this rare moment. This was because they both knew that in the following days, they would be moving towards becoming stronger and would have less time to interact with each other. After a long time, Lin Ling held Yu's hand and jumped down from the mountain peak. They walked towards the ice gorge. At this moment, in the ice gorge, Mo Nianchen and slave uncle were talking. Young Master Ling is fierce. When he was cultivating in the ancient face sect, he was the weakest existence. Later he rose step by step and became the #1 genius of the ancient face sect. He was found by 14th uncle of the Fire Ancient clan and brought back to be trained. Young Master Ling lived up to expectations and surpassed all the other geniuses in the Fire Ancient clan. When the throne of the Heaven Mystics Kingdom changed, he protected the Heaven Mystics Kingdom. Slave uncle excitedly said. Today he had gone to the 7 profound martial house and learned everything from Ancestor Extreme Flame. Ling has done even better than his father. Mo Nianchen was also incomparably excited at this moment. Hearing his son's proud achievements was more exciting than hearing any other news. Later, young Master Ling assisted His Majesty the Second Prince in the turmoil of the Heaven Mystics Kingdom. He turned the Second Prince from a nameless competitor to the most powerful existence. Finally, young Master Ling decided the future of the Heaven Mystics Kingdom. Chapter 942. Marriage Alliance. After entering the 7 profound martial house, young Master Ling is no longer a soft persimmon that anyone can bully. He once again rose up step by step, becoming first place in the semi-finals. Now that he has come to our Rain clan, everyone thinks that young Master Ling is a country bumpkin and doesn't place him in their eyes. But the result is that all of the Rain clan's geniuses have lost to young Master Ling. Young Master Ling is one of the 2 prides of the Rain clan. Ha, miss, your son has really won glory for you. Slave uncle's face flushed red with excitement. Even he was exceptionally proud of his son. Mo Nianchen also trembled, the smile on her face becoming even wider. Her son had walked further than her lover. This made her incomparably proud. She also believed that Lin Chen was also incomparably proud. This was the fruit of their love, their son Lin Ling. Unfortunately, father is too stubborn. He always thinks that only the Rain clan's bloodline can fight for endless glory for the Rain clan. He simply doesn't believe in Ling. After smiling, Mo Nianchen said with some disappointment. The Rain clan was an ancient and great clan. They naturally believed in their bloodline. Even though Lin Ling had created countless miracles, in the end, his surname was not Mo. Subconsciously, they didn't regard Lin Ling as a direct relative, but rather as a collateral relative. Collateral relatives had a great status in the Rainforest Holy Land, but their status in the Rain Clan was ordinary. In the end, the Rain Clan was proud. Don't worry, Mississippi. I believe that young Master Ling will change the Patriarch's opinion. He absolutely won't lose face for you. And when young Master Ling rises, you will definitely be able to leave Ice Gorge. At that time, no one in the Rain Clan will look down on Miss and think that Miss has let down the Rain Clan. Slave Uncle affirmed. He had complete confidence in Lin Ling. Yenshin faintly smiled. I don't care what I look like. I just don't want Ling to suffer too much. She simply didn't care about her own situation. She was only worried about her son. That's true, but if Miss can leave Ice Gorge, that will also help young Master Ling. He knew very well how frightening his master's strength was after he regained his strength. His words made Yenshin's eyes light up. She did not care about her own situation, but she cared about her son's situation. As far as she knew, Lin Ling had many enemies in the sacred rainforest. She would not allow those people to bully her son. However, the Rain Clan's rules were very strict. If she wanted to leave Ice Valley, she needed the Patriarch's approval. Therefore, she still wanted to see Lin Ling's rise and have the Patriarch agree to let her leave Ice Valley. Mother. Auntie Mo. Yenshin looked over and saw a couple walking over. The man was handsome and the woman was devastatingly beautiful. Everything was so perfect. Even she was a little taken aback by the sight of them. Although Lin Ling was her son, she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Her son was really very good looking, and her daughter-in-law was the most beautiful girl in the world. Miss, looking at their relationship, it seems like it has taken a step closer. Slave Uncle was indeed experienced. He immediately smiled and was happy for Lin Ling. That's right. They have long been in love. They just lacked the opportunity to break through that barrier. Now they have finally confirmed their relationship. Yenshin was also extremely happy. Following that, their eyes narrowed. This was because they sensed that Lin Ling and Yuyu's strength had broken through. Yuyu was originally the #1 genius of the Sparrow Clan. She had received the attention of the Sparrow Clan's elders and had been nurtured with endless resources. She had long reached the sacred spirit realm. She was also the #1 genius of the Desolate race along with the Rain Clan's Mo Zilong. And now she had reached the mid-stages of the sacred spirit realm. As for Lin Ling, he was not as lucky. He had relied on himself. Therefore his cultivation level was lower than Yuyu's. However, he had also stepped into the sacred spirit realm. As such, Lin Ling had become the 3rd genius of the Rain Clan to reach the sacred spirit realm. Yenshin and Slave Uncle looked at each other and became even more excited. Mother, I have broken through. Lin Ling held Yuyu's hand as they walked over from afar. He knew that his mother had sensed his cultivation level. Good. Yenshin was so excited that she did not know what to say. All she could do was say good. This was because she knew what it meant to enter the sacred spirit realm. It meant that he had stepped into the circle of the top experts in the rainforest sacred land. Congratulations, Lin Ling. At this moment, a surprised voice came from afar. A young man walked over and appeared in front of them. He was Mo Zilong. He had come to see Lin Ling. However, when he saw Lin Ling and Yuyu holding hands and looking at each other sweetly, he was stunned. Anyone who wasn't a fool would understand the relationship between Yuyu and Lin Ling. You two seem to be lovers. Mo Zilong frowned and said. Everyone was a little surprised by his appearance. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. She and I are childhood friends. We've actually been lovers for a long time. He had a good impression of Mo Zilong. This is a little troublesome. Mo Zilong was stunned again. Then he shrugged helplessly. Yesterday, the Rain Clan and the Sparrow Clan had a marriage alliance. It was a marriage alliance between the #1 genius of the Rain Clan and the #1 genius of the Sparrow Clan. In other words, it was me and the little princess of the Sparrow Clan. However, I never expected that you already knew her. What? Everyone's eyes narrowed. Yenshin immediately stood up. Father, you are going overboard. Back then, the marriage alliance between me and the Desolate Clan was for the sake of the Desolate Clan. Today you want my daughter-in-law to marry someone else. Father, you are too selfish. A powerful aura quietly emerged from her body. It was so cold that it was like the wrath of the heavens. She could tolerate any hardship, but she could not tolerate this matter. Therefore she looked at Mo Zilong coldly. Mo Zilong's body trembled. It was rumored that among the children of his grandfather Aunt Yinxin's strength was ranked in the top 3. Now that he saw it, it was indeed so. Aunt Mo, that was grandfather's intention. It has nothing to do with me. Then Mo Zilong smiled bitterly and said, furthermore, that is an engagement. It has not been confirmed yet. He could sense that Lin Ling's gaze was cold. However, he was helpless. After all, the marriage was arranged by the Rain clan. He had no choice. Furthermore, he did not know that Lin Ling knew the little princess of Yuyu. I will tell the Sparrow clan that I, Yuyu, will not marry anyone other than Lin Ling. If they force me, I will just die. Yuyu's firm voice sounded. She looked like a weak girl, but at this moment she was extremely strong. Her voice made Mo Yinxin's heart tremble. He liked this girl even more. Don't look at me with hatred. I have already said that this has nothing to do with me. Grandfather wants the Rain clan to become stronger, so he arranged the marriage. Mo Zilong said bitterly. He knew that it was not a man's doing to snatch someone's love. However, he was really innocent. Rain Master Mo Ping did everything for the benefit of the Rain clan. He did not do anything wrong. His mistake was to treat everyone as a chess piece. Cousin Zilong, this has nothing to do with you. Chapter 943. That was what he said. However, Yuyu is my woman. Not to mention Rain Master Mo Ping, even the heavens can't take her away from me. If a god tries to take her away, I'll kill the god. Lin Ling said word by word. His voice was resolute, causing Yuyu's heart to tremble. Her lips curled into a smile. Lin Ling was very domineering now, but it made her feel even sweeter because her man was telling everyone that she was Lin Ling's woman. It's only an engagement now. There are still 3 months left. Lin Ling, you still have time to prepare. Mo Zilong's heart trembled. He knew that Lin Ling was determined. Okay. Lin Ling nodded. He didn't have much time left, but there was still hope. Let's go and see Rain Master Mo Ping. Lin Ling looked into the distance and said coldly. It's not good to see Senior Rain Master now. Yu was a little worried. She was afraid that Lin Ling's relationship with his grandfather would worsen because of her. Silly girl, you're my woman. How can I not announce it to the world? So what if you're Senior Rain Master? If you provoke me, I'll exterminate the Rain clan in the future. Lin Ling's eyes were even colder. He rarely got angry, but this time he was furious. Today he wasn't as strong as the Rain clan, so he was bullied by them. However, if the Rain clan went too far, so what if he exterminated them in the future? His family didn't treat him as family, so why should he give them face? Moreover, he had already given them a lot of face. Then Lin Ling left the ice valley with Yuyu. Mo Zilong opened his mouth but couldn't say anything in the end. He was shocked. This Lin Ling was really a sentimental person. He dared to go against the world for his lover. Luckily, he had a good relationship with Lin Ling. If they were enemies, he would feel that it would be a nightmare. Moreover, he didn't know why, but he was somewhat supportive of Lin Ling's previous words. Perhaps he was also very unhappy with this big family that had so many rules, because all the rules didn't pay attention to human relations. At this moment, in the Rain clan's grand hall, people from the various desolate races were gathered there. It made the grand hall extremely lively. They were obviously discussing the marriage between the two races. And in the grand hall, other than the desolate races experts, the Rain clan's respected seniors and top geniuses were also present. Young Master Ling, you're not invited to this banquet. You're not allowed to enter. However, at this moment outside the hall, Lin Ling arrived while holding Yuyu's hand. However, they were stopped by 2 guards from the branch family. Moreover, their words were extremely dignified. Scram. Lin Ling coldly looked at the 2 of them, causing their pupils to dilate. Lin Ling wanted them to scram? Although they were from the branch family, their surname was Mo. As for Lin Ling, his surname was Lin, so he had the right to tell them to scram. And in terms of seniority, they were Lin Ling's elders. The 2 of you make way. Lin Ling's mother is from the direct bloodline, and the elders in your family are from the branch family. By blocking Lin Ling's path, you are offending your superiors. Yuyu was relatively calm as she coldly looked at the 2 of them. This made them frown. What Yuyu said was the truth. However, Lin Ling was not invited to the banquet, and if they made way for Lin Ling, they would be mocked by others. Hence, they were momentarily hesitant. Although that is the case, if you want to enter, we can help you pass the message. One of them said with a frown. You, why are you wasting your breath on them? However, Lin Ling did not plan to waste his breath on them. He was angry today, so he did not plan to use his status to pressure them. He dared to come here, so he dared to attack anyone who blocked his path. What do you mean? The two of them narrowed their eyes. This is what I mean. Lin Ling stretched out his right hand, and a wisp of fire rippled out. There was the 9 nether heavenly flame and the vermilion bird flame, as if it was the fire of 10,000 flames. Then he waved his hand, and without any complicated martial arts, the profound of fire bloomed. Boom. The flames bloomed as if the first fire of heaven and earth had erupted. The door was instantly shattered, and the two of them spat out blood. Their bodies were wrapped in flames, and they were sent flying backwards. Moreover, the power was mighty, and they flew over the garden in front of the main hall and crashed into the main hall. What did he mean? Attacking meant, go in. Lin Ling said coldly and led Yu through the door, passing through the garden and appearing proudly in the main hall. At this moment, the hall was completely silent. Previously, everyone was laughing and talking about the marriage. However, in the next moment, 2 figures smashed into the hall, causing everyone to have no idea what was going on. And now, Lin Ling had appeared in the main hall while holding Yu's hand. It was domineering and magnificent, but it explained everything. Everyone's eyes narrowed. Lin Ling was so arrogant. Today all the ancient figures of the desolate race were present, and yet Lin Ling had barged in. At the same time, Mo Zilong had rushed over from outside the main hall. When he saw the scene in front of him, his pupils immediately constricted. Indeed, there was nothing the angry Lin Ling did not dare to do. This was equivalent to slapping the old master in the face. Lin Ling, are you mad? There are guests here. Who allowed you to be so rude? Quickly kneel down and apologize. In the silence, Mo Zihu took a step forward and pointed at Lin Ling, shouting angrily. As for Rain Master Mo Ping and company, their faces were livid. They still did not understand what had happened. Losers scram. Countless gazes were on Lin Ling as the corners of his mouth moved slightly. A cold voice came out of his mouth as he looked at Mo Zihu condescendingly from above. Don't be too arrogant. In the past, I lost to you because of my carelessness. Today, if you do not give me an explanation, don't even think of leaving here. Mo Zihu gritted his teeth. He was one of the Rain clan's 2 prides, but ever since Lin Ling appeared, he had been humiliated to the point of losing all his dignity. Explanation. The corners of Lin Ling's mouth curled up. The primordial fire in his hand bloomed once again, transforming into a lotus flower with 10 petals. However, it was even hotter and more sacred. The flames were 5-colored. It was the combination of all Lin Ling's flames in the past. This is an explanation. The flames were gently waved by Lin Ling. Although it looked slow, it froze space. Destruction dominance. Boom. With one move, Mo Zihu spurted out blood and was similarly blown away. In the past, he was not Lin Ling's opponent. Now that Lin Ling had reached the Holy Spirit realm, he could defeat him like a defeated dog. So powerful. The crowd's pupils trembled. Mo Zihu was defeated in one move. One must know that in the previous battle between Lin Ling and Mo Zihu, the result was only decided after they were almost evenly matched. Holy Spirit realm. Soon after, some experts looked at Lin Ling's cultivation and their hearts finally trembled. Lin Ling had broken through again. Silence. The entire hall was silent. Everyone looked at that frivolous figure and were so shocked that they were speechless. Is this your pride, the Rain clan's 2 prides? Only Lin Ling's tyrannical voice drifted out. However, it was directed at Rain Master Mo Ping and contained a thick sense of sarcasm. Rain clan's 2 prides? Trash that couldn't even block a single move. What do you want to do? Chapter 944. Announcing to the world Lin Ling's face was cold and fearless. Yu was his reverse scale and no one could offend her. Since he dared to come here today, he had already prepared himself. He would rather die than live in dishonor. If he was pushed to the edge, he would at most summon the ancient flame devil. He did not answer Mo Ping's question, but looked at Mo Zihu with disdain. The so-called Rain clan's prides are just a dog that knows how to bootlick. Compared to Mo Zilong, you're too lacking. You're simply an insult to the name of the Rain clan's prides. Lin Ling. On the ground, Mo Zihu's mouth was overflowing with blood. His body was surrounded by a mysterious flame, and he had lost all face. Last time when he fought with Lin Ling, his attack could affect Lin Ling, but it was blocked by Lin Ling. Lin Ling's flame lotus also affected him, but it was not blocked by him. This led to his loss. He was unwilling to accept his loss, but he believed that if they were to fight to the death, Lin Ling would not be his opponent. However, today Lin Ling defeated him in one move. It was like a dream. "Grandpa, I haven't lost yet." Mo Zihu slapped the ground and jumped up. He did not care about his injuries and pounced at Lin Ling. He was unwilling to accept this. He did not believe that Lin Ling had surpassed him. The crowd's eyes flickered. The previous incident was too strange. They did not believe that Lin Ling could defeat Mo Zihu so easily. "I have an innate emperor physique, I have a mid-grade spiritual weapon, and I have profound. How can I lose to you?" Following Mo Zihu's roar, an azure halberd of the sea god appeared. It cut through the void and slashed at Lin Ling. Crash! The profound of ocean rain appeared. It was like the rain of an ancient sea, causing the waves to roar and the earth to shatter. Lin Ling smiled gently. Mo Zihu was unwilling to accept this? Then he would beat him until he was willing. Whoosh! The tyrannical song sword appeared and flames surged. The second-level fire profound surged out like the most primitive flame, overbearing and majestic. Rumble. The halberd and greatsword collided and a tyrannical wave of spiritual energy erupted. In the center of the hall, two figures emitted a radiance similar to that of a sea urchin as they resisted each other. However, in everyone's eyes, Mo Zihu's all-out attack was blocked by Lin Ling with a single hand behind his back and a single sword. "I have 50 million points of power, and I have the Tyrant Song Sword, a mid-tier spiritual weapon. I even have two profound meanings. How can you not lose to me?" Scram. In the next moment, a dazzling light erupted from the huge sword, and it slashed out as if it was capable of annihilating an army. Pop, pop. A black crack appeared in the void. Mo Zihu couldn't even hold the halberd of the sea god firmly. He was sent flying again, this time towards Mo Ping. But in the end, Mo Ping extended her right hand and blocked the terrifying force of the attack. Clang. At the same time, the Poseidon's halberd drew a beautiful arc in the air before ruthlessly thrusting into the ground. The crisp sound was shocking. Overpowered, the second time it was overpowered. At this moment, everyone finally knew that Lin Ling had defeated Mo Zihu with ease. Moreover, through Lin Ling's words they had a clear understanding of Lin Ling's strength. Although Lin Ling did not have an innate emperor body, his physical body was an advantage. With 50 million points of power, his spiritual weapon was not weaker than Mo Zihu's, and his profound martial meaning was several levels higher. It would be strange if Mo Zihu did not lose. Everything was as Lin Ling had said. In front of him, Mo Zihu was just trash that couldn't even block a single move. Flattery. Apart from having your grandfather help you, you don't seem to have anything else to be proud of. Lin Ling slowly sheathed his sword. His figure seemed to have returned to the frivolous and arrogant days of the past. Mo Zihu's face was incomparably pale. Shame. He had been ruthlessly defeated twice by Lin Ling. Moreover, it was a complete suppression. This was a great humiliation. However, in the face of this humiliation he could not resist. He could only stand there and be humiliated by Lin Ling. All of this was like a dream. One had to know that when he first met Lin Ling he was high above and could suppress Lin Ling. But now Lin Ling was even nobler than him. "You came here to humiliate Mo Zihu?" Rain Master Mo Ping frowned as he looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling was very arrogant. Today not only did he not report his arrival to the main hall, he even directly fought his way in. He simply did not put his grandfather in his eyes. "I came here for only one thing. Yu is my woman. She was, is, and will be." His gaze swept across the crowd. Lin Ling finally looked at Rain Master Mo Ping. At this moment he did not have the slightest bit of restraint. There was only a fearless heart. For Yu he did not fear the entire world. What? Everyone's pupils constricted. They were shocked by Lin Ling's words. "Lin Ling, you are too audacious. You do not put us in your eyes at all. Yu represents the Sparrow clan and Rain clan in marriage. What qualifications do you have to speak for her?" In the silence, a Rain clan elder shouted angrily. "Haha, do you have the qualifications to speak? Get lost." That person was Lin Ling's uncle, but Lin Ling did not treat him as his uncle at all. Instead he laughed frivolously. His laughter shook the heavens, causing the hearts of the Rain clan's juniors to tremble. In the history of the Rain clan, only Lin Ling dared to speak to his seniors in such a manner. "You said that I do not put you in my eyes, then have you ever put me in your eyes? When I defeated your juniors, you were unwilling to accept it and targeted me everywhere. When I completed the task, you were still unwilling to accept it and made things difficult for me everywhere. It was as if I was supposed to be under your feet and you could step on me however you wanted. You did not verify it and casually wronged me. At that time, did you treat me as your relative? The angry voice floated out from Lin Ling's mouth. It shocked the entire hall into silence. Everyone was speechless. Yes, they did not treat Lin Ling as their junior. Instead, they treated Lin Ling as an outsider. But now they used their status as seniors. Why should Lin Ling give them face? You are right. I do not agree with them on this point. However, Yu is the little princess of our Sparrow clan. Since when did it become your turn to speak? On the side of the Sparrow clan, an elder spoke slowly. In fact, he was rather optimistic about this junior who had an ordinary background but constantly amazed the world. However, this junior was too frivolous and did not even put their Sparrow clan in his eyes. Then may I ask where you were when Yu was just an ordinary disciple of the Guyan sect? When Yu was just an ordinary martial artist, where were you? Lin Ling took a step forward and looked at the elder fearlessly. This matter was related to Yu. Hence, he would shoulder everything and would not tolerate it. The old man was also speechless. In the Guyan sect, it was Big Brother Lin Ling who protected me. In the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, it was Big Brother Lin Ling who helped me awaken my bloodline. If I was still an ordinary girl, the Sparrow clan would not even value me. Now that the Sparrow clan values me, it is just icing on the cake. The most important thing is to help me in my hour of need. Yu also took a step forward and held onto Lin Ling's hand. Her beautiful eyes looked resolutely at everyone as she spoke. Icing on the cake was something to be grateful for, but the most important thing was to help him in his hour of need. That elder from the Sparrow clan was even more speechless. He did not expect that Princess Yu and Lin Ling had such a past. Chapter 945. Debt Collection. My goal for coming here today is to announce to the world that Yu is my Lin Ling's woman. Lin Ling's gaze turned even more resolute. Yu was already his woman, so how could he not dare to affirm it? I know you are indignant, but it won't be long before I personally bring Yu back. All of you raise your eyes and wait. Let's go. Under the silence, Lin Ling finally said those words. Following that, he held Yu's hand and left. This was his goal for coming here today. How resolute. And in the grand hall, everyone's hearts palpitated. However, a few of the Rain Clan's juniors were moved, especially the girls. Their eyes shimmered. If there was a man in this world who treated them in such a way, announcing their relationship without fear of power, they would also give themselves to him. Unfortunately, how many people had the courage to say such words in front of an expert? As for the seniors of the Rain Clan and Desolate Race, their expressions were ugly. They had just discussed the marriage between the two races, but Lin Ling had told them in front of countless people that the marriage did not count. Stop. At the moment Lin Ling stepped out of the door, Rain Master Mo Ping could not help but shout. Not everyone is like you, prioritizing profit in everything you do. However, outside the door Lin Ling did not stop. His cold voice replied. He was going to step out of the door today. If Rain Master Mo Ping wanted to shed all pretenses, then he would release the ancient flame demon. When that happened, they would see who would suffer more casualties. You can try taking another step. Rain Master Mo Ping's expression was extremely cold. This grandson of his had not only embarrassed him, he had even rebutted him in front of his face, causing his dignity to be violated. Father, in the past you sacrificed me because of benefits. Today you want to implicate my son because of benefits? I can give in to you on anything, but on this matter your daughter will not allow it. At this moment, a cold voice resounded in the grand hall. It made Rain Master Mo Ping's angry eyes focus. It was her. If you insist on separating them, then don't blame your daughter for not acknowledging you. The voice resounded once again. This time Rain Master Mo Ping's body trembled. For Lin Ling, his daughter, who had always obeyed him, was going to sever ties with him? Other than that time when she ran away from marriage, his daughter had always been obedient. Every dog has its day. Time will prove everything. Don't underestimate your grandson. The cold voice resounded in the hall, causing the hearts of countless people. They knew that Emon Yenshin was talking about Lin Ling. They believed that Lin Ling did not have the Rain Clan's bloodline, so his future achievements were limited. However, they had forgotten that Lin with his ordinary bloodline, he had crushed all the geniuses. Therefore, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, all of this might not be impossible. Perhaps they would not, rain was, but not to be accepted to be. Alright, the engagement will continue. However, I will give him half a year's time. After half a year, if he can't prove everything, then don't blame your father. Rain Master Mo Ping's eyes flickered. He finally made a decision. Perhaps he did not want his daughter to sever ties with him because of an outsider like Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling had already left with Yu Yu's hand. However, he had also heard those words. This caused his lips to curve into a faint smile. Half a year? Sure, at that time he would return in a domineering manner and crush everything. Yu Yu, unless the mountains are no longer sharp and the heavens and earth are united, I will marry you. Stopping his footsteps, Lin Ling looked gently at Yu Yu. There was only determination in his eyes. Brother Ling, Yu Yu believes in you. Yu Yu's beautiful face revealed a smile as she nodded heavily. This time I will be leaving. It won't be long before I return. At that time we can be together. Lin Ling took a step forward and gently hugged Yu Yu. As he looked at the ancient Rain Clan building, a cold light flashed in his eyes. This place had left him with far too many bad memories. However, the moment he returned, he would change everything. The news of Lin Ling's departure spread throughout the Rain Clan in half a day. As for this arrogant youth, many Rain Clan members had complex feelings. They never thought that a foreign bloodline would be able to cause the ancient desolate clan to stir up monstrous waves. And now Lin Ling wanted to use half a year's time to prove everything. This caused them to raise their heads in anticipation. Of course, many Rain Clan seniors did not favor Lin Ling. After all, they already stood at the pinnacle of the Rainforest Holy Land. If Lin Ling wanted to prove everything, what did he rely on? Because of the 7 profound martial house? There simply wasn't enough cultivation resources there to satisfy Lin Ling. And as far as they knew, Lin Ling's tyrannical song sword was forged with the help of Mo Nianyue. Thus Lin Ling did not have any hope. I believe in him. In the ice gorge, Mo Nianchen looked at the fluttering white snow, her eyes filled with incomparable determination. Her son had walked through countless storms and now he could create a miracle. And at this moment, after Lin Ling left the Rain Clan, he immediately headed towards the main city. The main city was still bustling with activity. To the main city, the matters of the 4 desolate clans were like matters of the royal palace. Not many people knew about it. The Rain Clan is vast, arrogant, and overbearing. If I want to surpass the Rain Clan, then I must have a strength that can match the Rain Clan. Lin Ling walked down the street. He thought of the Flame Legion and a heroic thought rose in his heart. He wanted the Flame Legion to shock the entire Rainforest Holy Land. Lin Ling, is that you? At this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice sounded from the street. Then a youth in a green brocade robe walked over with 4 people. Qin Jing Tian. Lin Ling could not help but smile. After returning to the Rainforest Holy Land, he had not seen Qin Jing Tian for a long time. The person who came was Qin Jing Tian of the Great Qin Empire, the son of Old Master Qin. Patriarch Lin. The faces of the people behind Qin Jing Tian changed. They came in front of Lin Ling and bowed respectfully to Lin Ling. Lin Ling was currently one of the 24 patriarchs of the Great Qin Empire. Haha, after you returned, I also knew that you were busy, so I did not disturb you. Qin Jing Tian looked at Lin Ling and smiled happily. In his heart, he had already treated Lin Ling as his family. This was because the destruction of the fighting evil lineage was done by Lin Ling. He knew that Lin Ling had done it for his father. Why are you all here? Lin Ling and Qin Jing Tian had been through a lot, so there was no need to be courteous. It's all because of the Justice Duan family. They opened a pill shop again and their business is booming. They seem to be trying to steal our business, so I came to take a look on behalf of the Great Qin Empire. Qin Jing Tian sighed and shook his head helplessly. The resources of the 5 ancient countries could not be compared to the 4 desolate tribes, so they placed great importance on the Rainforest Holy Land's business. The Justice Duan family. Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. After Old Master Qin died, he swore to destroy the 2 ancient countries. This promise was still fresh in his mind. It just so happens that I'm short of money. Since they dare to open a pill shop, we'll benefit from it. Then Lin Ling's lips curled into a devilish smile. He had been thinking about how to increase the strength of the Flame Legion, but now he seemed to have heard good news. Lin Ling, what do you mean by this? Qin Jing Tian was puzzled. Chapter 946. Hanging Pot Halchi. Qin Jingtian sucked in a breath of cold air. The people behind him also sucked in a breath of cold air. Linling, what great courage! The Justice Duan family dared to open an elixir shop in the rainforest because they had something to rely on. Although the Great Qin Empire did not want to see the rise of the Justice Duan family, they did not dare to act rashly. However, Linling dared to do so. Yes, Linling is from one of the 4 great desolate tribes. Qin Jingtian thought of the reason for Linling's confidence. Let's go. Linling chuckled. At the same time he shouted in his heart, Heavenly Fiend Ming Wang Yin Sha, quickly come and see me. Since he was going to rob the Justice Duan family, he naturally needed help. So Linling also summoned the powerhouses around him. Okay, their elixir shop is on Changlong Street. Although Qin Jingtian found it unbelievable, he was familiar with Linling. Linling was not an impulsive person. If he dared to do so, he must have his own confidence. Changlong Street was an ancient street in the main city. It was also the 3rd street to be developed in the rainforest. Naturally, it was more prosperous than the other streets. The warriors who came here were either rich or noble. The Justice Duan family indeed had a geographical advantage by opening an elixir shop here. What a beautiful elixir shop! It can be compared to the ancient elixir shops of the 4 great desolate tribes. Yes, and the elixir shops of the 4 great desolate tribes are not open often. However, this elixir shop is open every day. It is really good news for us warriors. It is said that as long as you have the money you can buy any elixir shop. It is very powerful. Of course, this elixir shop is opened by the Justice Duan family, one of the 5 great ancient kingdoms. It is said that this elixir shop used up a quarter of the Justice Duan family's income. In front of the elixir shop the crowd discussed with envy. In their eyes the elixir shop was grand and majestic. The building was built in the shape of an ancient cauldron. It was as if the heavens had bestowed this elixir shop to the mortal world. At the entrance of the elixir shop, 4 words were hung there. Medicine to help the world, all lives are equal. Grand and majestic. At this moment, at the entrance of the elixir shop, there was an endless stream of people entering. They were either rich or respectable. Obviously, ordinary martial artists could not enter. Of course, this was normal. After all, there were all kinds of elixirs here. The spiritual herbs were priceless. Would ordinary martial artists be able to afford those rare medicinal pills? From the very beginning, the Justice Duan family had planned to let the pill shop take the high-end route. Therefore, there were many alchemists and powerhouses in charge. Practicing medicine to help the world, all living beings are equal, what a hypocritical plaque. At this moment, several silhouettes slowly walked towards the sacred medicinal pill shop. The young man in the lead indifferently said, causing the passers-by to suck in a breath of cold air. These people were extremely arrogant, daring to say such things about the Duan clan's medicinal pill shop. I wonder which family's hedonistic young master is from. He simply doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Many people laughed coldly. They were not surprised because the world did not lack such hedonistic young masters. Only when they suffered would these hedonistic young masters understand that there is always someone better out there. At this moment, the hedonistic young masters in everyone's hearts were indifferently looking at the majestic medicinal pill shop. The eyes of the handsome young man in the lead turned cold. Looking at the bustling medicinal pill shop, a wave of anger rose in his heart. He thought of the old man who died unjustly. Young Master Qin, the Duan clan's medicinal pill shop has everything you need. It shouldn't be difficult to buy the medicinal pills we want. Young Master Lin, don't underestimate the power of the 5 great ancient countries. The young man turned his head and said, while the other young man behind him nodded. They were Linling and Qin Jingtian. Behind them were Yin Sha and the other guards of the Great Qin Empire. Today they were here to collect their debts. Then let's go in. Linling said indifferently and strode towards the luxurious door. Dear guests, do you have the medicine halls, medicine halls, medicine halls, medicine halls, medicine halls, medicine hall? After taking a few steps, a lavishly dressed attendant smiled and said with a sincere attitude, "What is a healing token?" Qin Jingtian asked. The Xian Hall is the medicinal pill shop of the Justice Duan clan. It is the first time it has opened, so customers come like clouds. To avoid causing chaos in the Xian Hall, only those with a healing token can enter. The attendant said respectfully, but his tone was arrogant and his eyes were full of disdain. These young men seemed to have an extraordinary temperament, but they did not even know this rule. They were obviously hedonistic young masters from some small family. Unfortunately, they dared to come to the Shen Hall and pretend to be rich. They were simply courting death. Those people are indeed hedonistic young masters with empty shells. The crowd in the distance secretly laughed. They all knew this rule, but those people did not? To put it bluntly, those without status were not allowed to enter. It did not matter which country's crown prince you were, as long as you did not have a healing token, you could not enter. This was the prestige of the Justice Duan clan. Yes, please go back. The attendant was still smiling, but his voice was full of disdain. Let me ask you, what is the meaning of healing to the world, and all lives are equal, on your signboard? At this moment, Lin Ling said indifferently. Healing to the world is to save the world. This is the original intention of the Justice Duan clan. As for, all lives are equal, that is because the Duan clan does not bully the weak. Everyone is equal. The attendant said proudly, puffing out his chest. Slap. A slap flew over and landed on the attendant's face, causing him to feel a burning pain. His eyes widened and he could not speak. Nonsense. Lin Ling shouted coldly. Crazy. The crowd's pupils constricted. Those hedonistic young masters were crazy. They dared to hit someone from the Justice Duan clan. Could they not tell who was stronger and who was weaker? Guessed you hit me? The attendant did not seem to react. Slap. However, the slap sounded again as if to tell him that today, he was the one being slapped. Since you're here to heal the world, why is the elixir shop collecting money? Isn't the Justice Duan clan benevolent? Moreover, since all lives are equal, why can those people enter but not us? Lin Ling's frivolous voice floated out like the wind, leaving the attendant speechless. Indeed, since they were here to heal the world, why would they collect money? Since all lives are equal, why would they discriminate based on status? Since they could not do that, what was the point of having a signboard? Today is the first day of the Hanging Pot Hall's opening, but you did not live up to the motto. Why don't you let me tear down your signboard? Lin Ling shouted again, looking even more like a hedonistic young master. Arrogant, whose young master is this? So arrogant. The crowd was in an uproar. Although the young man's words were not wrong, it was obvious that he was being picky. He was not afraid of death. When the Justice Duan clan's elites appeared, he would definitely suffer. He might even implicate his clan. Chapter 947. Duan Bai, thank you for your reminder, but my family can afford to pay for a mere elixir store. Moreover, if you piss me off, I'll tear it down. Lin Ling chuckled mockingly. Qin Jingtian also chuckled. He knew what Lin Ling meant. After all, they were here to collect a debt. The funny thing was that the waiter thought they were hedonistic young masters. This place is owned by the Justice Duan family. The waiter took a step forward and said loudly. He finally revealed his identity. The Justice Duan family? So that's how it is. Lin Ling nodded as if it was the first time he heard this news. The waiter smiled faintly. Next, he wanted to see this hedonistic young master's ugly face. Slap. However, the crisp sound of a slap rang out again. Who told you to tell me your family name? Are you going to tell me your mother's name and your wife's name? Do you think I'm interested? Lin Ling smiled even more brilliantly. The crowd's face stiffened. They had the same thought as the waiter, but who knew that the young master would become even more arrogant? Do you know what the Justice Duan family is? The waiter glared at Lin Ling. He thought that Lin Ling didn't know what the Justice Duan family was. After all, this was the first time a young master from the 100 territories came to the rainforest sacred ground. They might not have heard of the 5 ancient countries. I said, are you deaf? If you don't understand, then let me tell you. The Justice Duan family is my grandson. Lin Ling smiled again, but in the next moment, his pupils shrank, and his voice exploded like a great bell. It was so shocking that everyone's eardrums hurt. Then, many shocked gazes looked at the young man. The young man had said in front of everyone that the Justice Duan family was his grandson. This kind of hedonistic young master had reached the peak. In the rainforest sacred ground, who would dare to say such a thing? All right, I've said what I wanted to say. Bring your face over and let me slap you 3 more times. Young Master Qin, you too. Lin Ling looked at the servant again and laughed. His laughter was cold and evil. You're courting death. The servant's face was extremely ugly. He had brought out the Justice Duan family, but it was useless. How dare you mess around in the hanging pot hall? At this moment, a white-haired old man slowly walked out. This person had his hands behind his back and looked very old and virtuous. It was obvious that he was a person of high status in the hanging hall. Grandmaster De, these people are here to cause trouble. The waiter seemed to have found a life-saving straw. Master De Wang is a famous alchemist in the rainforest Holy Land. In the past he was invited by Tua Tian province to be an apprentice, but was rejected by Master De Wang. This person is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. He has achieved great success in the rainforest Holy Land. The crowd was shocked. The Justice Duan family had spent a lot of money this time. They had even recruited such a famous alchemist. Master De Wang also heard the envious voices around him. He seemed to be enjoying it. Then he looked at Lin Ling calmly. He wanted to know what Lin Ling would say. However, it was still a slap. An extremely crisp slap. Master De Wang, I don't know. Woof woof only knows my family's De Huang. After the slap, Lin Ling said calmly. Master De Wang's eyes widened. Lin Ling dared to hit him? And he even described him as a dog? As for the waiter beside him, he sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought that with Master De Wang's arrival, these foppish young masters would suffer. But in the end, these people even dared to hit Master De Wang. Old man, if you continue to put on an act in front of me, it won't be just a slap. And the dog beside you, get over here and finish the previous slaps. Lin Ling took a step forward, seemingly unwilling to give up. All right, Lin Ling, come in. At this moment, a calm voice finally came from the hanging hall. Obviously, the incident at the entrance had attracted the attention of the people in the hanging hall. Moreover, others might not know Lin Ling, but how could the big shots of the Justice Duan family not recognize Lin Ling? Lin Ling. Master De Wang's expression changed drastically, and so did the waiter. They thought that this was a foppish young master, but who knew that this person was Lin Ling, who was famous in the sacred ground of the rainforest? He's the rumored Lin Ling. The crowd's hearts trembled violently. Lin Ling looked at the towering hanging hall and smiled. He strode in with Qingjing Tian. He wanted to see who from the Justice Duan family was guarding this place today. Young Master Qin, give him a few slaps so that his dog eyes can recognize more people. Hit Master Woof Woof too. Lin Ling said calmly as he stepped through the door. Qingjing Tian smiled. Today he had helped his father vent his anger. I'll hit him too. Master De Wang frowned, but he was no longer as arrogant as before. This was because this young man was Lin Ling. Moreover, I'll hit you until you can't stand up. Lin Ling said without turning his head. This made Master De Wang grit his teeth, but he didn't dare to speak. Pa pa pa. The sound of Qin Jingtian's slaps could be heard at the same time. How arrogant. He doesn't have a hanging hu token, but he entered the hanging hu hall and slapped the master's face at the door. The crowd's hearts beat violently. Many of them had heard of Lin Ling's name, Mad God Lin Ling. However, after seeing it with their own eyes, they realized that this kind of arrogance was well deserved. The funniest thing was that they had thought that Lin Ling was a foppish young master and would suffer today. However, Lin Ling had tyrannically barged into the hanging hu hall. Suddenly, the crowd was filled with anticipation. It was said that Lin Ling and the Justice Duan family were not on good terms. Who knew what would happen today? However, Lin Ling dared to come to the hanging hu hall with only a few people. The consequences would not be good. What a big elixir workshop. After entering the hanging hu hall, Lin Ling shouted loudly, shocking the people in the elixir workshop. Was Lin Ling chasing away customers with such a loud noise? Sir, the elixir workshop is a valuable place. Please lower your voice. A person who looked like a guard walked over. I want to be loud. What can you do? The elixir workshop is open for business. Don't tell me that customers are not allowed to speak? Lin Ling's voice became louder. At this moment he was even more like a foppish young master. However, no one dared to treat him as one. After all, the champion of the semi-finals had the right to speak. Alright Shaowen, you can leave. I'll do it. At this moment, from the depths of the vast hall, a middle-aged man walked over. He was dignified and had an indescribable elegance. From afar, he saluted Lin Ling and said, "The #1 genius of the rainforest Holy Land has come to the hanging hu hall today. Apologies for the poor reception." This person was not angered by Lin Ling's recklessness. Instead, he was very polite. Obviously, he wanted to avoid unnecessary trouble for the opening of the hanging hu hall today. However, there was a hidden danger in his words. With one sentence he pushed Lin Ling into the limelight. He said that Lin Ling was the #1 genius of the Rainforest Holy Land, but not the #1 genius of the martial arts hall. The two seemed close, but if he met the top genius of the Rainforest Holy Land, then there would be trouble. Chapter 948. He's here to pick a fight. Lin Ling, I've heard a lot about you. I've wanted to meet you for a long time. Unfortunately, your name has spread far and wide while I'm just a nobody, said the middle-aged man with a smile. He was extremely polite, as if he admired Lin Ling a lot. Then he said to the others, "This young man is the most outstanding cultivator in the world. He's a dragon among men. How can you neglect him? Give him whatever he wants. This is the respect you should have for the most outstanding cultivator." "Yes, Lord." Everyone saluted respectfully, looking at Lin Ling with reverence. Of course the guests were envious. Lin Ling was treated well. However, who was Lin Ling? He had grown up from nothing since he was young. What kind of storm had he not seen? What kind of people had he not seen? Lin Ling had seen people who were sweet and sly. "Who do you think you are?" Lin Ling smiled and said softly. His words were frivolous and domineering. Everyone in the hall widened their eyes, especially the guards. Each of them was boiling with anger. Their lord was so polite and courteous to Lin Ling, but Lin Ling did not give him any face. This was too much. "Haha, I'm Duan Zun Wang's son, Duan Bai. Of course, I'm not as famous as Lin Ling. I'm just a nobody in the Duan family." However, Duan Bai did not rise. He still smiled amiably as if he saw Lin Ling as his best friend. "Indeed, compared to me, you're just a nobody." Lin Ling smiled, took a step forward, and gently patted Duan Bai's cheek. "Duan Zun Wang's son. In the past, there were two people Lin Ling must kill in the prairie. One was Lord Long of the Heavenly Dragon Empire, the other was Duan Zun Wang. Unfortunately, he died in the prairie." Duan Bai smiled again, but his smile was a little forced. Before, he was just being polite, flattering Lin Ling. Normally, people with status would reply politely, but who would have thought that Lin Ling would reply without any courtesy? He was indeed a nobody. "Your father, that damned old man, is he still alive?" Lin Ling said with a smile. He put his arm around Duan Bai's shoulder as if they were really good friends. However, his words were extremely vicious. If the other party wanted to play dirty, then he would play along. "Lin Ling, don't go too far." A guard in the hall shouted angrily. Lin Ling was cursing their Duan Zun Wang. "It's fine. Your Excellency, Lin Ling is a straightforward person and not a hypocrite. Tell me what you think." However, Duan Bai merely waved his hand in an extremely magnanimous manner. Many of the guests secretly admired him. No wonder he was the head of the Hanging Pot Hall. He was so magnanimous that he could suppress anything. "My father's body is in good condition, and he's about to break through to the next realm," Duan Bai said with a smile. "Sigh, what a pity. Bad people stink for 1,000 years. How can they live so long?" Lin Ling sighed softly. Then, as if he felt that he had said something wrong, he immediately said, "I'm sorry, I'm a straightforward person, so I say what I think. I didn't mean it." A straightforward person saying what he thought meant that Lin Ling wanted Duan Zun Wang to die. This time, no matter how well-mannered Duan Bai was, his expression was incomparably ugly. After all, no one would want others to curse their own father. "All right, enough nonsense. Brother Duan, tell me about your shabby elixir shop." Lin Ling patted Duan Bai's shoulder, not looking like he was apologizing at all. Behind him, Qin Jingtian was secretly laughing. He didn't expect Lin Ling to be so good at acting. He clearly wanted to destroy this place, but he was still pretending to be polite. "Shabby elixir shop." The guards gritted their teeth again. The elixir shop here was one of the best in the rainforest, but Lin Ling said that it was shabby? This elixir shop has 72 alchemists. As long as you have money, you can refine any elixir. If it's fake, you'll pay 10 times the compensation. Duan Bai said proudly, then continued, "Of course, Sir Lin Ling is the #1 genius, so you can buy elixirs here at a 40% discount." He quickly regained his amiable appearance as if he and Lin Ling were sworn brothers. 72 good-for-nothings? Like Master Wang from before? "Brother Duan, you have bad taste," Lin Ling said with a smile. Master De Wang's face darkened when he walked into the main hall. He was a respected senior in the rainforest, but in front of this junior he was a good-for-nothing. However, since I'm here I naturally have to buy elixirs. But if it's fake you can refine any elixir. I'm curious. Lin Ling glanced at the magnificent main hall and thought for a while. He said, give me an elixir that can help me break through to the Holy Spirit realm. It must have no side effects, and it must allow me to comprehend 90% of the ultimacy. Also the price is negotiable. If you can afford it, I can afford it. What? The crowd's eyes widened. Breaking through to the Holy Spirit realm without any side effects and requiring one to comprehend 90% of the ultimacy? Was there such an elixir in the world? If there was, the Duan family would have been the most powerful family in the rainforest. Lin Ling was deliberately looking for trouble, wasn't he? Sir Lin Ling, you really know how to joke. Duan Bai was stunned for a moment, then smiled faintly. Who's joking with you? Lin Ling's face became indifferent. Brother Duan, friendship is friendship, business is business. How can your hanging pot hall not fulfill its promise? Lin Ling, can you find such an elixir? If you can't, what right do you have to talk nonsense? Leave, the hanging pot hall does not welcome you. In the distance, an elder who was also an alchemist shouted angrily. He did not like Lin Ling. Whoosh! A flame shot out like a meteor and wrapped around the alchemist, burning him. Who allowed you to speak? A cold voice sounded in the main hall. Lin Ling looked indifferently. Domineering. Many people's eyes narrowed. Lin Ling was too domineering. He attacked immediately because of a disagreement. Okay, since Sir Lin Ling said so, there must be such an elixir. You can study it more. Duan Bai's manners were indeed good. Study? Who gave you time? I want it now. However, Lin Ling shouted again. He was not reasonable at all. Sir Lin Ling, you're picking a fight. Duan Bai could not bear it anymore. Have you run out of patience? You should have done this earlier. We're enemies. Why do you have to pretend to be brothers? Lin Ling smiled gently. His domineering look disappeared and was replaced by a smile. Duan Bai's eyes narrowed. He felt as if he had been played by Lin Ling. However, you're right. I'm here to pick a fight. However, in the next moment, Lin Ling's strong ambition finally exploded. His powerful aura shook the entire main hall. Today he was here to pick a fight. Duan Bai's face was extremely ugly. From the beginning he felt as if he had been played by Lin Ling. No matter how well-mannered he was, no matter how humble he was, it was useless. Because Lin Ling was playing with him. Good show, let's begin. The Hanging Pot Hall opens today, but it's also closing. Under many shocked gazes, Lin Ling's frivolous voice drifted out of the Hanging Pot Hall and even into the ears of the people on the street. Countless people's eyes narrowed. Chapter 949. The arrival of the Flame Legion. Lin Ling is here to cause trouble. Many people were shocked. The opening of the Hanging Pot Hall had cost the Justice Duan family a lot of money, but it had also shocked half of the sacred land of the rainforest. However, on the opening day Lin Ling said that it was also the closing day. It was obvious that Lin Ling was here for revenge. Bastard. Within the Hanging Pot Hall, the guards' faces were cold. Lin Ling had gone too far. Sir Lin Ling, the Justice Duan family does have some conflicts with you, but what kind of grudge can't be resolved in this world? Don't go too far so that we can meet again in the future. Duan Bai took a deep breath but quickly regained his smile. He said softly, also, let me remind you that the Hanging Pot Hall is so big that there will naturally be many Holy Spirit Realm experts guarding it. If you really want to cause trouble, you won't be able to get away with it. Duan Bai's tolerance was terrifying. Even though Lin Ling had said so, he still didn't explode. However, although he was polite on the surface, his right hand behind his back was already informing Lin Ling of the arrival of more experts. His words seemed polite but they were both soft and hard. He wanted to let Lin Ling see the current situation clearly. Lin Ling's lips curled up, revealing a friendly smile. Duan Bai was stunned. He didn't understand what Lin Ling was smiling about. Hiding a knife in a smile is useless against me. Threatening me is even more useless. I won't be swayed by force or persuasion. Finally, Lin Ling's smiling but cold voice floated out from his mouth. A figure shot over like a ghost, and a dagger appeared in front of Duan Bai's neck. A Holy Spirit Realm expert. Duan Bai's eyes narrowed. Previously, his gaze had been on Lin Ling, and he didn't notice the expert behind Lin Ling. Moreover, he had always thought that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to cause trouble here, because that would be equivalent to a direct confrontation with the Justice Duan family. However, the scene in front of him told him that Lin Ling had come prepared. Moreover, a Saint Spirit Realm expert was equivalent to an ambitious and ruthless character in the Rainforest Holy Land. They were on the same level as his father, but Lin Ling was able to summon such an expert. This was beyond his expectations. Most importantly, he sensed that the person who attacked him was extremely terrifying. It was as if he was an assassin. "My lord." The Duan clan's guards in the main hall shouted anxiously. Lin Ling really dared to make a move. Outside the main hall, there was complete silence. Everyone was curious about what had happened in the Hanging Pot Hall, but no one dared to go closer. They wondered if Lin Ling had been caught. Subconsciously, they believed that since Lin Ling dared to cause trouble in the Justice Duan family's territory, he should suffer a loss. Thud thud thud. At this time, a large number of footsteps could be heard. The crowd was separated and a large group of people arrived. These people were not very strong, but they had the bloody and murderous aura of an army. "This is the place," Lin Ling said, to loot this place. The leader of the group was a valiant woman. She looked at the Hanging Pot Hall and smiled. With a wave of her hand, she led the group into the Hanging Pot Hall. Loot? The crowd was in an uproar. There were many Emperor Spirit Realm experts among them, so they could naturally see that although the army had an extraordinary aura, their overall strength was very weak. There was not a single Emperor Spirit Realm expert. Such an army dared to attack the Justice Duan family. Was their leader crazy? Flame army, surround this place. The army rushed into the Hanging Pot Hall. At the same time, a small group surrounded the Hanging Pot Hall. The rules were very strict. Flame army? What an unfamiliar name. Where did this army come from? The crowd was even more puzzled. At the same time, inside the Hanging Pot Hall, everyone was shocked by the army that rushed in. The Hanging Pot Hall was noble and sacred, but now it had been turned into a bustling market. It felt very surreal. Lin Ling. When the leader saw Lin Ling, she immediately smiled happily. Beside her was a dark-skinned woman. They quickly came to Lin Ling and bowed. Besides them, there were also many people who came directly to Lin Ling. They were Qin Xiaolan, Tian Xiaoman, Long Xiaochen, Ouyang Feiyang, and the others. These people were the elites of the Flame Army. It's good that you're here. This place is overflowing with wealth. There are many pills and spiritual herbs. It's enough for you to greatly increase your strength. Loot this place. Lin Ling smiled and waved his hand. Yes, sir. Everyone in the Flame Army was excited. On their way here, they naturally knew where this place was. This was the elixir shop that the Justice Duan family valued greatly. However, their lord was powerful enough to conquer mountains and rivers. There was nothing he did not dare to do. The Justice Duan family could still loot this place. Lin Ling, you came prepared. You're crazy. Duan Bai looked at the luxurious hall that was dirted by the footprints. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. You've been captured. You don't have the right to speak. However, Lin Ling took a step forward and patted Duan Bai's cheek. Duan Bai gritted his teeth. What elegance! What righteousness! What education! At this moment, all of that had been thrown out of the window. You're too overbearing. If you have a grudge against the Justice Duan family, then go to the ancient country and find the Duan family. The Hanging Pot Hall did not provoke you, but you allowed your people to loot this place. Lin Ling, the Rainforest Sacred Land is not for you to say. At this moment, 3 figures appeared on the second floor of the main hall. They stood there quietly as if they had suddenly appeared out of thin air, causing Lin Ling's men to stop what they were doing. Duan Bai glanced at the 3 figures and his heart relaxed. Since the Hanging Pot Hall dared to open here, it would naturally be guarded by experts. These 3 figures were the experts guarding the hall, and they were also his father's trusted aides. In the past, I did not provoke the Justice Duan family, but Duan Xuanwang tried to kill me in the prairie. At that time, didn't you say he was overbearing? Lin Ling looked at the 3 people on the second floor. His expression was indifferent. He already knew that there would be experts guarding the Hanging Pot Hall. Duan Bai was only the person in charge of everything, not the expert guarding it. Of course, there would not be many of these experts. Because of the Justice Duan family's reputation, ordinary people would not dare to cause trouble here. As for the 3 of them, they were Holy Spirit Realm experts. They were enough to suppress some small matters. This world is heartless. The weak are eliminated and the strong are kings. Therefore this is not a matter of being overbearing or not, but a matter of standing. Since I have a grudge against the Justice Duan family, as long as it has something to do with the Justice Duan family, I will not let it go. Unless the Emperor of the Justice Duan family personally apologizes, pays his respects to Old Master Xiao, and hands over the murderer, this matter will not be resolved. Otherwise this grudge will never be resolved. Lin Ling's voice was even colder and filled with determination. Shut up. Who do you think you are? Do you think you are qualified for His Majesty to step in for you? Among the three people, an old man immediately shouted angrily. However, the woman beside him waved her hand, stopping him from speaking any further. She looked at Lin Ling and said, "This is impossible. How can the emperor of an ancient country apologize and hand over the murderer because of you? What face does the ancient country have left? Then what are you talking about?" Lin Ling's voice was even colder. Chapter 950. Beheading. This woman looked weak, but she had an aura that was not inferior to men. Her words were filled with confidence. "Young man, you are very arrogant. You dare to bring people to the hanging pot hall to cause trouble. But do you know what is the scariest thing in this world? Perhaps you think it's death? Moreover, I don't think you're afraid of death, but I have 1,000 ways to make you wish for a quick death. When you fall into my hands, you only want to die." Among the three people, a cold-looking middle-aged man spoke. "Third madam, why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him." The old man couldn't help but speak up. The woman seemed to be the leader of the three, but this time she didn't stop the two of them from speaking. Her gaze was still fixed on Lin Ling, as if she was trying to let Lin Ling understand the situation. The three heroes of the Duan clan aren't very famous in the rainforest, but in the 100 regions, especially the upper 3 regions, everyone knows about them. Finally, the woman said slowly, "Let Duan Bai go and leave this place, and we will let bygones be bygones. The grudge between you and the Duan family will naturally be settled by someone else. However, the hanging pot hall is guarded by the three of us. We do not wish for you to come here and cause trouble." She seemed to be giving Lin Ling a chance. The members of the Flame Legion remained silent. Ouyang Feiyang, Long Xiaochen, and the others wore solemn expressions. They could vaguely guess that their opponent was a Holy Spirit realm expert. An expert of this level wasn't someone they could look up to. As for the guards in the main hall, they were all sneering at Lin Ling. Lin Ling had been very arrogant before, but what else could he say now? "Insha, you continue. Ming Wang, play with them." Under everyone's gaze, Lin Ling slowly took out the huge sword on his back and said coldly to Heaven Fiend Ming Wang. Heaven Fiend Ming Wang smiled and stepped forward. "You've chosen to attack?" The three people on the second floor were startled, and their pupils constricted. Everyone knew about Lin Ling's strength. He was the strongest in the semi-finals, and he was invincible in the Emperor Spirit Realm. He could even threaten an early-stage Saint Spirit Realm cultivator, but he could only barely do so. They were all nurtured by the Duan family, so how could they be ordinary early-stage Saint Spirit Realm cultivators? How arrogant! "I'll do it." The old man among the three couldn't hold back any longer. With a cold laugh, he shot toward Lin Ling and viciously slapped out with his palm. "Die, Lin Ling." Rumble. A strange thing happened. Everyone in the hall noticed it and found it difficult to breathe. It was as if the air had been sucked out. Great Void Enlightenment Palm. This palm was vast and ancient, and it was the old man's proudest skill. This skill had its own profound meaning, and it was comprehended by him when he was old. It could control the air in an area and compress it to form an explosive chi. Furthermore, this was when he suppressed his strength. If he used his full strength, the entire Hanging Hu Hall would be reduced to dust. This was because the air would be sucked dry, forming an endless void-killing move. Profound martial arts. Duan Bai's eyes flashed. He wasn't a Holy Spirit Realm cultivator, but he had heard that Holy Spirit Realm cultivators had their own profound meanings. Once they used their profound meanings, they could control the power of heaven and earth and suppress all true martial intents. Lin Ling was going to die. Everyone had the same thought. However, the reality was beyond their expectations and they were disappointed. One sword to kill 100 flowers. The sword was full of vitality, and the profound meaning of life appeared. The expensive wooden furniture in the hall withered, as if their vitality had been sucked out. The bonsai plants were the same. The sword flashed with a green light and fiercely collided with the palm. Light bloomed. What? Everyone was shocked. Lin Ling had blocked that palm, and the old man's eyes were wide open. That was the palm he was most proud of. He had wanted to see this junior die under his palm, but the result was the complete opposite of what he had expected. You blocked my palm? The old man couldn't believe it. No, I'm going to kill you, Lin Ling said coldly as the sword moved forward. His words shocked the old man. However, in the next moment, the sword that was full of vitality disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a destructive flame. One sword to kill 100 heroes. There was no complicated martial art. It was just a simple slash, but it carried the terrifying profound meaning of fire. Although the profound meaning of life was powerful, it was still strong in defense and full of vitality, which made Lin Ling invincible. However, the profound meaning of fire was destructive, burning everything. Rumble. The sword slashed out and flames spewed out. The old man was protected by profound meaning, and the air was isolated, but it still couldn't stop the sword of fire. The fire could burn even without air. Plop. The old man's head was chopped into pieces, and the sword chi didn't stop. It landed on the wall of the hall in the distance, and the whole hall was cut down. Rumble. The walls of the hall were not ordinary walls. They could withstand the attacks of strong cultivators, but now they fell down, shocking the people outside. However, the people in the hall were even more shocked. Everyone from the Justice Duan family sucked in a breath of cold air. Holy Spirit Realm. The woman spat out these words with difficulty. What a terrifying genius. He was only in the Emperor's Spirit Realm not long ago, but now he was in the Holy Spirit Realm. This cultivation speed was shocking. Now it's 2 against 2. In the silent hall, Lin Ling's indifferent voice floated out. Swoosh. At this moment, a figure shot up to the second floor. He was burly like a bear, but he exuded an ancient sorcery aura. He lightly punched out. Master, there's no need for 2 against 2. I alone am enough. Rumble. The punch tore through the void. The gloomy man's face changed. He seemed to have seen an ancient martial artist appear in front of him. That punch was the most ancient punch in the world. This person is terrifying. Sanyang, let's work together, the gloomy man said anxiously. However, the woman beside him didn't move, which made him even more anxious. Rumble. Lin Fan's fist pierced through the air and landed heavily on the man's body. The man couldn't even use a single move. He coughed out blood and stood there with a pale face. In front of him, the heaven fiend Ming King smiled and said indifferently, "So weak and you dare to pretend to be an expert? Sanyang, why didn't you do anything?" The gloomy man said with difficulty. The situation was urgent and he couldn't deal with this mysterious expert alone. However, his companion didn't do anything. He can't move. However, the evil deity Ming Wang smiled and said again, which made the gloomy man tremble. In the end he asked in horror, "Who are you?" "I am the evil deity Ming Wang." The gloomy man's eyes widened. The heavenly fiend Ming Wang was a famous expert of the rainforest Holy Land. Even the 5 great ancient countries couldn't catch him. He was actually Lin Ling's man? Lin Ling's eyes were filled with shock. Plop. The gloomy man fell to the ground. He was killed in one move. However, it was normal. The evil deity Ming Wang was so strong that even Yin Sha couldn't do anything to him. Besides Lin Ling, no one in the initial stage of the Holy Spirit Realm was as strong as him. Dead. 2 of the 3 heroes of the Duan clan died in the blink of an eye. Chapter 951. Graduation today, move out. On the first floor Lin Ling waved his hand. The members of the Flame Corps were excited. As expected of their leader, he would kill anyone who stood in his way. Then, the members of the Flame Corps rushed into the depths of the hall and began to loot. They knew that these were the cultivation resources that would make them powerful. Don't let a single blade of grass go. Tian Xiaoman's excited and emotional voice rang out. The members of the Duan family did not dare to move. They were trembling with anger. 30% of the Duan family's domestic products were piled up here. Some of the spiritual herbs were priceless. If not for the hanging pot hall, His Majesty would not be willing to take them out. But now they were all robbed by Lin Ling. Lin Ling made them want to kill him. Kill. Finally, a cold voice rang out. They were not willing to be robbed, so they wanted to fight back. Insha, leave no one alive. Lin Ling smiled coldly. If they wanted to die, he would fulfill their wish. No, don't move. Duan Bai shouted anxiously. He was the calmest. He knew that he could not resist Lin Ling. If he resisted, it would be a massacre. Unfortunately, his voice was too slow. The shadow was like a shadow from hell. It was incomparably fast. Every time the dagger pierced through, a life would disappear. It was mysterious and strange. Insha was an assassin. She was best at killing, especially when it came to those who were weaker than her. She knew how to kill faster and kill with one blow. Plop, plop. One by one, the members of the Duan family fell. They resisted, but in reality they gave Lin Ling the chance to kill them and send them to the Nine Serenities hell. Lin Ling, you're a demon. Duan Bai looked at the members of his family falling one by one. His eyes were red with pain. Lin Ling stood coldly beside him, ignoring him. If they had a chance to live, they would have just stopped resisting. But if they resisted, they would have died, so they can't blame anyone. Moreover, if the same thing happened to us today, I'm afraid you wouldn't even give us a chance to survive. You would have directly killed them all. Lin Ling said indifferently. He had come here to rob, not to kill, but that didn't mean he wouldn't kill. This was because the guards of the Duan clan were not weak, while the members of the Flame Legion had not yet matured. If they were to clash head-on, the Flame Legion would definitely suffer heavy casualties. How could Lin Ling not be heartless when it concerned his friends and family? So be it, demon. Moreover, he had given them a chance, but those people did not cherish it. If you can't accept this, you can kill me right now. I'm right beside you. Lin Ling looked ahead and said indifferently. However, Duan Bai sat on the ground with a plop, not daring to resist at all. He could only watch as those people were killed. As for attacking Lin Ling, was that even possible? Standing in front of him, he didn't dare to move. If you don't attack, it doesn't mean I won't kill you. If they don't resist, they don't have to die. But if you don't resist, you still have to die. However, Lin Ling lowered his head and looked at Duan Bai. What? Duan Bai's face turned pale. Lin Ling came today and he thought he could suppress everything. Who knew that Lin Ling was so ambitious that he didn't care about the dignity of the Duan clan at all and attacked directly. Now he even wanted to kill him. Because of his father. Lin Ling pointed at Qin Jingtian and said. Qin Jingtian's eyes were cold, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent as he looked at Duan Bai. This was because the latter's father had killed old Master Xiao. Others could live if they didn't resist, but he couldn't. The reason was that he was the son of Duan Xuanwang, so he had to pay with his own blood. I want to die. Duan Bai muttered to himself. He understood what Qin Jingtian meant. What a pitiful smiling tiger. Do you think you can fool me by trying to get close to me? Unfortunately, I know what you're thinking. While you're fooling me, you're also notifying the Duan clan that the experts of the Justice Duan clan are coming. You're just stalling for time. Unfortunately, you met me. I don't care about such things. Lin Ling said softly. Duan Bai's body trembled again. Previously, he had indeed been stalling for time. However, as the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling person. This did not work on Lin Ling. Moreover, Lin Ling knew that he was stalling for time. You can die now. Qin Jingtian walked over slowly, and the murderous intent on his body grew stronger. Lin Ling didn't look at Duan Bai anymore. Instead, he paid attention to the scene in front of him. He wanted to prevent the Flame Legion from being killed by a sneak attack because he knew that Qin Jingtian would avenge his father. Hurry up, the experts of the Justice Duan clan will be here soon. One by one, the Duan clan guards were killed. Tian Xiaoman ordered the Flame Legion to speed up. An hour later, the Flame Legion came out with a large number of things on their backs. They all had smiles on their faces. They had returned with a rewarding journey. Lin Ling smiled faintly and glanced at Duan Bai. Duan Bai had also been killed by Qin Jingtian. He waved his hand and said, "Let's go." The Flame Legion left in a grandiose manner. There was only one woman left in the hall. It was the three heroes of the Duan clan. At this moment, she was being controlled by the evil deity Ming Wang's soul power and couldn't move. Only Lin Ling could sense that her body was wrapped in threads. Soul threads. Lin Ling walked forward step by step until he was in front of the woman. Do you know why I didn't kill you? First, you were very confident and had a strong backing, so I'll let you see how laughable your backing is. Second, I want you to help me pass a message to Duan Xuanwang and the Duan clan's emperor. As long as they don't hand over the culprit and apologize, this enmity will never be resolved. Also, let me tell you something. You think they're ants and you can kill them as you wish, but in reality you're the ant. With that, Lin Ling turned and left. The woman's eyes flickered as she was shocked. Previously she had indeed had a lot to rely on. She had arrogantly told Lin Ling to get lost. However, in the end the three of them had been easily killed. Lin Ling's strength had increased greatly. It was extremely easy for him to kill an early-stage Saint Spirit Realm expert. Now Lin Ling had robbed the Justice Duan clan, but he wasn't afraid at all. He even arrogantly asked her to pass the message. This also meant that Lin Ling wasn't afraid of the Justice Duan clan's revenge. At this moment, the crowd on the street was silent as they watched the members of the Flame Corps walk out. When they saw the last person walk out, their hearts trembled violently. Lin Ling was still alive. He had really robbed the Hanging Pot Hall. At this moment, after Lin Ling walked out of the Hanging Pot Hall, he looked at the magnificent building and smiled. He stretched out his left hand and a forbidden lotus with 10 petals appeared. He waved it gently and then strode away. The lotus was incomparably resplendent as it danced in the air, attracting countless gazes. However, when it landed on the luxurious building, an earth-shaking rumble erupted. It was as if a meteor had smashed down from the heavens and earth, destroying everything. Rumble. The collapse of the towering building shook the hearts of the people. The Hanging Pot Hall ends today. Before the dust flew into the air, a calm voice floated out from his slender figure. Ends today. Chapter 952. The Hanging Pot Hall had been destroyed on the first day of its opening. The Justice Duan family could not take this lying down. They could not let go of their reputation, let alone money. Lin Ling, the mad god, is going to change the situation in the rainforest. Some of the older martial artists were mumbling to themselves. No one knew what had happened at the Hanging Pot Hall. They only knew that Lin Ling had won the battle with the Justice Duan family. However, the people on the street didn't leave. They still stood there quietly. After a full 2 hours, a huge force finally arrived. A large group of people appeared in front of everyone's eyes like celestial soldiers. The person in the lead was an old man wearing black armor. He looked like a general who had been on the battlefield for a long time. His hair and beard were white, but he had the aura of a lion. This person was Duanzun Wang. Who did this? After a moment of silence, a voice that was as deep as the might of the heavens rang out. Their people were too late. The Hanging Pot Hall was destroyed. This was a great humiliation to the Justice Duan family. Sir, there's one more person in the Hanging Pot Hall. At this time someone reported. Then the woman with the 3 heroes of the Duan family appeared. Duanzun Wang frowned and waved his right hand. The soul power around the woman's body was cut off by an invisible force. Speak. One word, but it was filled with endless anger and pressure. It's Lin Ling. He brought people to rob this place and killed everyone in the Hanging Pot Hall. I'm the only one left. The woman knelt on one knee. This was a great humiliation to the Justice Duan family. Is dead. Duanzun Wang's body emitted a terrifying wind of sorrow. His son Duan Bai had died. Deng deng deng. He took 3 steps back. The people of the Duan family were worried. They shouted, Sir. In the end, Duanzun Wang waved his hand indicating that he was fine. He was just surprised by the bad news. He did not expect to see his son die before his own. In the past he chased after Lin Ling, but Lin Ling did not die. He grew up step by step and killed the fighting evil faction. Now he was ready to fight against the Justice Duan family. His son, on the other hand, had died an unjust death. He had placed 3 Holy Spirit Realm experts in the Hanging Pot Hall. He thought that it would be enough to suppress everything, but who knew that only one of them was alive? Sir, this is my fault. The woman lowered her head. They're dead, why aren't you dead? Duanzun Wang's eyes widened like an angry lion. Lin Ling asked me to deliver a message. As long as the Justice Duan family doesn't hand over the murderer, and your majesty doesn't apologize, there will be no grudge between us. The woman repeated Lin Ling's words. Shameful, shameful. Duanzun Wang slowly said. He had lost all face. Then his right hand turned into a saber and ruthlessly chopped down. His saber hand was like a crescent moon falling on the woman's neck. The woman wanted to say something, but she could not. Her eyes widened. She never thought that Duanzun Wang would kill her. Go to the 7 profound martial house and kill Lin Ling. Today, even if the heavens fall and the earth rends, we must kill this disciple. Duanzun Wang waved his hand and angrily led his powerhouses towards the 7 profound martial house. His son had died, and in addition to the shame and humiliation of hanging Pot Hall, how could his Justice Duan family not take revenge? The woman fell to the ground. Her last thought was, "Sir, I haven't said anything. Lin Ling has already reached the Holy Spirit realm, and he has powerful helpers by his side." Unfortunately, she could only say these words in hell. Sensational. The rainforest Holy Land is in an uproar because of Lin Ling. As the crowd watched the murderous army leave, their hearts were even more shaken. The rainforest Holy Land was in an uproar because of Lin Ling. Moreover, not long ago Lin Ling had rebuked the Great Serpent Mansion. But today he had once again provoked the Justice Duan family. In the rainforest Holy Land's younger generation, if not for him, who would have such courage? The crowd also went to the Seven Profound Martial House to see what the final result would be. At this moment, Lin Ling was leading a massive number of people back to the Seven Profound Martial House. This imposing aura caused many of the Seven Profound Martial House disciples' eyes to twinkle. When their eyes fell on the tall and handsome youth in the lead, their hearts surged with excitement. Lin Ling had returned. How domineering, he's taking the Seven Profound Martial House as his own home. Many people secretly said. Lin Ling had many people, but there were no restrictions on them entering and leaving the Seven Profound Martial House. This also showed just how important Lin Ling was in the Seven Profound Martial House. Of course, the current Lin Ling was a student of the Seven Profound Martial House. And in the mountain valley, after the Flame Legion returned, Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others excitedly walked out. "Ling, you're back." After Old Ancestor Extreme Flame saw Lin Ling, he immediately smiled with joy. He hadn't seen his grandson for many days, but his grandson seemed to have changed even more. He was like an eagle flying high in the sky, faintly revealing the demeanor of a king. But in the rainforest Holy Land, there were very few people that could bloom with this kind of radiance. "Grandfather, we've had a great harvest." After Lin Ling saw Old Ancestor Extreme Flame, he beamed. Before he had heard Tian Xiaoman's report, so he knew of the harvest this time. It could indeed be called a great harvest. There were a massive number of spirit grasses and medicinal herbs, as well as formed pills. This was enough for the Flame Legion to give birth to a large number of Emperor Spirit Realm powerhouses. And at that time, the Flame Legion would rise in the rainforest Holy Land. Lin Ling also had a trump card to contend with the 5 great ancient countries, and even the 4 great desolate races. Good. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame was indescribably excited. His eyes swept over the smiling people and then he teased, "Long Xiaochen, you actually didn't even let go of a vase. Haha, this vase is very exquisite and it's also quite old. It's pleasing to the eye, so I casually took it away. But Grandfather Extreme Flame, don't laugh at me. That Ouyang Feiyang fellow even brought over my bed. He said that it was made of 100 lotus wood, and sleeping on that bed can increase one's cultivation." Long Xiaochen scratched his head, awkwardly smiling. "Ah, this is a robbery." Old Ancestor Extreme Flame laughed and the crowd also laughed. But as they looked at the handsome youth, their hearts were filled with excitement. All of this was brought to them by their leader. "Lin Ling, get out here." At this time, a thunderous roar came from the heavens and earth, shaking the heavens. The entire Seven Profound Martial House could hear it, and outside the Seven Profound Martial House, the Justice Duan family had arrived. And at this moment, at the entrance of the Seven Profound Martial House, a massive number of people had gathered there. Their eyes fell on the magnificent group of people in front of them, and their hearts fiercely trembled. This was a terrifying lineup. The person in the lead had reached an extremely high boundary of the Saint Spirit realm, and his aura was enough to shake the heavens. And besides that person there were many other powerhouses, all of them at the Saint Spirit realm. If this group of people appeared in the 100 domains, it was enough to sweep away any influence. It's the Justice Duan family. Some of the 7 Profound Martial House disciples recognized this group of people. The 5 great ancient countries were truly filled with powerhouses. Then they heard the voices of passers-by that Lin Ling had gone to loot the Hanging Pot Hall, causing the Justice Duan family to be enraged. Now they were coming to kill him. "Lin Ling, you have great courage." Chapter 953. So what? Today I will only kill one person. Lin Ling, Please forgive me for my recklessness. At this moment, Duan Zunwang looked at the distant skies, his pupils cold as he shouted out loud. He was speaking to the 7 profound martial houses' martial house master. After all, the martial hall was filled with powerhouses. If the martial house master didn't allow it, then he wouldn't dare to be too arrogant. However, after he spoke, the skies were silent, as if tacitly agreeing with their actions. It was as if they were saying that Lin Ling had brought trouble upon himself, so he had to solve it himself. The martial house master seems to have agreed with Duan Zunwang to kill Lin Ling. The crowd was also aware of this. If so, then Lin Ling would undoubtedly die today. Thank you. Duan Zunwang lightly smiled. His smile was very cold, filled with bloodthirst and madness. He could kill Lin Ling without restraint. Lin Ling, get out here, otherwise I will kill my way in and kill all of your people. Duan Zunwang shouted out once more. Lin Ling didn't dare to come out now? You are one of the 5 great ancient countries, yet you dare to cause a ruckus in the sacred martial hall? What a scandal. At this time, from the ancient gate, a proud voice gently floated out. A slender youth in a blue robe slowly walked out. Beside him were a large number of people. Among them was a red-furred monster beast that loyally followed the youth, making him seem majestic and awe-inspiring, as if the Son of Heaven had arrived. This person was naturally Lin Ling. Lin Ling still dares to come out. Seeing this arrogant figure, many people were surprised. Now that Duan Zunwang had brought powerhouses to kill him, Lin Ling should have immediately fled, but he actually dared to come out. Many of the 7 profound martial house disciples looked at Lin Ling and discovered that Lin Ling seemed to have changed. His aura was even more mysterious than before, his pupils were even deeper and the lines on his face were even firmer. Lin Ling. Duan Zunwang stared fixedly at the slender figure, and a low voice came out of his mouth. You killed my son. So what? Lin Ling lightly shouted. That fearless aura made even more people's hearts tremble. Lin Ling said in front of Duan Zunwang, so what if he killed him? This was all too surreal. Had Lin Ling grown to the point where he was not even afraid of Duan Zunwang? The speed of this young man's growth was too terrifying. The enmity between the two of us is death. Either you die or I die. Do you think that I will let your son go? Lin Ling spoke again, but his gaze swept over the huge camp behind Duan Zunwang. Not bad, 8 Saint Spirit Realm experts and you, Duan Zunwang, are enough for me to kill. What? Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Duan Zunwang had personally come, and had even brought a large number of experts with him. It was fine if Lin Ling was not afraid, but he actually wanted to fight back. Today, Lin Ling's arrogance had exceeded their imagination. How could they know that Old Man Zhao's death was a thorn in Lin Ling's heart? Because Old Man Zhao died for Lin Ling. Therefore he would avenge Old Man Zhao. If Duan Zunwang did not die, and the Duan clan's emperor did not apologize, he would not give up. Many people knew that Lin Ling had almost died in the past, but after he came back alive and wiped out the fighting evil faction, they knew that Lin Ling was avenging Old Man Zhao. Therefore, when Lin Ling arrogantly provoked the Justice Duan clan today, not only did many people not feel disgusted, but they also secretly admired him in their hearts. This was what it meant to be a cultivator of our generation, magnanimous and unrestrained. If you have a grudge, no matter where you are, you will take revenge even if the sky falls and the earth rends. Moreover, you will take revenge for others. This was also a person with a temperament. Kill us. Duan Zunwang's face was as gloomy as water, incomparably gloomy. He thought that Lin Ling had taken advantage of their absence and dared to be so arrogant in the Hanging Pot Hall. But who would have thought that even though they had killed their way to the 7 profound martial house, Lin Ling was not afraid at all. Instead, he wanted to kill them all. You think you can kill us? At this time, a proud voice sounded out from behind Duan Zunwang. A youth slowly walked out. This person was not too old, but he had both looks and talent. He had a majestic aura and a cloak draped over his back. He had the demeanor of the #1 talent of the Rainforest Holy Land. It's Duan Wuji. Many people from the 7 profound martial house recognized this youth. In the semi-finals, although Duan Wuji had not taken first place, the brilliance that he had bloomed had made many people remember him. After all, to be able to enter the semi-finals of the semi-finals, none of them were weak. It was just that in the semi-finals Lin Ling had taken first place. But now Duan Wuji seemed to want to provoke Lin Ling. That's right, during this time, Duan Wuji has entered one of the 4 desolate tribes to cultivate. It's possible that his strength has greatly increased. Many people guessed the reason. Of course this was indeed the case. Cultivating in the desolate tribe, Duan Wuji had seen the vast world of martial arts, and his strength had risen to another level. Therefore he was confident that he could obliterate the previous semi-final champion. Lin Ling, as far as I know, you are not well received in the Rain clan. Therefore even if I kill you today the Rain clan will not come forward to help you. Haha, you are borrowing the status of the Rain clan to act so unscrupulously today. Unfortunately there are some news that not everyone knows. Duan Wuji seemed to have found Lin Ling's trump card that he was not afraid of. What, Lin Ling is not well received in the Rain clan? Many people's eyes flickered. In that case, even if Duan Zun Wang killed Lin Ling today, the Rain clan wouldn't care about it. Lin Ling wanted to rely on his status as a member of the Rain clan to protect himself, but it was obviously useless. You're just a defeated loser, what are you trying to say? Lin Ling chuckled and did not mind. Nothing much. I just want to say that you are dreaming if you think you can kill us. At best you are just bluffing us. Unfortunately I won't fall for it. Besides, I alone am enough to kill you. Duan Wuji laughed confidently. This made the crowd even more certain that Duan Wuji's strength had greatly increased after cultivating in the desolate tribe. Phew. However, at this moment, a flaming sword beam slashed over. It tore through the void at an unbelievable speed. And just as Duan Wuji finished speaking, his pupils constricted. What a terrifying profundity of fire. Boom. His entire body was split into two, killed by a single sword strike. Being in the desolate tribe, you sure know a lot of things. But don't you know that I am one of the Rain clan's twin prides? After that sword strike, Lin Ling's mocking voice floated out like the wind, shocking everyone. At this moment, many people realized that Lin Ling had reached the sacred spirit realm. And on the ground, Duan Wuji had been killed by a single sword strike. The flames were still burning him, making the crowd find it extremely ironic. Duan Wuji thought that his strength had greatly increased after cultivating in the desolate tribe, allowing him to hold his head up high. Today he wanted to use Lin Ling's presence to prove his strength. However, the result was that Lin Ling's strength had increased at an even more terrifying rate than his. He wanted to prove himself, but he ended up becoming a laughing stock. Sacred Spirit Realm. Duan Zun Wang looked at the distant youth in disbelief. He never expected Lin Ling to have reached the Sacred Spirit Realm. So Lin Ling's arrogance today was because he did have the right to be arrogant. You said that I can't kill you. This is the first one. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.